that noise wasn't real, or that the medicals were disastrous or something like that. Well, we all know that wasn't the case. They ended up taking Joshua Simmons to be a tackle for this team. I say a tackle because I have no idea if he's going to be a left tackle or a right tackle and win. And that's what makes this a really intriguing pick. Now, yesterday we did the exercise on the show of our not our dream pick, but from a player perspective, but scenario, knowing the noise around Simmons. And I think our social media, I think Drew or somebody put it up on our social media yesterday afternoon, which was, hey, if you don't have to trade up for Simmons and he's there at 31, that would be a dream scenario. The player that supposedly you love, and you don't have to give up draft capital. And
you got a 5th round pick.
You got a free 5th round pick is kind of how you look at it. By moving back one spot, the Eagles were probably concerned a team was going to trade in front of them maybe to get the Campbell kid or something like that. But that was a masterclass from Brett Veach in order to get another 5th round pick and give them an opportunity if they want to pick in the 5th round, or maybe it helps them move up 4 spots or something, or 3 spots in the 2nd or 3rd round later on tonight. But Josh Simmons, 1 sack allowed since 2023, 601 pass block snaps. The narrative around him, of course, centers around health. And that's where it starts. Because in terms of performance, most people you will talk to that are quote-unquote experts will tell you, no, this is one of the best tackles you could have drafted. But the injury is a huge part of the story. A patellar tendon injury that occurred in October. He did not play during the college football playoff. He did not play in the game, obviously, when they won a national title with Ohio State or anything like that. The question is, how much faith do you have in the faith that the Chiefs have in the medical staff? Right? Because the Chiefs last night said that Josh Simmons, after talking to Rick Burkholder, the Chiefs trainer who's been with Andy Reid going back to his Philadelphia days, it clearly trusts him. They've had great track record with evaluating guys in the draft. Trey Smith, most notably, right? Hey,
that's
there's
the
concerns.
Most recent one, yeah.
There's concerns, and it obviously worked out. You know, you go back to the Eagles day that Corral Buckholter, I believe, was the running back for the Eagles who had a similar injury, and he ended up playing 5-6 years for the Philadelphia or in the league, and they were able to recover. Now, each player is different, but you, by making this selection, are telling everybody you have ultimate faith in your medical team and that he's going to be able to recover from a pretty serious injury, and you're banking on the fact that when he recovers, we got to steal. That's the optimistic way.
Yes.
That's what they're hoping for.
That's what they're telling you with making this
That's what they're hoping. You and I said for weeks that the risk is definitely there, but after starting 5 different left tackles in the Super Bowl, we talk about throwing numbers out of position. This is how you do it. You sign Jaylon Moore, who, by the way, is expected to join us perhaps in 25 minutes on the show, and you go and spend your 1st-round pick on a tackle. And they did it.
So the way I view this is, and I told you as early as yesterday, I wasn't going to come in here and try to pretend like I am A plus on this deal. This deal boils down very simply to kind of the way you structure it, which is it's got, I think, a 50-50 bust potential, which is risky, very risky. With pick 32 overall, I'm not trying to pretend like it's not. It is, however, a risk I would personally take. And the reason why is for all the stuff we talked about. Left tackle's very hard to find. It's hard to find at 32. It's hard to find at 31, where they were originally. It's just not an easy position to draft at the position they're typically at. It's not easy to find in free agency. If you do find it in free agency, it costs $1 gajillion. So it is incredible. It's incredibly risky. Sure. But again, had you put me in that position based on the defensive linemen who are already gone, I'd have done the same thing. I would have also taken Simmons. And so I'm not here to tell you it's definitely going to work. But my stance still says, which is what I told you yesterday too, which is if you take a guy at 32 overall in the 1st round, and you're telling me, let's just presume health for the moment, because they're telling me he might work out in the summer and he'll be good to go by training camp. I think there might be a little gray in there, and they're just telling you that. But let's just presume health for a minute for this conversation. He deserves, if you take him at 32, the right to compete, to start at right or left tackle immediately. He deserves to beat out Jawan Taylor or beat out Jaylon Moore today, starting now. And I know that the Jawan Taylor one is a longer shot probability. But if you take someone at 32 at left tackle and you saying he's healthy, he deserves to try to win the job immediately.
Yeah, so if he's actually healthy. But I'm still very skeptical that he's going to have the health to fully compete for either job by the time you and I are up in St. Joe. And I fully understand Andy Reid and Brett Veach both said last night that that they expect him. And I think Andy Reid specifically said he'll definitely be ready for training camp.
Firm.
I hope that's the case. That would be incredible news, by the way. Incredible news. But also, we have seen for multiple organizations before where they'll draft somebody, say they'll be ready for camp, and then you and I are sitting up in St. Joe, and all of a sudden it's like, well, we like what we're seeing, but, we're not going to rush this thing. We're gonna be patient with this thing, and all of a sudden he's on the pup list the first 6 weeks of the season. I'm just saying, don't be shocked.
I'm not pretending like I would be.
Don't be shocked if that's the case. Now, to your point about this starting job, if he actually is healthy and he's able to be 100% rep-wise in St. Joe, I think competing with Jaylon Moore, absolutely. I think the reality, though, we can say, you shouldn't operate this way. That's fine. But the reality is, at right tackle, Juwan Taylor in 2025 is playing right tackle for this team. $28 million cap hit is why I feel like I can say that with ultimate confidence that Juwan Taylor is week 1. Now, week 12, Cody, Juwan Taylor's not playing well. Different story. You're halfway through the season. Josh Simmons is even more progressed through his injury. But I will be shocked if Juwan Taylor is not the starting right tackle week 1 of this 2025 season.
I don't think that that's out of line, but I also think that it'd be foolish not to let him win the job. It's a sunk cost fallacy. He is going to get paid $28 million one way or the other. So for me, if I'm the Chiefs front office, if Simmons is better, he plays. I got to pay the $28 million whether Juwan Taylor plays or not. So if Simmons is the better right tackle, play him there. I'm sorry. If Jaylon Moore is the better right tackle.
As you would admit, that's just usually not how this thing goes, man. That's just usually not how teams operate. People will bring an example. Well, Deshaun Watson's not playing. He's making X amount of money. He's hurt. Kirk Cousins, he's sitting on the bench. He's making a lot of money. He's about to get traded. So it's not the same. There are not many examples of actually heading into week 1. Not that you get benched in the middle of the season. I'm acknowledging that could happen. But week 1, teams that have $30 million cap hit players, if that player is healthy, he's not riding the bench week 1. It just doesn't happen in the NFL.
I think it's a low probability, but I don't see any. I think it'd be kind of foolish to limit yourself to not only letting him try to beat out Jaylon Moore.
Yeah.
And to the same argument.
Publicly, they're saying what you're saying, which is he's going to have a chance to.
Yeah,
Andy Reid did. But,
Andy Reid pretty much said that it was going to be and he mentioned Jaylon Moore right. Same rule applies. I understand your logic behind it that it is very low times in the NFL where they pay somebody just to be a problem. It happens more in other sports. It happens more in baseball or some of these other ones where it's just it is what it is. But it's truly for me, this is a very simple math. You got to pay him it either way. I want the best player to play, especially they should feel this way, in my opinion, going into this year, because it is a year where their offensive line was a massive, massive, massive problem. And now you have put even more resources into it. You pay Jaylon Moore a good amount of money. You just spent your first overall pick at 32.
That's what people wanted, by the way. They wanted them to attack the position.
And they're doing that. So, now I'm saying play the best players.
Yeah.
I don't want to get stuck in it. Benching him in the middle, now I'm back to what I was doing last year. I'd almost rather, if you're thinking he's going to start, he's a better player, let's just get to it. I don't need to wait till week 12 and find out if Juwan Taylor or Jaylon Moore are struggling. I'd rather just get to it.
Yeah, I think what it sets up is potentially in 2026 where you have more options than you've ever had. Not in 2025, but in 2026, because then you're going into a season, you would have seen a full year of Jaylon Moore, in my opinion, at left tackle. If Jaylon Moore plays well at left tackle this season, then they don't move him. And then Josh Simmons is the right tackle of the future.
Yeah, or vice versa, they move him to right and then...
Yeah, if Jaylon Moore struggles at left tackle, then Josh Simmons, the door, I think, is actually open. Right this second, the very early April 25th, just prediction, if you will, without ever seeing him put a single
not even a practice jersey
on, is that Josh Simmons is not starting a left or right tackle week 1 still. I'm still very skeptical of that.
I think that the injury part is what probably makes the most likely scenario is that Simmons is just not on the field week 1. It might be more likely he's on the PUP list than starting week 1. I don't know. We'll talk to someone maybe later on the show about some of the injury stuff because you and I are not. And this is always I actually kind of like it about the draft. I think people knock it because it's funny. I kind of like when 70 people all of a sudden are patellar tendon. Experts, they're like, nope. My name's Billy. And I toured that when I was working at the factory. And you're like, man, I don't care. You were not going through the same situation. My cousin had that surgery, and I don't care that your cousin had it. I like that you're all now experts on the injury. I'm not going to pretend like I am other than listening to the people who have medical degrees saying this is what the typical timeline injury is. The other part about it, I'd say, is my interest in getting him on the field. My hope. My hope is that the best case scenario, in my opinion, is that he wins one of the jobs from the other two guys. And the reason why I'm genuinely hoping for that is for the same reason that this pick is risky like Kingsley was, this has higher upside, this has better potential, all those things, is that I want to know if you didn't solve it long term, you know? I don't want to find out for 2 years you didn't solve right or left tackle. And I know they'll have a better sense internally, but getting him on the field's going to it's going to ensure that answer more going into next year's draft. I'd like the security. That's all.
The Chiefs clearly felt better once they brought him back in for a medical visit. But I'll remind people from the outside, the way we have talked about Joshua Simmons and draft experts talked about him without having the same medical knowledge the Chiefs have, of course, and insight, was that he was going to be a redshirt in 2025. So I want to put that out there. Like, if he doesn't play in 2025, it does not mean it is a bad pick. That was
we wouldn't know yet. It'd be an unknown still.
Up until yesterday, during the day when there were the reports, and then last night the comments from the Chiefs, everybody thought that this was a pick that had no chance of playing in 2025. So I want to be clear. Like, that's why I'm very skeptical that he does. But if he doesn't play in 25, the pick is about 2026 and beyond, in my opinion, not 2025.
I was getting kind of hung up because I feel like this is a common thing, and you and I have gotten into these semantic arguments that happen with like Drew or like the Masters or this stuff, and it lands in the same range. I hate operating in the hypothetical that is, well, if he wasn't hurt, he'd be picking the top 5 because you can't prove that he would.
Oh, I don't know about top 5. I think top 15.
But whatever. You can't prove that he would have gone in the top 15. I can't prove that he wouldn't have gone in the top 15 if he was hurt. I tend to think those things are a little over-exaggerated because, again, you can exaggerate it without any, not you.
But you would agree, though, that if he was healthy, there's no way he's there at 32.
No, but he might be there at 22.
That's a 24. But that's a big difference. It's almost a top 20 pick.
Sure, but is that the worthy risk based on the injury? This again goes back to it. Again, this is so funny. I would make the pick.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the pick. I understand the logic behind the pick. If you're a Missouri fan or just a Chiefs offensive fan and you're like, screw it, do what the Bucs did, and I wish they would have taken Luther Burden.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Bink in 45 minutes.
It's fine. Bink, by the way.
He already has sent me 2 screenshots.
He texted you too?
This was Bink's very brief reaction last night.
Bink is sending me AI answers for patellar injury. Come on, Bink.
We can't trust Google AI. This is what Bink said last night.
They announced Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from Ohio State.
I hate this pick, actually. Don't like it.
Bink's going to join us at 11. Yeah, he was texting me last night. I'll have to bring up some of the things he texted when he joins me. Joins us, I should say, at 11.
Jeez.
But, yeah.
I didn't hear. Who did Bink want at 32?
Burden. Him and Chris wanted Burden. Once he was on that's who they wanted. And a lot of people in the bar last night at the landing wanted. We're in Kansas City. I understand. It's a wide receiver and the local connection.
Unless he falls into, I was doing the draft trade chart. Unless he falls into the 50s, I don't think it makes sense for him to go up. He's going to have to really sink.
Correct. We're going to talk about him individually later, but he clearly the final year at Missouri that he had.
Yeah, that sunk him.
Really just destroyed his draft prospects.
Bink sounded more disappointed than I did.
You sounded pretty disappointed. We can get to yours in a minute because it was pretty funny.
We saw your live reaction to the Bengals pick, and then you sent us a text 90 minutes later, and
I did.
It was great. It was a great text.
I was coping.
The other outside of Kansas City big storyline, though, and it continues into tonight, which is Shedeur Sanders, not a first-round pick. Not a first-round pick. Now, he's the favorite in the betting markets to be the first pick tonight, but who knows, right? Surprises happen. Could Cleveland, who has 2 picks in the first 4 tonight.
Because of the trade they made at pick 2. Yeah.
So most people think he's going with one of those first 4 picks, one of the 2 of the first 4 picks, I should say, to the Cleveland Browns. But it's weird the way everybody's discussing Shedeur Sanders now. Like, you have one faction that is like, everybody's an idiot. What did they do?
That was Mel Kiper's faction. You can throw those. That's the Mel Kiper army. Because he really hated
And then there's another group, which is, I don't know if it's people just want to be proven right, or it's, for whatever reason, people just are very anti-Shedeur Sanders. They don't like him and his dad. Because I got texts from a friend or 2 last night. You guys acknowledged that you saw it on social media as well. One of the texts I specifically got was, man, I love seeing Sanders not get drafted. And I don't get that. I really don't. Like, maybe you think he's going to be a crappy quarterback, and that's a fair evaluation, and you just don't think he has it, whatever. But the joy that he didn't go in the first round, it says a lot more about, you to a certain extent. Like, if you want to say, well, he's arrogant. Spoiler, a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL are arrogant. He just said he's maybe saying, and he wears it on his shoulders more. But just be honest. You don't like Deion Sanders. That's fine. You don't like the way they operate as a family. Just be honest about it.
I never, in the time watching the draft, watched people celebrate a player falling. Normally, as you guys recall, when a player sinks in the draft, we show the sad photos of Aaron Rodgers or the Baker, and they're like, damn, tough day for the kid, you know? You had your dreams. You thought you were going to get taken higher. Will Levis, you got to be escorted out. They're like, boo. I know, some of these teams didn't like, but like really tough to see for the kid. People seemed practically giddy that Sanders was falling in draft. Like, relax a little, man. He is still a kid. Look, whether the teams, obviously, there was something about it. I think it's kind of crazy that the braggadocious part was the reason why he wasn't a first-round pick. And I just want to remind people that Johnny Manziel once existed and was a first-round pick. There's no way Sanders is any more braggadocious or, no way. Same. I'll give him equal if they want because of what was the little booth that Shador had, pre-built?
Legendary.
Look,
right, that stuff's a bit much.
But, Johnny Manziel was no different than that from that perspective. It didn't stop teams from taking him. Mm-hmm. Might have been similar quarterback profile. So maybe teams have learned the lesson. I don't know. But the point is that it was weird to see it happen. I guess I assume he's with the Browns. By all accounts, the Saints don't like him. And when the Steelers passed on him at 21, I think you and I assume the same thing. Everyone assumed the same thing. It's like, they must think Aaron Rodgers is coming to town, or they're going to trade for somebody they must think is coming. They're not going with Mason Rudolph. And so when they let Shador go past at 21, I just kind of had to assume that they'd be fine to take Shador if he fell pretty far, but they got other quarterback plans. Browns, is that it? Is that the only team you think left? Bucks, if they're looking for, but it'd be the third. He's going tonight, right? He's going to the second round, right? Sanders, or what do you think he's going to the third?
I think it's just a lot of false.
I think he'll go
this
tonight
for whatever reason. And this applies to non-sports as well. This text says he blew off a bunch of GMs and meetings. That's already been proven to be completely inaccurate. That's not true. Shador Sanders did not ignore and say, I don't need to meet with you, Surgeon General. That was some weird rumor that was floating around on social media, and like anything else, one person sees it and everybody just takes it as fact, and that's a bigger problem in a lot of ways. But that's what's happening with Sanders here. That's just literally as an inaccurate statement. So that's the kind of stuff what I mean. People have just made up their mind about it. And I'm not sitting here telling you that he's going to be a 10-year starter in the league. I also, by the way, I would have drafted him before I would have drafted Jackson Dart.
All right, right quickly, I know we all have an opinion by now, so I can put you on the spot, and I think it's fine. Other than, God, you don't know Sanders' landing spot. I'll allow you to revise this on Monday if you want, because we'll probably have to have this conversation on Monday once you know the actual team, because team does matter. Who do you think is the better pro quarterback between the three? In order, where do you think they rank as pro quarterbacks? In their career. Okay. Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, Shador Sanders.
Ward, Sanders, Dart.
Yeah, that's you can say, yeah. Yep.
Okay, we all agree. Yeah. So we all think he's gonna have a better career than Dart. I'm not totally convinced Sanders won't have a better career than Ward. Now, I do think landing spot. If he lands with Cleveland, I'm hard pressed. I'll be hard pressed for a franchise that's been that bad for that long. I'm going to be hard pressed to think they finally got it right at quarterback. So, in fairness, but if he landed with the Steelers, I might put Sanders, Ward, then.
I hear you.
The Browns actually did something kind of nice, good last night, believe it or not. I know the Travis Hunter could be really good, but they got Mason Graham, who's going to be a freaking stud. If they get Shador and then they potentially get Burden as well, I mean, they might have figured it out a little bit, actually, the Browns, which is disappointing for me, but.
No way. I mean, that just feels like an overshot. Browns. If
they get Shador and they get Burden tonight, if that's
how
it
goes.
Good
trade.
If they go Burden at 33 and then Shador works out, I mean they can kiss a lot of their problems goodbye if Shador ends up working out, because they've got the defense all ready to go on and win a lot of games.
God, what a wild because we can get back into it too, but the Hunter stuff. You have to think you're playing him at both if you're making that trade.
Of course.
And that wasn't even I already saw the rumor, Pelissaro said they're going to start him in the wide receiver room and then work him in the defense back room. In fairness, wide receiver is probably harder to learn. Plus, Ryan Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, that sounds fun.
Trevor Lawrence with ETN in the backfield still, right? He's still there for one more year, isn't he?
Yeah.
Or is he gone?
No, he's still there. There were some rumors that they might be interested in Genty,
right.
So they might trade him, but obviously they were going with Hunter, not Genty. So
did Travis say that when he was on the phone, he got put on with both coordinators? Both coordinators were on the phone call?
Yeah. I mean, look.
I mean, that's kind of a flex a little bit.
It's a bit of a rare circumstance, right? I mean, you just don't run into these things very often. I will say, great job by Green Bay. There were 200,000 fans out there. The scene was awesome outside of the stadium.
It looked awesome, but amount of
I'm
people.
sure as a person, it sucked.
No, I mean, like, we've seen the aerial shots of Kansas City, Detroit last year when it's been in other cities. This one didn't look as cool. Does that make sense? Just because it's a small town, so this was just not like.
But I guess I accept that about it in a weird way.
Amount of people, amazing, but the aerial shots we've seen better the last couple of years. Like Detroit looked incredible aerial. Obviously, Kansas City looked great. I'm talking because it's a small town. There's no downtown. There's no buildings.
There's
or
no
anything.
tall buildings with people.
They're all like 3-story buildings. Just across the entire town.
I did kind of like that though. That's what Green Bay is.
Yeah.
I think if you're a sport, you should accept like your different markets, and this is what the draft I think has done a good job. The draft has done a good job, including anybody who can't get a Super Bowl, essentially. Yeah. Hey, sorry, Lambeau. You got a 0.001% chance of ever getting a Super Bowl here. Want the draft, want to make a scene, historic venue, do the thing. I liked it. I liked the setup. It looked good. That's all.
Roger Goodell, of course, got booed immediately. He now just embraces
Drew got booed
it.
At the bar last night.
Drew,
you and Roger Goodell got the same treatment.
You both did the same thing. You just got to embrace it. You both pumped up the crowd as you were getting booed. Roger Goodell rode a bicycle onto the stage. Then you had
it's a Green Bay thing. I love it.
Clay Matthews, who of course played for the Packers. You had Clay Matthews go ahead and say this right as the draft was about to start.
The Bears still suck!
Love that.
Way to kick off the draft in Green Bay. Know your audience. Well done. Bears fans obviously not happy, but you know what?
So what? It's great. Like when you get it in your city, you're allowed to say whatever you want. And we saw people in Kansas City booed, right? We saw like Raiders players come up there to announce the picks. And like you boo them and you have a little fun. That's the whole point. Fandom is fun. That's the point of it. If they held the NFL draft at Ohio State, I would hope that a former Ohio State player would say Michigan sucks. Like I don't know. I don't have any problem against that.
We're just getting started talking draft. We're going to keep talking about Joshua Simmons. We're going to look at who's available in the second round. We're going to take a look at the AFC West. Couple stud running backs headed to this division now. Maybe why the Chiefs should draft some defensive players today based off of what they're going to be doing with Ashton Genty and obviously Amarian Hampton, who is now with the LA Chargers. Jaylon Moore is going to join us next week. We just got word on that. So Jaylon Moore was scheduled to maybe join us today, but we'll talk to one of the Chiefs offensive linemen next week on the show after the draft is settled.
I promise that we are going to talk a little bit about Jack Caglione playing right field. As a reminder, we all are planning out to go watch Jack Saturday, May 3rd in Springfield. Those tickets still available at 965thefan.com through that ticket link. $10 tickets to go watch the Springfield Cardinals versus obviously the Royals affiliate, the Naturals. Right now we have 100 and the exact number I believe, including us, 153 people actively going on the trip right now, which is going to be an awesome time. As a reminder for those who bought tickets, if you purchase the shirt ahead of time, we'll be handing those out at Harbell's, 3:30 to 5. A little pregame for everybody before they head over to the stadium. And then after the game, I imagine we'll go somewhere. But 3:30 to 5 for sure pickup. They're not letting Alex and I bring in 4 boxes of shirts into the stadium. If you'd like it before the game, which I imagine you would, so I'm not just giving it to you out of the trunk of the car. Harbell's, 3:30 to 5. Tickets available at 965thefan.com. Come join the 150 of us going to watch Jack Caglione on Saturday, May 3rd.
All right, coming up next, we are going to talk some Royals baseball briefly. Then we'll get back to the draft. Jake Eisenberg is going to join us. He does each and every Friday here on Cody and Gold. We'll get his perspective on a 4-game winning streak for the Royals.
What's up, Kansas City? This is Bobby Witt Jr., and you're listening to Cody and Gold, weekdays starting at 10 on 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Are you prepared for the change in seasons? Take advantage of Hamilton Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Rooter's $69 seasonal HVAC tune-up deal to help prevent costly breakdowns and ensure your heating or cooling system is running at peak efficiency. Over 40 years experience and more than 8,000 5-star reviews are great reasons to trust Hamilton. Our licensed technicians and exceptional service guarantee will give you peace of mind. Visit callhamilton.com for details, terms, and conditions. License number 2025-11121.
Don't miss your chance to bet on all the clutch shots and legendary performances with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel is the best place to find all your favorite player props, and now you can make a heads-up play with player performance trends. That means whether you want to bet on a player to score 30 points or put up a triple-double, you can check out the latest stats and see who's hot without leaving the app. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big And if you don't already have FanDuel, playoff time is the perfect time to join. You'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So visit FanDuel.com/Alex to join today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA and 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First on the real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Our biggest deal is back. The Tires at Cost sale at Telly Tire and Auto Centers. You pay what we pay. No gimmicks, no catch. All in-stock tires from Telly's huge inventory at cost. Plus mounting and balancing by certified tire technicians for only $27.95. The top brands, the lowest possible prices with a 30-day ride guarantee and lifetime tire protection. There's never been a better time to replace your worn-out tires. These unbeatable savings won't last long. Hurry and reserve your tires today. Take care of your car. Take advantage of our sale. Take it to Telly. Additional charges apply for junk tire disposal and road hazard warranty.
Flower power. The grass patch, hound flowers. I'm talking redbuds, dogwoods, begonias, lilacs, marigolds, pansies, impatient daisies, and mom's not the word. Come on down to the grass patch. The grass patch high on grass. Come on down to the grass patch. The grass patch high on grass. We'll roll out the turf for you.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/55 to learn more. With 24 monthly bill credits and 2 new lines with autopay for well-qualified customers plus taxes, fees, and $35 per line connection charge. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Contact us plus $5 per line without autopay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You know what's better than a limited time deal? An unlimited time deal. That's why the Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag with a Junior Bacon Cheeseburger, 4-piece nugs, Junior Hot and Crispy Fries, and small soft drink is available all the time. Because the best time for fresh, never frozen beef and Applewood smoked bacon is all the time. Duh. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. For the best deal of all time, gotta be Wendy's.
Unlimited time does not mean forever. U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, and California and via third-party delivery. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Your life, your goals, your legacy. With a dedicated Fidelity advisor, it's all part of a comprehensive plan to help grow and protect your wealth. Visit fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE, SIPC.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6812. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6812. That's 800-575-6812. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Royals coverage sponsored by Renner Garage Door. Forward and back, RENNER.
It's almost Andy Reid. The off-season is a perfect time for a $100 tune-up from Renner Garage Door. Get a free replacement quote today. Call or click RennerDoor.com. Renner forward and back.
RENNER.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
We'll get back into the draft here in about 10 minutes or so, including some of the players on the board beginning tonight, rounds 2 and 3, and maybe some comments from Brett Veach. They gave us some insight where they could go tonight in rounds 2 and 3 of the NFL draft. But the Royals had a doubleheader yesterday out at Kauffman Stadium. They've won 4 in a row. They begin a series tonight with the Houston Astros out at Kauffman Stadium. You guys, of course, hear Jake Eisenberg on 96.5, The Fan, every Friday, and, of course, during Royals games throughout the season. Jake, good to have you on the show, man. We were just talking, Cody and I, off air. You're from New York, right? So did you have are you a Giants fan, a Jets fan? Where's your football allegiance?
My football allegiance is obviously with the Chiefs, Alex. Come on.
Look, you can play Vinny's willing to admit his Jets fandom. It's okay.
No.
This is a safe place.
In all truth. So I grew up, technically speaking, I grew up a Giants fan, but when the Giants won the Super Bowl when I was like 10 or 11, it honestly didn't really move the needle for me. Like I grew up as a Mets fan, as a baseball fan, and that was the main thing. The football team that I rooted for the most, I was a Miami Hurricanes fan when I was growing up. My dad went to Miami, and my uncle went to Miami, and my grandparents had tickets down at the Orange Bowl for like 25 years. So I grew up a Miami Hurricanes fan, and funny enough, like Vinny Testaverde was like one of my guys when I was a kid because he was a Miami Hurricane, not because he was a Jet, and not because my name was Vinny. But I guess Vinny and I have that in common.
You know what? Those were some fun Miami Hurricane teams when you were a kid too. Nothing but NFL talent.
That 2000, 2001 Hurricanes teams, Ken Dorsey and Willis McGahee and Andre Johnson. Yeah, those were my team. Devin Hester is my favorite player of all time.
Oh, I got a chance to interview him once around Radio Row. Hall of Famer now? Did he get in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, yeah.
I believe that's correct, yeah.
Good for Devin. I mean, he is the all-time greatest return man. No argument there, at least. Jake, let's talk a little baseball. The Royals, obviously, people were worried about the start to the season. And I'm not saying, like, all is fixed and problems are solved, but getting to see some offense out of the Royals, and I thought especially, weirdly enough, in the Cole Reagan start, where he has to leave early, you stepping up in that moment felt like the biggest one of the three for me, because Cole Reagan's was the one you felt like you could win 1-0, but you needed the most runs out of that game.
Yeah, and ultimately the Royals scored 13 runs on 22 hits between the two games yesterday. I think this is kind of what we were talking about last week. What's more likely to continue, the Royals' struggles offensively or the Royals' really good starting pitching? And there are going to be starts along the way where a guy's going to have to leave early or another team's just going to have his number that day. And it was great to see the bullpen step up in Game 1. The Rockies didn't have a hit after the 4th inning of that game in Game 1 of the doubleheader. But then what did you get in Game 2? You got a quality start from Michael Lorenzen. You got 6 runs on 9 hits from the offense. That's about as complete a game as the Royals have played all season. And I think that's the Royals team that we have been expecting to see and waiting to see, and now we're starting to see. And that's one of the reasons why, we talked last week and a couple of weeks ago, and everyone's, a little bit on edge about the results so far. And yes, a 6-game losing streak, you don't like that. You don't want that. It's so early in the season. This is just game 27 tonight. And I think we're starting to see the team kind of round into form and hopefully start to come out of those offensive doldrums.
And, Jake, we'll see how this weekend goes. But Salvador Perez yesterday, his performance, that might be the thing I'm most excited about out of this winning streak right now. 5-hit day, maybe that's what gets him going. What have you seen from Salvi?
Well, I mean, maybe you guys have seen some of the expected statistics that I've shared both on the air and on social. The thing with Salvi is that, like, the batted ball data hasn't changed. It's just that the results have changed. And so this is what you would always expect to happen with Salvi hitting the ball hard the way he does. When he makes contact and he hits the ball hard, which he does and has been doing for a decade now, these are the types of results and the types of games you get. And so, look, 2 doubles in Game 1, 2 doubles in Game 2, 3 hits in Game 2. Is that going to happen every single night? No. But does it have the potential to happen just about every night? Yes, and that's what makes him such a dangerous presence in that lineup.
I know some things are just statistical anomalies, and maybe this is one. But when I think it was Nick Capel put out that Salvador Perez has the highest OPS out of any player in doubleheader history with more than 150 bats. I'm like, the hell? He just likes doubleheaders more? How is that a thing?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a thing or not, but let me ask you this: has there anybody ever that seems to enjoy playing the game more than Salvador Perez?
No. So he's just I got to play 2 baseball games today, and he's just excited.
Exactly, and so maybe it's just that simple. Just make sure you get an extra belt and you're ready to go.
Jake, I wanted to ask you about one player who I think when he got called up, a lot of it, myself included, right? We're like, I kind of seen this show. I don't know that it moves the needle much for me. Drew Waters, a player who when he came up, I thought, well, he'll be here for a little bit, but I don't know if he's long for the big league club. He has been a productive player for about a week and a half now for the Royals since his call up. What have you seen out of Drew Waters this time versus the last time around?
Yeah, I'm just seeing a little bit of consistency and a little bit more looseness than what we saw and I'll say 2023, because I don't know that last year was such a good or accurate snapshot of Drew, because he came up and he only played 7 games. But by all accounts, and I've talked to Nick Batters at the AAA level about this, he had a really good season at the AAA level, a really consistent offensive season from both sides of the plate and defensively at all 3 corner spots. And I think that gave him a lot of confidence. And one of the things he said when he got called up this year is that he was really happy and confident about the swing decisions that he was making at the plate. And while there is still some swing and miss, and there's going to be some swing and miss, I think overall we're starting to see those swing decisions bear fruit where he can kind of spray the ball to all fields. We've seen a double down the left field line. We've seen, that home run to the pull side too. He has a chance to be a versatile, toolsy player, which was the same kind of player that, we thought he might be when J.J. Piccolo, made the trade to acquire him a few years ago.
We're talking to Jake Eisenberg, Royals announcer here on 96.5 The Fan. You mentioned Cole Reagans a couple minutes ago. Any insight there? I mean, I know some fans maybe are a little nervous seeing their ace leave the game so early.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything further other than what the Royals shared, that it was groin tightness.
Yeah, with Cole in particular, he seems like he has the occasional here or there injury, but like the starting pitching staff in general, I guess they won't get their aces, right? They'll get Lugo tonight against the Houston Astros. What do you kind of look forward to in this series, at least, Jake, knowing that they're coming off the sweep of the Rockies and things are feeling a little bit better? Is this one of those, hey, get 2 out of 3, and then all of a sudden you're feeling fantastic going on the road?
Well, I think you get 2 out of 3 against anybody and you feel pretty good. I think especially against an Astros team that, honestly, guys, look, it's not your, I'll say, older brother's Astros team. Kyle Tucker's not there. Alex Bregman's not there. But guess who still is? Jose Altuve and Yordan Alvarez, and those 2 dudes are as dangerous as anybody at the plate. Jeremy Pena has been fantastic so far this season. And people forget, that dude was the ALCS and World Series MVP when they won it in 2022. And so this is still a dangerous team that has kind of retooled with Isaac Paredes at third base, who's off to a hot start. Hayden Wesneski is a guy that I've seen a couple of times at the minor league level when he was in the Cubs organization. He's also a Houston area guy, so no doubt he was kind of invigorated to be part of that Kyle Tucker trade. Cam Smith is a wonderkin prospect who's still getting his feet wet. Even though this isn't the Astros team that lurks as the behemoth that it might have been a couple of years ago, this is still a very, very good and very, very dangerous team. Their pitching has been excellent. The offense is always right around the corner from breaking out. I think this weekend's a really good test for a Royals team in facing a team like the Astros that has been there and done that year after year after year. I think this is a good test.
Jake Eisenberg will be listening tonight as the Royals begin that series against the Astros. 6:40 first pitch. That's Lugo on the bump. Appreciate it, man.
Anytime, guys.
There you go. Jake Eisenberg every Friday, 10:30 right here on Cody and Gold. Vern's on Deck Show, 5:30 tonight to get you started.
Those Miami teams were fun, man. He was that's the right kind of college team to follow there for a while. No shortage of entertainment. I mean, there was a whole Netflix 30 for 30 for probably a reason.
Well, sure.
They weren't boring. Look, the Royals are on a 4-game winning streak, and I know
as you said, it's not everything's not fixed, but you can still acknowledge. It's so weird. Like
winning is winning. Is that a bad thing?
Somebody texted in and says, "Guys, it's the Rockies." Oh, for sure. Last year, a big reason why they were able to make the postseason is they dominated lesser opponents, and this is hopefully the start of that, right? Rockies, they're going to play the White Sox a little bit later on.
How few above 500 teams they have in the month of April and the early May, right? Didn't you say it's like the next 25 games?
Yeah, no, nobody's saying everything is just fixed and solved, but if you're hoping they're going to play better baseball, it has to start somewhere, right? And they did that against the Rockies. Let's see what they do against the Astros. But I guess the wins still count against the Rockies. I don't know what we're supposed to do with that.
Accepting the fact that the Royals might be identical to last year in this way, where against great opponents, they're only okay. And against really bad opponents, they're just way better than them. I think there are worse places to be. I don't think that's a bad, like you said, it got them to a playoff series and a one playoff series and a very competitive series, I thought, against the New York Yankees. So I don't think they were way off base from where they needed to be. I'll take that in the early going. And they need wins right now. I don't care who they're against. We talked about this. You can't afford to go 5 games under 500 for the next 22, and then all of a sudden you are 10 games below 500. I don't care who they beat. Wins are wins. They don't count one less anywhere. They don't count one less in the standings. They don't give you less of a trophy if you win the World Series against a worst opponent. This goes back to like the NFL playoff stuff and everything else in between. I'm just never going to apologize for wins, which is what the Royals did a lot of this week, including a doubleheader yesterday in which they got both games. You and I have talked about the first-round picks kind of as ad nauseum. We're going to get back to Joshua Simmons. Binkley is calling it 11.
Oh, yeah.
Binkley, and this is not sugarcoating. Binkley hated that pick last night.
Oh,
I don't know if he's softened his stance.
No, he has not.
It doesn't seem
I don't know if he slept on it and thought, you know what, I like it okay.
I don't think he slept. I think he was research. I don't think he slept. We're going to find out.
We'll talk about Joshua Simmons specifically again coming up here at 11. But second round's coming tonight.
Yeah.
Third round's coming tonight. Let's talk about the guys we want. Right now we know what's on the board. Yesterday when we were making hypothetical guesses of what we think the Chiefs might want, we didn't know what was going to be on the board. So what do we want tonight out of the Chiefs? I think we could probably start this by doing another mock
let's
draft.
pick it up. Let's pick it up in the
Out of
second
Pro
round.
Football Focus, should we do that?
Mm-hmm. The Chiefs, of course, have a couple picks today. Pick 63, pick 66, pick 95. So let's start it now that we know that Josh Simmons is already locked into
Make
the
sure
Chiefs.
you pre-fill the picks.
It's going to be really hard.
Mine is
PFF
pre-filled.
does it.
Okay.
I'll be honest. If a defensive tackle is available at 63,
I
it's
just
going
hit
to be
start. I just hit
hard
start.
pressed for me not to take
All
it.
right.
I've started mine. I'll go first this time
Okay.
since I've already got mine. At pick 63, I'll just be honest. The guy I picked at 63 yesterday is available.
Yeah, he is.
Omar Norman Lott is there. I'll be taking the big defensive tackle out of Tennessee. I don't even have to change my pick. I liked it yesterday for a lot of reasons. I still like it today. There are more running backs available this time around. But Quinshon Judkins was still gone. Dylan Sampson was still gone off of my board. Kyle Williams, who I know Binkley really likes, was gone. Some of the edge guys. So, this feels like a logical choice. I'll go with the kid out of Tennessee.
So on mine, Norman Lott's there as well. But also who's there? Who wasn't there at pick 31 yesterday when he did? I'm taking Dylan Sampson.
Running back. My guy,
Tennessee.
he was gone on my end. So I wasn't able. He was actually gone quite a ways ago.
Yeah, so that would be my pick 63.
Eamon Worry, Burden, all those guys are long
True.
gone. Scorton, Mike Green.
I'm making it 3 vols in a row. Omar Norman Lott is available, and
so you're taking the same guy? Okay.
he just feels like the guy. I was thinking of taking somebody different, but for sake of what I think the Chiefs should do in this situation, give me Omar Norman Lott.
All right, so this is funny. Now that it comes back, 3 picks later at pick 66, Omar Norman Lott is still on the board on mine if I wanted to take him, but I'm not going to do it because of
You can get him as a steal.
the conversation we're having. I'm going to go wide receiver at this point in time. I hear a couple of wide receivers that are still on the board at this pick. The kid out of Stanford, also Jaylon Royals, and that's where we're going to go. We're going to take Jaylon Royals as the second pick in round 3.
Again, I like that pick overall. This time, God, 66. It's still so here's what keeps happening to me at 66. The only running back of the 3 guys that I've given you of the guys that I really like, or 2 of them are still available, right? Damian Martinez and RJ Harvey. But I can't decide if I want RJ Harvey at 66. I really feel like if I don't get the Quinshon Judkins, if I don't get one of those premium guys that I kind of want at 63 or 66, I kind of want to wait. I feel like it's a risk.
Yeah, my only worry is I don't have a defensive lineman yet in my pick, but I didn't like who was left on the board.
Yeah, I mean, look, and I understand that. It's funny, we're going to go opposite directions in this, and I'm going to end up taking a second defensive lineman instead of taking a wide receiver, or instead of taking was other guy. I'm taking Alfred Collins, and we're just going to be.
He wasn't on the board for me. I like it.
He's there, so I'm going to end up going Alfred Collins with my next pick. So. Until I'm going to hope RJ Harvey or somebody at running back is available.
A+ body type for Alfred Collins.
That's exactly right.
I'm going to hope some running backs available.
You were debating running back. I'm going to take a running back. RJ Harvey is my guy. I'm taking him at 66.
Okay, so then we go to pick 95. This is round 3, last pick of round 3, or second to last pick. I'm sorry, of round 3. Who's on the board? Who are you guys looking at?
I just ended up with Giddens again. The same thing keeps happening anytime I enter these mock things. And I'm not against Giddens.
Giddens not on the board on mine.
The only guys available for me every time I get to 95, the last 2 times you do this, is Giddens and Neal. I don't know if it's the way I'm drafting or the way I'm or the way I'm doing it. And I've told you before, I like both running backs as a talent. I like Giddens as a fit better. So after all this, Simmons, Omar Norman-Lott, Alfred Collins, and DJ Giddens would be my first 4. And then we can talk about some of the positions we can look at, not just our mocks. Who'd you get in round
Last
3?
one. I haven't drafted defensive line, but I feel like I have to at this point in time. So I'll go Elijah Roberts, the edge rusher out of SMU, as the final pick out of our mock here.
So I was debating defensive lines available too. It's a lot of defensive guys, or it's a lot of trench guys. It's O-line, D-line. Ashton Gillard is still there. I picked him yesterday in the 3rd round. Give me Ashton Gillard again, edge rusher out of Louisville.
So last night on the press conference, and we can play you some of the audio later of what Simmons said about coming to Kansas City and how much work they did on him, what Brett Veach said about the player. But in talking about the rest of the draft, he specifically mentioned these players. Leave a draft. We wanted to leave a draft with offensive linemen, or it's good protocols, what he said, to leave any draft. Offensive linemen, defensive linemen, corners, and wide receivers. One of those boxes is checked.
Yep.
So tackles covered. I'm not saying they can't take another offensive lineman, but I'll be honest, it better damn sure not be tonight. You have spent a lot of money and draft pick capital at center, at tackle, at guard. We're good. You're good for now. Because right now it's a first-round pick, or depends on how you look at it. It's either your biggest free agent signing or a first-round pick at left tackle. It is a second-round pick at left guard. It's a second-round pick and a high-priced one at center. It's a sixth-round pick, but now high-priced at right guard. And the most money at right tackle in the NFL at Jawan Taylor. So, I don't think you need to spend your second or third round picks tonight on offensive line. I am interested. Defensive line has to be one of the 3 picks. I think running backs should be one of the 3 picks. If it's not running back, I want a wide receiver.
Yeah, we're going to find out how confident they are in the cornerbacks that they have, knowing that not many are under contract after this year. Could that be one of the first picks that they make tonight? I hope it is an edge rusher, an interior defensive lineman. I also think the more we watch what happened in the AFC West last night with a couple of running backs go off the board and Ashton Genty and Omar Hampton going to the Chargers there, you've got to find a way to also stop the run. And how good do you feel, guys, about the interior of the Chiefs' defensive line right now? I'm a little worried about that. So I would look defensive line and maybe even interior. But as we just went through the mock draft process just for fun, depends who's on the board, right? You don't want to reach for somebody just because there's not a have to take defensive line with the first pick tonight. But at some point tonight, I think they need to. But if there's a better player available, a corner you didn't think was going to be there with your first pick this evening, I don't hate it. It truly is without knowing who's going to be available in that moment. So all of those positions are on the table. I also am with you, though, that running back tonight would not surprise me and should not surprise anybody.
The 5th round pick changes the calculus a little bit. Now that we're not doing these mocks out, Drew, I don't know how many mock drafts we did where they didn't have a 5th. The thing I desperately want to know about this, and they're not going to answer this for us, is did they want that 5th? Because that 5th, if you do the trade chart math on it, it would make a lot of sense to trade up from that 95 spot in the 3rd round. In the middle of the 3rd is what that 5th could do you. It can't move you up.
You're saying it could buy you a couple extra spots to get a Jack Sawyer or to get an edge rusher if you want one, or to get a wide receiver.
Yeah, unless you were willing to trade future draft picks into next year, it can't really move you up into the range. I know what Chiefs fans want to do. They want to go from 63 tonight to 40 and take Luther Burden. That 5th round,
example.
That 5th round pick won't do that. One of your 3rds will get you close. Your 66th pick?
You're saying you pair 66 and you pair...
Or not even the 5th. You pair 66 with a 3rd next year is what would get you there, Drew. And then you still have a 2nd tonight. You get to move up in the 2nd to get the guy you want high, right? You still have a 3rd round pick and a 4th round pick, but now you don't have to wait until the 7th. You can take another one in the 5th. You have more of a traditional draft. I feel like that's a movement piece.
They still have all their 7s, right?
Say again, Drew? Yeah, they have all the 7s.
I wonder, not that the
maximum 7s.
Not that the Rams would want to do it again, but where did the Rams move back to again in the 2nd round?
40-something with the Falcons pick, 45 or something like that? 47?
So if Burden somehow is available, I don't think he'll be available at 45, but I was just thinking in terms of teams that is because the Vikings are too far down because they could use some
Feels
more
like
picks.
I think Burden's going to be one of the first 5 players taken tonight.
I wonder if you gave up 63 and 66 and a 7th.
I don't think they needed. I don't think they need to do that. They're not that
63 and
desperate
66 would move you up in the draft trade chart, but I wouldn't do that.
If we weren't in Kansas City,
it's only one extra pick you're giving away.
I don't think we'd be. Maybe I'm off on this.
Technically,
I don't think we'd even be entertaining what you're saying, trading up for Burden if we weren't in Kansas City. And Burden went to Mizzou. I'm just being honest.
I'd be interested in a wide receiver, and I still think
trading
he's a really talented
trading multiple
one.
picks to go get one. I don't think they're in a position where they need to do that.
Yeah. I don't think that's the tough part. I don't think I'd risk it either, but I still am surprised he fell.
Yeah.
Like the measurables, like
the way that he the year that he had.
Awful final year.
Who was his quarterback for 80% of the year at Missouri?
I think we all agree with that.
But 6 months ago, he was. It has to be about this year because 6 months ago he was pretty much a consensus top 10, 15 pick, and now maybe he's going to be in the first 5 or 10 picks tonight. I think that's probably where we would all agree. We would think. I mean, every year there's a player that just keeps sliding and sliding and sliding. And where's that floor for Burden? Is it at pick 37 or 38, or is it all of a sudden that he's in the 40s? I would be surprised, but a lot of people are probably surprised that he's still on the board tonight. So
I guess that's a question. If you let's say you make Drew's trade scenario 66 and 63, you trade both your both your third round picks. And no, that'd be
second
your second and your
third
third round pick.
Second and the Tennessee
Is
third.
there a player left currently in the draft you would make that move for?
I mean, if Mike Green is somehow available at 40, I would swing and hit. I would swing as fast as possible.
You'd actually get a pick back. It looks
I don't want to do it for
Mike Green at 40.
I wouldn't do it for a wide receiver. I don't think they're in a position where they desperately have to go get one.
Yeah.
I know running back is always touchy for people, but if somehow Travion Henderson or somebody like that fell
40,
to the middle of the second round, I'd be interested. The problem is I think there's a ton of depth at running back. That's another position. Do I need to actually trade up? So when Drew mentioned a name, I don't think he'll be available, but maybe edge rusher would be one of the few positions I'd be okay with them trading up to get. I don't think they need to make a big 15-spot jump. That's giving away too much.
I just like goes back to the draft. Now that we're looking at it, I think that there's still 30 guys who are worthy of second-round grades on the board. Like that's where my reservation about trading up is, Drew.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at the board and you're like, all right, here are the players that I'm like, damn, they're still available. All of these guys: Will Johnson, Mike Green, Eamon Wari, Luther Burden, Shador, and that won't impact it, but that's a player that's going to go, I think, before
Some of the corners
before
that
Kansas
could've gone
City.
first round.
I thought Shamar Turner was just as good as the guy your Cincinnati Bengals took last night, so he's available.
Scorton.
Yeah, like
The whole
I could
Texas
just
A&M defensive
keep
line is
going,
good.
right? I didn't even mention Judkins, who I like is the best running back available left on the board,
Or Henderson,
Henderson, based on the thing we just had. And the Ohio State edge player, right? I can't ever pronounce his name.
J.T. Tuimoloau.
Yeah, he's also one of the guys that people have mentioned. Like, so once I start going through the list, I'm like, I'd almost be fine with any of the players I just mentioned, except for like Sanders, right? A player that doesn't make sense.
Seriously,
I don't know that I want to trade
you
out.
don't think
I'm
there's a
not pro
player
trade
that
out.
would be worth that sort of a squeeze?
If you're
essentially?
using some of those picks, I think it makes the most sense to take that 5th round pick and move up again in the 3rd, and then get like 4 of the top 80 players. You know,
so trade 95 and whatever pick
Yes.
the different round 5 is to get to 80.
that was the best part. Like, take all and we'll talk with Bink in here in a minute. The Simmons trade and why you and I would both do it, even if I've got reservations about the injuries and everything else. Getting that free 5th round pick from the Eagles,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
masterclass
It
right
doesn't
there.
mean you're going to get the pick right. It doesn't guarantee you that you're. But like,
It's a free pick.
All he said was, "Are you taking offense or defense?" He's like, "Oh, we're taking a defensive player." Cool, you're fine. Yeah, sure, I'll take the 5th. Like, sounds good to me. And both the Eagles and the Chiefs did the identical thing for positions of need. They both took a person who reportedly would have gone a whole hell of a lot higher if it wasn't for a very serious injury. You know why? Because they were in the Super Bowl last year. They can take chances like that. That's a whole other part of this equation.
Yeah, and we're going to find out how they utilize it. I mean, you can look at it as a free pick. You can look at it as, hey, the DeAndre Hopkins trade last year didn't cost them anything because they're getting a 5th round pick back. Remember, they gave up a 5th round pick with the D-Hop trade. So either way.
So that trade was free? Actually, they moved up. They got to move up like 15 spots for taking on DeAndre Hopkins for half the year.
Yeah, when they traded down, I think initially people thought they like traded out the first round. They only traded out one spot, and they still got the guy they clearly wanted. And all the talk for weeks was true. Like sometimes it's smokescreen. It was true. Like all the smoke about the Chiefs wanting Josh Simmons and trading up or not trading up and just believing that the medicals are going to check out. They weren't bluffing. He was there, and they obviously took him. Let's talk about Josh Simmons some more. Jay Binkley, our draft insider, he did a great job with Christian Osera last night at the Landing, but he is not happy with the Chiefs' pick. He'll tell us why next.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Rainy day here in Kansas City. A couple weeks ago, it was a rainy day in Kansas City, and I heard a drip. And I'm like, I don't know where that drip's coming from, and it makes me uncomfortable. I'm going to call Century Roofing because they've been in the Kansas City area for 35 years, voted best in Johnson County 3 years in a row, have handled over 30,000 roofs. And I knew that they'd give me an honest assessment of my roof. Free inspection, right? Hey, let's take a look. Do you need a new roof? Do you need us to talk to your insurance company if that's what you need? I didn't need that. I just needed some repairs to my roof, and now I'm confident in my roof once again. When I need a roof replacement, I'm calling them for all the reasons I just mentioned. There are a lot of people who will knock on your door when these spring storms come and they're like, oh, we got you. We'll take care of you. And you can't be sure they're going to stand behind the warranty that you know Century Roofing can. That's what celebrating 35 years and being voted best in Johnson County can do for the confidence. When it comes to something that big on your house, have confidence that it's going to be taken care of for life. When I buy a new roof on my house, I want that to be the roof the entire time I live in my house, and Century Roofing can give me that confidence. Trust the pillars of strength. Go to centuryroofingkc.com and tell them that Cody sent you.
Underdog just became one of the best places to make entries during the basketball playoffs with their Extender promo. With the Extender, you can play your way into increasingly bigger boosts each round of the playoffs. Start a playoff series by using your Game 1 boost and continue boosting each subsequent game to unlock the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boosts. Underdog is now available to play in Missouri, and their app has over 100,000 five-star reviews and millions of players. All you have to do is download the app and choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, and you can mix and match across other sports like I like to do. Download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code BOB to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code BOB. Must be 18 and over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/extend.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Call Aspen Lawn and Pest Control. Our iconic blue trucks and expert team get it right the first time. Award-winning full-service lawn care and pest control since 1985. Call today for a free estimate. Visit aspenlawn.com.
Hi, Mia here at the winnings desk of the Missouri Lottery. So, I wanted to write a thank you note for every dollar Missouri Lottery players have given to Missouri and education, but that would be 8.4 billion notes. So to save a little time and a whole lot of paper, here's just one. Dear every single lottery player in Missouri, thank you for helping us give $8.4 billion to Missouri and education. Sorry, my trumpet's in the shop. The Missouri Lottery. Winners welcome and play responsibly.
Getting engaged? At Shane Company, we'll help you find the perfect diamond. This is your engagement ring, aka only your life's most important piece of jewelry. No need to worry. As gemstone experts since 1929, we handpick only the most beautiful natural and lab-grown diamonds cut to our high standards in every price range. We have diamonds in all shapes and sizes, ready to compare side by side right here in our store. Come see for yourself at Shaneco.com or at your local store. No appointment necessary. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
It's the spring sales event at Rob Sight Ford, and I'm here with the man himself, Rob Sight. Rob, you already stole the spotlight. Now what are you trying to take?
Just your attention, Kevin, and maybe a few trade-ins. Now, we've got up to $14,000 off new Fords with employee pricing, plus our own dealer discount.
$14,000. That's hotter than your Sunday barbecue.
Exactly. And unlike your burgers, these deals won't dry out. We've got hard-to-find inventory, huge trade-in values, and our non-commissioned sales team makes everything so easy.
No pressure, just real help. Even I'll admit it, it's the best place in Kansas City to buy a car, and I don't hand out compliments lightly, or seconds.
That's a fact. And don't forget, we're Kansas City's top-rated Ford dealer on Google. 4.8 stars, nearly 3,000 reviews, and 0 grill marks.
All right, Rob, I'll give it to you, man. You're cooking up some real value over there.
Come see us at 135th and State Line, or visit robsight.com. But hurry, these deals are sizzling and inventory is moving fast.
And tell him Rob sent you. No guarantees, but he might throw in a hot dog.
Do you know a coach who goes above and beyond? The Royals, the CU and the Major Leagues Foundation, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City are recognizing those impactful men and women. Nominate your high school coach at royals.com/coacheswithcharacter.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You know what's better than a limited time deal? An unlimited time deal. That's why the Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag with a Junior Bacon Cheeseburger, 4-piece nugs, Junior Hot and Crispy Fries, and small soft drink is available all the time. Because the best time for fresh, never frozen beef and Applewood smoked bacon is all the time. Duh. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. For the best deal of all time, gotta be Wendy's.
Unlimited time does not mean forever. U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, and California via third-party delivery. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Your life, your goals, your legacy. With a dedicated Fidelity advisor, it's all part of a comprehensive plan to help grow and protect your wealth. Visit fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE, SIPC.
Take me out to my TV on FanDuel Sports Network. Yeah. Royals games, announcers, and more Royals games. Did I mention they have the Royals? Stream now.
Go check out 96.5 The Fan's Instagram page for videos, giveaways, and behind-the-scenes content. Your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5 The Fan. KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2. Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station.
They announced Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from Ohio State.
I hate this pick, actually. Don't like it.
That was Jay Binkley, our draft insider last night at the Landing. His live reaction to the Chiefs taking Josh Simmons at 32. Or I was going to say 31. I guess it was 32 after the trade with the Philadelphia Eagles. I certainly don't hate the pick. Cody doesn't, but there's risk involved, no doubt.
I'm scared of it, yeah.
Jay Binkley joins us less than 12 hours or so later, whatever, Bink. 1, did you sleep last night? And 2, are you doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Yeah, I went back and rewatched the draft because, you're sitting there. There's
Wait,
you're thinking about next pick.
Hold on.
Go back and kind of watch it. You can sit and kind of see what they're saying about different guys and stuff. So I went back and watched it. And no, I'm right there where I was yesterday. That is not a pick I would have made.
You said you rewatched the draft. Hold on. You got home at what, midnight? You rewatched like the Chiefs portion, or you?
Yeah.
What? Okay.
No, I pretty much watched most of it, and then I went on with Desco and Dusty this morning.
So why do you hate it? What's the thing? Give me the 3 reasons you hate it the most.
Patellar tendon injuries. I mean, people act like this is an ACL. This can be worse than the ACL. This is not a common injury in the NFL. It is something you have to wait on. And I don't think the Chiefs are in a position to, quote, redshirt a player for this season. We all saw the Super Bowl. We all know what happened. We know this window is now. And, yes, in 3 and 4 years, you have your tackle of the future, yeah. But are you going to have Kelsey? Are you going to have others on this team that are going to have to make a decision about whether to sign or not? And you don't know, because the NFL, man, it's one day you fall off the cliff. You can't always predict for the future. You have to play in the now. I just thought there was other better choices. I do like the fact they got the 5th from the Eagles. That was a con job right there. That was awesome by Veach doing that to the self-acclaimed best out there, Howie Roseman. That was awesome what Veach did. But no, not wild about it. I mean, here's the thing, man. So this guy plays at San Diego State. Was a right tackle. He transferred to Ohio State. He's pretty good last year, or better than good. But this year there were 6 games. He gets hurt in the 6th game. He's hurt in October. And all these people out there saying, oh, I love Josh Simmons. They're sitting at their water cooler. But, oh, man, I love this Josh Simmons pick. Really? Because guess what? He didn't play in the national title game. He didn't play in the playoffs. He didn't play down the stretch for a team that won the national title. Half these people couldn't even tell you what number he wore at Ohio State. And to say he's the best out there and all this, come on, man. I just think there's Ursery out there, the tackle from Minnesota, the Ruskin High School kid. If that's the direction you were going, I want something more surefire. Now, yeah, I think Juwan Taylor has to be on notice with this pick, even though that's a right tackle move, because it depends on how Jaylon Moore works out or not. That is interesting. Also, the arm length. I mean, we could talk to her blue in the face in the arm length, and, oh, you're a geek for looking at arm length. But you know what? They look at it, and Andy Reid looks at it. He has never drafted a lineman with shorter than 34.25-inch arms. He just did.
Right.
Jaylon Moore also less than 34-inch arms. It's a big reason why they hesitated to move Joe Tooney out to tackle, because he had 32.25-inch arms.
So I hear you on the injury thing. I think we both don't totally disagree. Like, that's the number one question with this pick is
it's a big question.
The faith,
the NFL, that's a huge question.
Yeah, the faith that the Chiefs have in their medical staff, and we're going to find out if they're correct. They clearly are banking that they have ultimate confidence that he's going to be good to go. I'll disagree with you on one point, though, about the redshirt thing. I actually think up until 48 hours ago, Bink, nobody was really even considering Joshua Simmons as ready for training camp. That started in the last 24, 48 hours, I don't know, from his agent, and then you have the Chiefs last night saying, Andy Reid, quote, he'll be definitely ready for training camp. That part of it is interesting. I'm still skeptical on that, but I'll be honest, I think they can afford for him to redshirt. I actually do believe that's fine, because they have one more year of Juwan Taylor, and then Jaylon Moore, we're going to find out if he can play left tackle, and if he can't, then he's going to be the right tackle, in my opinion, in 2026.
And you do get that fifth-year option, so that part's good on it. But the Chiefs have redshirted guys in the past. I mean, Tano Passanio was a redshirt guy. Now, clearly, this is a first-rounder. I don't think you want a redshirt a first-rounder, to be honest with you. Yes, he would have been drafted in the top 10. He was left tackle 1 at the beginning of the season. He's that good. He was that good of a player, left tackle 1. But the bottom line is, and I know I throw it out there, 31 other teams pass on him. Well, they really did. But of the teams that took offensive linemen, they didn't go him. There's a reason. Other teams aren't that dumb. Yeah, there are some dumb teams out there, but not all of them. And this guy almost slid out of the first round. And that's kind of a, really, do we really need to do this? And the fact he was gone. He didn't play down the stretch, didn't play in the playoffs,
right, we know.
Play in the title game. And people forget that. You know, I think because his dad played in Major League Baseball that all of a sudden we think the guy's going to be a pro.
I didn't know that, so that had no bearing on my – look, I'm admitting it's incredibly high risk, Bink. I'm not even arguing that point, but I actually think you're underestimating how stupid teams are. First, the top 10 teams were never going to take Simmons. That was never going to make any sense. Multiple quarterbacks outside of that. All right, we're down with 20 teams. At least half of those are run by idiots. At least.
Guys, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. I mean, there was a ton of people selling themselves on Clyde Edwards-Helaire the next day.
Yeah, no, I don't think people are saying it's 100% going to work out, Bink. I mean, I think we're all there's a lot of risk, but also a very high ceiling on what Josh Simmons. How much is it? Real quick, we've had you on for obviously for the last couple of months, off and on. You guys have been doing the great work with character concerns. I heard your live reaction. I heard Chris's live reaction. Luther Burden was on the board there. Yeah. How much is the dislike of this pick you truly thinking there was no way they were going to take him, and also you guys both desperately wanted Luther Burden?
Well, I really didn't think they'd take Simmons. Again, there was other offensive linemen there I would have considered. But, yeah, Burden is a guy I would have considered. Because, yeah, I do like Kyle Williams a ton, Ty Felton, like Royals, like Cody likes. There's a bunch of receivers, Almanor from Stanford. I really like a lot of these receivers. But Burden is the best slot receiver in this draft. And he's going to make a team very happy. Just watch the game film. Like, it's enough about reading expert picks. Don't forget, all these clowns on ESPN were trashing the Mahomes pick. Don't forget Shannon Sharp, all of them were just trashing the Mahomes pick. It's never going to work out. Deshaun Watson should have been the guy. And, you know, a lot of fans said the same thing. They really did. So you can't always go by what they say. But, you know, I might have gone a different direction of offensive line or Luther Burden. I specifically would have gone Luther Burden in this situation. We had this, you know, we do the mocks and all that. We get to that point, oh, man, Luther Burden's still on the clock. What do we do? We had to make the decision and take him. You heard Mahomes yesterday talking about throwing the ball downfield and spreading it out. And Andy Reid's talking about going downfield. They're talking about putting points on the board. Well, you're not going to do that by redshirting your tackle. You're not going to do it. To do it, you need quality wide receivers. And don't give me they have Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice and all this nonsense, because guess what? They both got hurt early in the season. You didn't have either.
All right, Bink. We appreciate the time.
I was going to ask him one more question.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Who do you want them to take today? How about that?
What do you want to have happen tonight so we don't have you on Monday's show upset about their next couple picks?
Who would make you happy tonight?
Well, the guy that I think Alex Golden likes the best, Dylan Sampson. I mean, I think we're lockstep in that one, Gold.
I do like that pick. I'd be very, very happy.
Obviously, Kyle Williams, a wide receiver I like. Ty Felton, that'll be more of a Saturday pick. But as far as tonight, maybe a Kyle Williams in that direction. Joshua Farmer, one of the defensive tackles I really like out of Florida State. Longest arms in the draft. You know he's a defensive lineman, but it does still matter. But he's Joshua Farmer for sure as well. But the second and third round are awesome. I mean, tonight's a great night. I mean, the board resets and all that. Hey, let me just put it this way, Alex. One thing. Like a Corvette Z06, what do they run for? $135,000?
I don't have any idea. Who knows that?
Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. I'm with you.
Well, the Corvette Z06, that is a prime car, man. You know, Josh Simmons was a prime tackle. You know what happens when you drive that Corvette off the lot and you get in a big-time wreck? Because the patellar injury is not an easy injury. That's a big-time wreck. Where does the value of that car go, Alex?
Yeah, but the difference is
it's a little more risky to buy that Z06 knowing it could crap on you at any point.
I get where you're going, but I actually think the example would be that this Corvette already wrecked, and now it's fixed, and I'm getting a better deal. It already lost its value.
I didn't have to pay MSRP. I got it from the used car lot price.
I have the Carfax report on Joshua Simmons, and they fixed it, and I'm getting it way cheaper. I'm not buying it at the same price.
How do you know it's fixed? You only
that's the risk, but I'm getting it a lot cheaper.
25 pounds, Gold.
There's a chance.
I can do that when I
the engine might knock in a few months. I don't know.
There's also a chance that for 5 to 7 years that baby's running smooth, and I got it cheap.
You know what? And there's a chance the wheels fall off by Independence.
All right, Bink. Appreciate it, man. Get some rest.
All right, guys.
All right.
I will
Jay
say,
Binkley.
I think we overestimate. Like they'll be like 32 teams passed on him. All right, that's always kind of a misnomer in me. 31, right? 31 teams passed on him. First off, there are, let's just agree, 10 to 15 teams that already have their left tackle. They weren't taking a left tackle on the first. We agree? Right?
Yeah.
And then another 3 teams or 2 teams who took a starting quarterback. All right, so now I'm up to 17 teams. And then the remaining 13 teams who didn't take him, again, half of them are idiots. So realistically, about 6 teams decided, whoever took the Seahawks when they took Zabel, they decided not to take the risk. A couple of others decided not to. Whoever took, I don't know, they decided not to take the risk. I don't think 31 teams decided Simmons was no good. He was going to go number 1. The whole thing comes down to, and we'll talk more about it here in the Chiefs Right Half Hour, but it's just like, it's a risk. I'm not even pretending like, he's right.
No doubt.
I might get lemon lawed on this damn thing and get screwed. They just give me the solution, I guess, if you're like a Chiefs fan that's hesitant, about how you solve left tackle easily. And I don't have it unless take a big chance.
They've had 5 different starting left tackles in 5 Super Bowls.
Yeah, it's tough.
And that is enough to take the risk here. And yeah, there's risk involved. Andy Reid has had Rick Burkhalter as his team doctor, team trainer since his Philly days. He's banking on him being correct. We're gonna find out. It's a big risk, but this is not a first-time head coach with a brand new medical staff. They believe that when they brought him back in, there's enough there to see that he's going to be able to fully recover. Now, I am skeptical that he's good to go in training camp in week 1, and here we go.
Yeah.
My mind is more on 2026. Truly, whatever they get in 2025, I'm viewing as gravy. I'm not basing failure or success on 2025 for this.
It's just weird. I generally kind of hate. I'm with Binkley. You know this. You've been on the show a long time. I'm usually with. I kind of hate redshirting first-round picks. First-round picks should play. Like they should contribute to the team right now this year. That doesn't mean they have to be a starter, but they should be rotational defensive linemen. They should be wide receivers, running backs who contribute. This is the only position. This is the only player in the first round I would have entertained this with, and that's where it is. Last night, by the way, this was not the Chiefs taking Simmons at 32 was not a surprise. There were several surprises. We got to get to Drew in a minute, who did classic fan stuff last night at like 11 o'clock at night. He must have been watching until 3 in the morning. He didn't even set an alarm. He was late to work today. Drew couldn't even make it in on time. He was so excited about Shamar Stewart. So we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah,
we're the 2 biggest.
Goodness.
Travis Hunter, the Jags taking a shot at Travis Hunter and trading up to 2, and then I'll be honest, the dumbest decision made in the entire first round. Not Simmons, as Bink would make you think. The dumbest decision made in the first round, which was the Falcons giving up a first-round pick next year just to sneak back into the first for James Pierce Jr. The Hunter one is the most fascinating one because if you're willing to give that much up in the trade haul, then you are very serious about letting Travis Hunter play both ways, which is the thing that interests us all.
You think you're getting a generational player. That's what the Jags think. They believe they're getting a generational player. Otherwise, you don't make that trade up. And you've got to let him have the ability, at least in the early portion of his career, to be a factor on both sides of the ball. And I think for Jacksonville, a first-year head coach, you're looking to find a dynamic weapon, potentially solves two issues for you. And I don't know, has Travis Hunter said Duval yet or anything? Have we got? Is he better or worse than Liam Cohen?
Duval. He did say it.
Yeah. He
did he say it weird?
Duval. I don't think it was that weird.
No.
Let me see if I can find it to roll in. I think he appeared on.
That's one of those trades where
post-draft presser when he was introduced to the media to answer some questions.
For that pick to be worth it, he has to. Maybe he doesn't have to be generational, but he has to be one of the top 20 players in the league within in about 3 years, right?
What's
Don't you
weird
think?
is though, if you play both ways, what does that mean? Because I heard Mac and somebody else on the morning show, they were both saying he's going to be one of the biggest busts in NFL history. I don't agree with that. I think he's a really talented player. But let's just say, what if he's a corner too? He's Christian Fulton level corner, and he's also a 915-yard wide receiver. Does that count? Or does he have to be a star at one of them for the odds? I get two positions for one pick.
Right.
That seems pretty. So I get a corner, number two corner, and a number two wide receiver. I feel like that qualifies as working.
I think, though, as his career goes on,
I don't know.
Yeah, we're all guessing here. I mean, as his career goes on, let's say second contract, right? Is he still playing both positions when he's 29 years old? I don't know. I think the first few years in his career, he plays both and see where it goes. But if he all of a sudden, let's say he just clearly way better at wide receiver 3 years from now.
He was a better wide receiver in college. That was always the crazy part about the corner stuff.
If he's good enough to be a top 20 wide receiver and he's an average corner, when he's 29, is he still going to play corner, I guess is what I'm asking. I don't know. The James Pierce trade up, I like James Pierce Jr. The Rams getting a future first-round pick, though, for the Falcons. Now, the Falcons moved up from the 40s to get to 25 or whatever it was, 24, 26 maybe, something like that. You got to move up a lot. It's going to cost quite a bit, but from the Rams, that's a great trade. You get a future first-round pick.
I hate to give him credit. Mike Flory had the best tweet of the night of the whole thing.
What did he say?
He said, in a 2-year span, Les Snead went from F them picks to F them picks. Like, he's gone.
Yeah.
I don't think, you know what? God, that is the best way to describe it.
It's true.
You should, honestly, Les Snead is doing it the right way. When you are in a win now window in which you can buy yourself a Super Bowl and you were successful at doing it, trading away your picks doesn't hurt so bad, Gold. But when you know Stafford is getting older and you're going to need to reconstruct this roster a little bit, getting a first-round pick out of the Falcons to trade back in, that was the best move of the night. That was the single best trade of the night out of any team on the positive or negative. He got the best deal out of anyone. He had to go the furthest down, but that was the best deal, no doubt.
And the Falcons got 2 edge rushers in the draft, though. So I'm not saying James Pierce is not going to be good, but the Falcons gave up quite a bit in order to get him. Travis Hunter did say, Duval! His is way better than Liam Cohen.
It's still weird, though.
The beginning?
Duval!
But some of that's just his voice. That's just his voice.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
I'm just saying, I feel like they should get a new. My official vote for the Jags is they should say something else besides Duval.
That's Duval County. I think the whole thing works. It's just Liam Cohen made it very awkward, but I think the whole Duval thing works just fine.
Yeah,
can we
they're
briefly
passionate about the county that they reside
Can we
in.
briefly discuss your night? Last night, as the Cincinnati Bengals were on the clock, first you were booed inside the entire bar.
Loudly booed.
Booed inside the entire bar. And your initial reaction to the Cincinnati Bengals selection was not that of one you enjoyed. You did not. You on air, to my understanding, said you did not want that player taken by them.
And then minutes later, they draft him. You were all upset. You came over to us and said, they're talking about his broad jump, and this is good.
Cincinnati already did this with a player with high upside, and it failed miserably. I don't know if you said that, but you said it wasn't working.
It is currently failing right now.
Okay.
As a matter of
then
fact.
I want to get the right time on this to see how quickly. So that was that. What time was that Bengals pick, do you think?
9:15.
At 10:27, you send a text in our group chat. And I can read this, not a bad text. I'll read it as it said. Got home, watched 20 minutes of Shamar Stewart stuff. I actually like the pick, LOL.
I can buy into it.
Position of need, and while he doesn't quite get the sacks, he's right there all the time.
That's right.
So in about an hour time frame, you now love the pick? By the way, that you and every other fan last night with their team's pick.
I
that's hilarious.
I think I over-exaggerated. I like the pick more than I did originally because and this is the thing. I was more disappointed at the player that they took. They took the right position. I'm glad that they went defense. And look, Shamar Stewart can pan out to be wonderful, but there's other guys that I think I would have taken. One of them being Mike Green, who's still available for whatever reason now, but. Look, in the end, I pulled a little bit of fandom, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch some of the evaluation stuff that people have done.
Talk yourself into it.
Brian Baldinger
Classic.
really likes him. Baldy thinks he could be really, really, really good. It's just a matter of finishing up some things with his technique and how he finished his sacks. He had the most pressures on the team last year. Again, on a D-line that has Shamar Turner, Score-In, himself. I mean, that D-line is loaded.
How late did you stay up? Because you did come in late today, very late. You said you texted us said, "Hey guys, my bad. I overslept."
Yep.
Were you up like Bink watching the draft again till 3 a.m.?
No,
what happened?
I was not up till 3 a.m.
Blue Chew was involved or no?
No Blue Chew.
Okay, I didn't know what's going on.
We were worried about you.
I just didn't. I forgot to set the alarm.
Just went to bed and forgot to set the.
He was so amped up about the draft, man. Forgot the normal routine. You know,
it happens. Happens to the best of us.
All right,
You said. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say you just said some classic fan stuff that really made me laugh, which was. You know, he was really close to some sacks. Mike, oh man, you're down bad. You start talking about how close he got to the quarterback.
I mean,
he
had the most pressures. It's just a matter of finishing some things up.
Trash of the day.
All right, this one takes us to, I believe it's Texas. Yeah, just north of Austin, Texas.
Okay.
I don't know if any of you have been in one of these yet, like a true self-driving car. Any of us on the show?
No, I haven't.
We don't really have them around here, like flat-out self-driving. It's more in bigger cities, like maybe when we're in California, where you'll see it or whatever next week or 2 weeks from now. But anyway, this has to do with one of the providers, the Waymo taxis. They have these in Austin. They have them, I think, in New York as well, and in L.A., and these are those fully automated self-driving cars. Well, what happened here is the vehicle got stuck in the intersection, right? The car stopped in the middle of a lane underneath like a...
Underpass or something?
Yeah, an overpass. And they couldn't get out of the vehicle. Like, imagine you're in self-driving, vehicle stops. What are we doing here? All right, let me open the door, just get out of the car. Nope, locked. Stuck in the vehicle. They tried to contact customer service. Initially, that did not work. Video from within the Waymo shows the group arguing with live support agents as the screen prompt riders to exit now, all while this voice continually chimed in and said, vehicle approaching, because they're in the middle of a lane. So, like, they're in danger of getting hit. And eventually, they obviously got them out, but they were stuck for, I think it was 6 or 7 minutes. It's not a terrible amount of time.
Too bad. I thought you were going to say like 30, and then I was like, oh, no.
But does this change your feeling about getting in one of these fully autonomous?
Their company said, quote, Waymo riders always have the ability to pause their ride and exit the vehicle when desired. Passengers can exit the vehicle by pulling the handle twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. You say that now. Look, my wife is a little hesitant about these. I don't think I'd think that hard about it. I'd probably get in one and not sweat it too much. I would not make it my permanent vehicle.
Oh,
right?
no, this is supposed to, yeah. Like
if I were just in one, I don't know. If you and I were coming back from the bar, I'd probably do it. Now, they better not ask me for the tip at the end. That's like me scanning my own thing at the store.
Yeah,
like I don't want you asking for 15% if the automated car drove me home.
Now, look, if we land in California here in a week or two, if you tell me that there's an automated taxi to take me to the hotel, I wouldn't hesitate to get in that, I don't think.
I mean, there'd be a brief part of me that was a little bit worried.
Because of this story?
No, just because it's the first time I would have ridden in. But no more, you know what I'd be more scared of? Let's just say given the two choices. All right, Cody, you and I are flying to California to go watch Nick get married, and we're both getting in one. And you have a choice, Gold. One of us has to take the other. You can either get in the self-driving car, or you can get in a freshly licensed car with a 16-year-old behind the wheel.
Oh, I'm taking the autonomous car.
Ding, 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 immediately, right? Like immediately.
Yeah.
So like no worse than when eventually my kids get a driver's license and I got to sit in the passenger seat watching them go through it. So I feel like it's a worthy risk if you think about it that way. Probably less likelihood. I mean, more likelihood to get locked in the car, less likelihood of getting an accident.
What I don't like though is the idea that literally they couldn't get out of the vehicle. Like, this is stuff out of a movie where it's like the technology takes over and, and you're stuck in your house or you're stuck in your car.
I don't know if you watched the show. Did you watch the show Silicon Valley?
No, I've heard of
HBO
it.
show,
No.
really, really, really good. In an episode of that, an automated car gets stuck, but it like puts them on a shipping container. Right, it drives it because it's supposed to get delivered somewhere, Gold. So like an automated car like puts him in a shipping container, he gets stuck on an island. You know.
Okay. Someone says those Waymo taxis are 3 times more expensive than using like Uber or whatever. Well, that's the case, then I'm out. Why would I? We just want to use it one time for fun. If let's say my Uber ride is $30 and this thing's going to charge me $90, well, I'm out. Why am I going in the auto?
All the self-driving stuff, I'm out on all of it.
Just wouldn't get in it at all.
Not at all.
Damn.
Nope.
I mean, I'd like the technology to get a little bit further.
If it's 3 times the cost, I'm out. I'm not going to pay three times the cost just for what would be a quick Uber trip.
I would want it to be less or the same. Like, it's not cool. I'm not paying for the novelty. I'll just let somebody else drive.
Maybe one time. I guess maybe one time.
One time on the way to the airport.
On a short drive or something.
In California, one time on the way to the airport, I was in like a hotel shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like one of those ones that'll take you to the airport with everybody. And that guy got in a wreck on the highway on the way there. I had to wait for a different shuttle to pick us up and almost missed my flight.
Well,
and that was a regular person. It's not like the car's going to do any worse than that getting me to the
Someone
airport.
said, self-driving car, man, I hate those stupid effing conversations you're forced to have with the Uber driver. You can usually give a clue if you're in the mood to talk. Like, you can usually, like, they'll ask you something. If you give a short answer, then they pick up on the clue that maybe you don't want to talk the whole time.
You have to pull up the, hello? Hey, how's it going?
Oh, you're faking
not
the phone?
faking. That's worse. That's so awkward.
No, you just you be polite, but, like, you just don't continue asking questions within the convo.
I think we would be more fit than maybe anybody else. We'd be fit us more. We talk about we do radio all the time. You just debate yourself in a topic, essentially. Act like you're on the phone. You can be.
The whole point would be you don't want to talk
to the person.
Yeah, you don't want to talk. You don't want to fake talk.
I'd rather have an uncomfortable or like quiet conversation with a person than fake an entire conversation. That sounds awkward as hell.
All right, that's the trash of the day. Up next, let's get to the Chiefs Red Half Hour and back into what Brett Veach was able to do on the back end of the draft. We'll also talk about the rest of the AFC West, which went running back heavy yesterday.
What's up, Kansas City? This is Vinny Pasquantino, and you're listening to Cody and Gold, weekdays starting at 10 on 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
As men get older, our bodies change. We all know that, and often we just accept the changes as the way it is. But some of those changes, such as bad sleep patterns, low sex drive, brain fog, no energy, and reduced gains in the gym, could be due to low testosterone. And that is something you can change. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. And even if you're in your 30s, if you're experiencing some or all of the symptoms I just noted, you very well may need low testosterone treatment. With our treatment protocols, if you're like most men, you'll be amazed at the change. You'll have more energy, improved mental clarity, your sleep will be better, so will your workouts, and you'll likely find that your sex drive increases too. So give us a call today and make the change for good. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. And if you start on treatment the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600. That's 844-447-6600. Or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices to serve you. Heartland Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice.
The world is turning yellow with dandelions, and that means it's time for Weed and Feed. As step 2 of GrassPad's idiot-proof lawn care program, Weed and Feed is designed to control broadleaf weeds and feed the lawn. Throw it down on a wet lawn and let it sit on the leaf for 48 hours before mowing or watering. Keep the yard looking great this spring and get your Weed and Feed down today.
Come on down to the grass pad. The grass pad's high on grass.
It is one of my favorite times of the year, and you don't want to miss it with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app. FanDuel is the best place to find all your favorite player props, and you can make an heads-up play with player performance trends. So that means if you want to bet on a player to score 30 or put on a triple-double, you don't even need to leave the app to find out who's hot. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win even big. The NBA playoffs are the perfect time to join, and you can get started with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So use my promo code KFNZ. Go on
FanDuel and get started for the NBA playoffs. And make every moment more this spring on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, and also 96.5 The Fan. 21 in President, Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued with nominal drawable bonus bet, which expires 7 days after restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem. Get up with your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit kansasgamblinghelp.com.
Don't let clogged drains slow you down. Call Hamilton Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Rooter today for our $79 mainline drain clearing special. The pros at Hamilton will inspect your drains with video camera technology to pinpoint exactly what is needed to clear those clogs and help prevent expensive drain repairs. The expert technicians at Hamilton are ready 7 days a week to solve your problem the right way the first time. Over 40 years experience and more than 8,000 5-star reviews ensures your peace of mind. Visit callhamilton.com for details, terms, and conditions. License number 2025-11121.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce, spruce, spruce.
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
Have you tried hands-free Skechers slip-ins yet? Because if you haven't, you're missing out on technology that changes how you think about shoes. Let me explain what makes Skechers slip-ins so incredible. First, these are not just regular slip-on shoes. They're not just a pair of loafers without laces. Skechers slip-ins have laces, and once you tie them to fit your foot just right, you never have to tie them again. They also come in boots, dress shoes, sneakers, work shoes, sandals, and every other kind of shoe you wear every day. But what makes them different is the technology inside that lets you just step into them. There's a built-in hidden shoehorn that slides your foot in. Then a comfy heel pillow cushions your foot and keeps your shoe on securely. So they look, feel, and wear just like a pair of shoes you're used to. Except you don't have to bend down, struggle to put them on, or touch them. Just step in and go, completely hands-free. And everybody I know who tries them doesn't want to wear shoes that aren't Skechers slip-ins ever again. They're just that amazing. Try them at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
What's up, guys? It's Drew. You know, with the NFL draft, we hear a lot of what players do well, positive physical traits, upside, and all these other things. This person does this really well. This is their secret weapon, hand placement. They're able to dip a little bit more underneath the pressure. What if your secret weapon could also be used in the bedroom? You didn't even have to train or anything like that. I'm talking about Blue Chew. Wherever you decide to get it on, Blue Chew is that secret weapon. Your partner wants you to do whatever it takes to make your sex life better, and you can look to Blue Chew for that. They're an online prescription service. No visits to the doctor's office. There's no awkward conversations and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. It goes right to your door in a discreet package, and their licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. And if you don't like swallowing pills, that's no problem because Blue Chew's tablets are chewable. If you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit BlueChew.com and get your first month free when you use our promo code KFNZ at checkout. You just pay $5 in shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code KFNZ to receive your first month free. Then you'll be ready to chew it and do it.
Drafting the perfect roster means getting the right balance of power and performance. Season after season, Ego Outdoor Power Equipment has drafted a truly innovative lineup of cordless tools that has the power of gas without the noise, fuss, or fumes. Plus, the same battery powers all Ego essentials, from mowers and blowers to chainsaws and trimmers. It's all power, zero compromise. Check out the Ego lineup of spring must-have tools at egopowerplus.com.
You know what's better than a limited time deal? An unlimited time deal. That's why the Wendy's $5 biggie bag with a junior bacon cheeseburger, 4-piece nugs, junior hot and crispy fries, and small soft drink is available all the time. Because the best time for fresh, never frozen beef and Applewood smoked bacon is all the time. Duh. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. For the best deal of all time, gotta be Wendy's.
Unlimited time does not mean forever. U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, and California via third-party delivery. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
The technicians you can trust with your house keys. Anthony Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric.
Stay comfortable year-round with expert HVAC installation done right the first time. Enjoy zero down and payments from $180 a month. Schedule your consultation today at AnthonyPHCE.com.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan.
All right, it is the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Reminder coming up at 1 o'clock today. Fan Club Friday Draft Edition. Joshua Brisco going to join us as he did throughout the season. He's going to join us to talk a little draft. Been a bit since we had Brisco in studio. We'll talk his thoughts on Josh Simmons and, of course, what else could happen tonight. Rounds 2 and 3, and then Saturday, the final day of the 2025 NFL Draft. You guys can watch the show, as always, on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the shows. Makes it really easy. You can also text in 913-586-7965. That is the Jay's Southland Tow Service text line. So the AFC West last night, we knew the Raiders had a top 10 pick, and the love that seemingly Pete Carroll had for Ashton Jeanty was true, right? There was the press conference that went viral a week or so ago where a reporter asked their general manager about Jeanty, and Pete Carroll leans into the microphone and says, "Hey, be careful talking about him." Like, okay,
he was serious.
Gamesmanship or whatever. No, they truly loved Ashton Jeanty. So think about what the AFC West did last night. Jeanty, running back to the Raiders. The Broncos did not take a running back, but the same running back everybody thought the Broncos were going to take, well, the Chargers took to go with the run-heavy scheme there with John Harbaugh. And then the Broncos go and add to a great secondary. They already have Pat Surtain, and they go out and get Jahdae Barron out of Texas. So it gives you an idea. You know, they're viewing it as, hey, we got all these weapons in our division now. We're just going to have a great secondary. While Surtain is great, down the stretch of the season, the Broncos secondary wasn't quite as good. So they feel like they shore that up. And then obviously the two running backs, those were the scheme fits. Think about the coaches that they have. Pete Carroll goes out and gets Geno Smith. They already have Brock Bowers. Now they have a difference maker at running back in their mind. And then the Chargers, Justin Herbert is there, but they're going to always be a little bit more run heavy than other teams just because of Harbaugh.
The only issue I take with it is part of the conversation you and I had not that long ago, where I'm like, hey, you guys don't have to do the same plan. You can have different plans. Denver is the only one doing a different plan this offseason. It seems like the Raiders and the Chargers approach is identical. And in my opinion, that makes it easier for the Chiefs to plan against you. The fundamentally, like, you got different levels of quarterback, but you're like doing the same things. And if you're going to all do the same thing, the Chiefs, who already dominate this division, will have a chance to do it. Do I fear what Hampton, who you and I both think is a really good player, and Jeanty, who is a really good player, does this? Does it move defensive tackle?
Yeah, I do think the Chiefs,
higher on my list.
I do think the Chiefs need to get some defensive line help.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I'll hear that out. But the key to beating the Chiefs, the only teams, and very few teams do it over the last 5 years, has never been the secondary or your running back. I'll just be honest. That has not been like the key to unlock it. Is how good is your defensive line, and is it elite? The end. That's the list. Is your defensive line elite? And if it is not, okay, you can have those things. You can be more difficult to guard. You might beat us in a game even for the first time in a billion years. But do I fear you? No. My whole thing with Harbaugh, and I was thinking more about it. I said this on the show last night when I went on the draft show with Binkley and Chris Nocero. My biggest issue with Harbaugh, and I don't know if you guys agree, I'm actually kind of curious, is that Harbaugh is really good at winning. Like, I'm not denying, Harbaugh's a really good coach. He is good at winning. I think he's bad for quarterback development. I don't think he makes quarterbacks better. He's good about just making quarterbacks win. And Herbert needs somebody to make him better. Like, it's not that he didn't get anything out of Alex Smith or get Colin Kaepernick to a Super Bowl. In a lot of ways, I feel like he wants more running. He wants to grind this thing out. I'm not sure that that's like the NFL championship model.
No, his style is like Justin Herbert. If you're looking for the crazy numbers, that's not going to happen with Herbert because of the scheme. We disagreed on this a couple weeks ago when you did bring up, like, you thought like the division's doing the same. I still push back. I don't think just because two teams in the division
it's funny that they
drafted a running back means like they're taking the same. I get what you're saying, but like just because all three of them could have drafted running backs, I don't think it would have meant that they all think the running back's the key to beating the Chiefs. I just think with where they're at,
their philosophies are just lining up very similarly, so I kind of view it that way. But I get it.
But like what you just said about the Chargers, what they want to do offensively is not the same what the Broncos want to do offensively. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but the running back portion of it just worked out that way. The Broncos also had a need a running back. My guess is they're going to draft a running back tonight. The same way we talk about the Chiefs drafting one. They're probably going to draft one. The Chargers, a little surprising maybe, but because of the Najee Harris addition, you thought maybe they were happy with that, but they want to have a 1-2 punch in that backfield, and that's something that Harbaugh likes to have. So, yeah, I mean, the division, I thought, had a decent night, though, at with the draft. They're going to have to ultimately get great quarterback play and all that to knock off the Chiefs. But in terms of addressing needs and getting better in certain areas, I think the Raiders clearly did that at running back. That offense now has Bowers and Genty.
You pick at 6, you better get an impactful player, I'll say.
Sure. I mean, the Raiders' offense was 29th in football last year. They had to get more explosive offensively, and I think they did that. Does it mean they're winning 10 games? No, but
they got way better quarterback already.
Yeah, and then for the Broncos, it's always weird. It's like, well, do they need to get any better in the secondary? They already have Pat Surtain. Well, it helps that if teams are trying to avoid Surtain now on the other side, you think maybe you got another difference maker there, versus at running back. Like if you're the Broncos,
has a chance to be one of the better secondaries, or at least cornerback duos.
Yeah, but I'm with you that I think how does this cause? I don't think it causes the Chiefs to pivot, but it makes you look at defensive line and the need that we already knew existed, edge rusher, interior, and like you better be able to stop the run, though, a little bit. Like you're saying that's not why they've lost games, but also we have watched plenty of games at times where if a team can run all over them, it causes the game to be far more competitive and tight and puts way more pressure on your offense.
It just seems to have been the thing they were willing to let go defensively.
Yeah.
I'd have been more fearful if it were tight end, honestly, because that is a position
where
they
didn't get Tyler Warren. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That I would have been more fearful in a lot of ways if it was that instead. And look, I told you straight up, I did not think Tyler Warren would go behind Colston Loveland. I just told you I thought Loveland was as good as Tyler Warren. And apparently, the Chicago Bears agreed, everybody.
Yeah, I still don't get it. I still don't get it. Loveland before Warren is still pretty wild.
It doesn't bother me because I think Loveland's just as good. But, I don't know if you saw, I think it was, I don't care. One of the NFL insiders, I'd give proper credit, but I don't remember which one it was, said that was the player that everyone was trying to trade up for or making calls for in the teens. And the second he went at 10, all the trade talk, because no trade happened between 10, that's when all the trade talk just got quiet. In the 10, 11, 12. I just think Colston Loveland's a good. So would I have done that if I were the Bears? Yeah, probably. Ben Johnson can make me look really smart, I guess. Or, vice versa, at least on that end. But the way it's fun for them. And they need weapons. They think they got to score.
Tyler Warren, unfortunately, right now has either Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones throwing the football.
I might look smart in year one, but I'll go ahead and reserve right on flexing if that's correct for, 4 years down the road. Because Loveland, with their talent, might have his Kyle Pitts rookie year, and then I don't know what the hell's going to happen after. I did see a stat for part of the reason everyone thought they might go tight end. I didn't realize this. Ben Johnson's offense last year in Detroit ran 2 tight end sets 30% of the time, the second highest in the NFL to the Chiefs. Love 2 tight end sets. So they ran a lot of 2 tight end sets. So now Cole Kmet and Loveland, they can just do that all the time again. The one part is Cole Kmet's a good player. I'm not saying he's like a superstar, but I mean, he's a good player. I know I use him as an example of
you have used him a lot.
Mediocre as not mediocre as average tight end play or slightly above average tight end play. He's just I don't know, easy name to remember, I guess. Is probably the short answer.
He had his best season is 700 yards receiving.
Whose pick did you like the best? Genty? You're a big Genty guy. Is that probably it? They're picking higher, so it's easier for him to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing, I like the pick. The only problem with it is because he was top 10 and the way he's been talked about, it depends on what's everybody's expectation. If you think he's going to be a Hall of Famer, well, then you're not going to like the pick. If you think he's just going to be a stud, one of the top 3 to 5 backs in the league in terms of rushing yardage, well, then, I think that's what he can be.
For running back to work in the top 10, you have to be at least that. Yeah. It's got to be that. You got to be the 1,500 all-purpose guy.
And I think he can be that. Now, if you said, well, you're going to be disappointed if he doesn't turn out to be, Barry freaking Sanders or something, well, then, you're gonna be really, if he's not Derrick Henry, then you're going to not like the pick. You know what I mean? Then you're going to be disappointed. I don't think he's going to be Derrick Henry, but I also think he's immediately going to be a 1,200-plus yard back.
I think when you take, and I think pretty consistently, if you take a running back that high, they have to be one of the 5 best running backs in the league today.
I think he
today.
might be. Yeah.
And he might. But that, that's just straight up the bar. Yeah. I'll never say a player, no matter where they're taken, has to become a Hall of Famer. That is sometimes just aiming a little too high. Unless you take a quarterback 1-1, that should be your hope. Okay, fine. Cam Ward should be a Hall of Famer. If you take a quarterback 1-1,
I guess
that's kind of the expectation. It's fine. But outside of that,
in Tennessee, I'm sure the expectation is just going to be a top 5 or top 10 quarterback. Please, that's all you're. If you told a Titans fan he was just a top 10 quarterback, I'm sure they'd be thrilled. Absolutely thrilled.
Oh, yeah, probably. But, if you're a top 5 quarterback for 15 years, you're probably a Hall of Famer. That's just Like, not all the time, but like if you're one of the better running backs kind of across the board, you consistently do kind of maintain that. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't really move the needle. Let's get back to Joshua Simmons, at least on that end. The Chiefs obviously selected their guy, 32 overall. The easy part of this conversation is we all love that they got a free 5th-round pick. They were going to take the linebacker the Eagles took. They got a 5th-round pick for not having to do that. Sweet. I mean, there's no even being. I don't even care if you dislike the pick. There's no way to hate that.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only player I will break a number of my rules for, and so yeah, I'm still really scared because I don't like redshirt players in the first round, injury-prone players. I don't even buy into as much of the like they'd have been picked 7 if they were just healthy. Like I even always think those are a little overestimated based on it. So like this is breaking some of my general rules of how I feel about the Chiefs and how they should use their first-round pick even at the end. And it's weird because the notion of like, well, the Chiefs haven't found a first-round left tackle because you can't. It's impossible at 32, and now they might is like, I mean, I understand the injury is why they think they might have a chance to do it, which is why, again, it's very risky, again, that they might not have found it. I do it for tackle because I'm sick of looking at the same left tackles or different left tackles every year. They had to take a swing if they were ever going to fix left tackle. They might not, but they had to take a chance in order to have a chance to do it.
I know you don't agree with it, but I do think the difference is this year picking 31 ended up being 32. It had a situation where there was a tackle that a lot of people did believe Cody was a top 20 pick, but he was hurt. So he became available at 31 and 32. And as little as 24 hours ago, you and I both didn't think he'd even be there at 31 or 32. And he obviously was. And that's why they were able to get him. Thought we were going to have to move up to get to 24 to get him. So clearly you even at least thought he was a top 25 pick, maybe at bare minimum.
I did. I thought somebody else would talk themselves into the medicals.
But the injury risk is real, of course. And they are banking on the work that Rick Burkhalter and their training staff did, that through recovery, where he's already at, and looking at the imaging, all that kind of stuff. We're expected to have a doctor join us coming up, sports medicine doctor Jesse Morse, around 12:30, by the way, to give us way more expertise on this. Obviously, we're not trying to claim we know all the details on that.
No, we're just looking at what people like him say on the internet.
But the Chiefs are banking on that they've done their due diligence in a great way, and that this is a training staff that has a good track record in terms of evaluating draft prospects. Trey Smith, much different condition, right? We were talking about a heart condition there, but they evaluated and said, no, this. We can get the regimen here. We can make this work. Rick Burkhalter was with Andy in Philly, and I believe Carell Buckhalter had a patellar tendon injury as well. Different position, different person, but they were able to go through that. So they're banking on that. And if they were wrong in their evaluation, well, then it's going to be a disastrous pick. But if they are right and he can get back to what he was, then it ends up being a home run pick. That's the risk, but the reward element that we're talking about.
I mean, anything, if he's a starter level quality left tackle, it's a good, like, you want to talk about, you just mentioned with Genty.
Yeah.
If he is a 6-year starter in Kansas City at left tackle, it's a hit. Like, I'm not,
of course.
You didn't even have to trade up. Like, you just used pick 32.
They've had 5 different left tackles starting 5 Super Bowls. If you're telling me that they had the same left tackle for 4 straight years, it's a big win, Cody.
My whole thing is, it really
or
goes,
right tackle, by the way, because there's a chance if Jaylon Moore plays well this year and he actually starts the season there, Josh Simmons could eventually be the long-term at right tackle. We don't know if he's going to be a left tackle or right tackle.
No, and I don't think it would really matter if he was the starting right tackle for 10 years. It's still a success because you need help at tackle in the long term at both positions. The thing, like, again, normally, and you know this, I hated that with Felix. Like, oh, it's a project. Well, I hate taking projects at 32. It's stupid. Most of the time, I don't like it. I'm on Bink's side of, like, you're in the middle of a championship window, but at left tackle, tell me how they were going to get a left tackle without taking a huge risk. Either a Dan Moore level free agent signing instead of the small risk they took with Jaylon Moore. So you either overpay dramatically, you trade up and give up first round after first round. Like, it's some kind of swing. The swing in this case is on the injury front. That's the risk they're taking. It was going to take some kind of risk one way or the other. That's why I'm okay with it. Yesterday before the show, I told you, I wasn't going to come in here and bang the drum and try to pretend like I'm all gung-ho on this. I'm not like, A++++. I love this deal. Best draft pick they could have ever made. That's not who I was before this pick, but I'm okay with it. I'm comfortable with the decision they made to take this player for all of the reasons that we're talking about now and why I think they kind of have to take those chances.
I still for the next couple months, it's going to come up over and over and over, and certainly when we're up in St. Joe for training camp. Andy Reid last night said,
open competition
definitely,
between the three
well, you
tackles,
said definitely ready for training camp.
Yeah,
he said definitely ready.
He's probably lying on that, but
I hope he's right, because that'd be incredible. Because I'll be honest, my whole thought, though, and I think all of ours, when we were discussing Josh Simmons for the last 2 months, when mock after mock started having him, it was with the idea that he was redshirting for sure. And now in the last 24 hours, suddenly it's like, well, no, he's
fine.
He's fine. And that came from the Chiefs last night. It also clearly came from the agent before the draft even started yesterday afternoon.
He got the Miyagi treatment sometime in the offseason, just rubbed his hands together and his knees
So
fixed.
for me, if he's available in 2025, that's just an added bonus. This pick is about 2026 and beyond, as far as I'm concerned. And is he available? And is he effective? All of that. 2025, I can still see a scenario where you and I are there in St. Joe, and by the time it gets to there, like, well, we want to be a little cautious here. He's making great progress, but yeah, he's going to open up camp on the PUP list. And I mean, that should not stun anybody if that's ultimately what this ends up being. I hope not, right? Because again, great news if he's not, but I'm very skeptical still that he's available in 2025, and that doesn't mean it's a bad pick, because I always thought this pick was about 2026 anyway.
I will say this is going to be a huge swing in the Brett Veach draft legacy part. I think he's a good drafter. I think there's maybe only a couple of GMs who have drafted better than him over the last 5 years. I think you can make the argument for 2 or 3. But if he whiffs on this, they're going to bury him. And they're going to forget that he ever took Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis, who are good players, or Xavier Worthy, who looks like he's on a good path to be a good player. And all they're going to do is mention FAU and him. Like, if he whiffs on this one, they're going to bury him. Like, they're going to bury him. I don't think it's fair, but I'm just saying, like, that's coming.
I hear what you're saying. I think that it will be viewed as that, no doubt. I would also say, like,
and Clyde.
Let's see what they do tonight, and how do those picks turn out, though? Like 3 years from now, yes, this is pick 32. It's the headliner, right? It's the headliner, but they didn't trade up and give away 15 picks to make it happen. I'm guessing what I'm saying is, if it doesn't pan out, criticism for sure, 1,000%, but it doesn't mean the rest of the draft doesn't count. I guess what I'm saying is, but if you tell me in the same draft they found 3 starters and one ends up being an all-pro, then the draft is still a success.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but
I'm saying in the court of public opinion, not even the way we can look at it objectively, because we're probably talking about a conversation we're hypothetically having 4 years from now, or 2 years from now.
I don't think we're going to even see him play it down in 2025.
What is our expected hit rate, I guess, in first-round picks for any GM? Let's say for Brett Veach, let's say he's always picking between 30 and 32. That's all he's ever picked at this point. So you're picking between 30 and 32. What is your expected full-time starter hit rate, right? Like, they're at the very least, bare minimum, a important or semi-important starter for you.
Well,
50%,
I would say some of the
70%?
Some of the numbers are out there that tell you that. So 31% of first-round draft picks from 2010 to 2019 signed a second contract. So that tells you a lot of bust. You're not getting a second contract. That's not a good sign.
He's picking at 31, so it should be more like 25.
53% of first-round picks based off of like just this comes from 33rd team as well. 53% of first-round picks had what they score as an AV of 5 or higher per year, which means what they view as decent but unspectacular career. So half of them have average careers.
So Brett Veach, if he hits at a 50% rate, would be. I want him to hit better than the average, right? I'm not looking for a guy hitting the average.
I know, but you're asking the numbers. I mean, the picks 1 through 14 have an 80% success rate as 3-year starters. Drops to 60% for picks 15 to 25, and 50% for picks 26 to 32. Now that's a 10-year sample size.
Okay,
but in the last 15 years,
so you need to be
the sample.
In my opinion, you need to be in the grade above. If you're going to be one of the best GMs in the league, I need you at that 60% rate. Right now, what's his hit rate? His first-round pick he ever took was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because he didn't have a first-round pick in the Breland Speaks year. He didn't have a first-round pick the year after that. So the first pick he took, I think, was Clyde. So 0 for 1. He didn't have another first. This is his numbers are so low. Then he didn't have another first-round pick. So 3 of the first 4 years, he didn't have a first-round pick. The following year, 2 for 2. Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis, we agree. Those are hits. Those are full-time starters in the NFL. One's a huge hit, but those are hits. So he's now 2 for 3.
And then Worthy.
66%. Felix Anudike, miss. He's 2 for 4 right now. And Worthy, it's like, probably 3 for 5.
Yeah, I think it's a hit.
I think so. Like, this is like a year. I'd rather just, I guess, wait a year before I made a determination on it.
Yeah.
Like, because if I had told you, like, Worthy, FAU was a miss after 1 year, you'd been like, too early to say miss, which I think is fair. So, like, I'll wait 1 year.
Because we
to
haven't
make
seen
sure.
anything,
Yeah. So, like, Worthy had 650 yards receiving, had a great postseason. Oh, well, I think it's probably a hit. I'd probably concede it if you made me choose one way or the other.
I guess what I'm saying, though, you asked the question, though.
So he's hitting at the rate I need him to.
He's hitting at the normal rate.
Yeah, he's hitting it slightly above the rate for where he's picking,
for where
60%.
they're picking. Yeah,
which is all I'm asking.
And they've won rings along the way doing it.
Well, yeah, but that's how they'll keep winning rings, right? I'm like,
they're going to keep winning rings because rounds 2 through 5, they find starter after starter after starter. That's how they're going to get it done. And in this case, yeah, if Josh Simmons is a starting left tackle for 5 years or 5 or more years, then that also is how they prolong this, and they can address other areas in the next 5 drafts instead of having to spend another pick on a tackle. If you tell me that Jaylon Moore plays well and Josh Simmons projects to be he is what they think he is, well, then left tackle, right tackle is fixed for the next 4 or 5 years because they'll just give an extension to Jaylon Moore. That's best case scenario stuff for them. We'll see if it actually pans out that way.
Yeah, Simmons dominates and so does Moore, and they just give both a contract. Now that's a lot of money tied up in offensive line, I'll say.
All right, up next, we'll get to what's trending. Then let's talk more about the quarterbacks that were taken last night and the ones that weren't, and what's going to happen this evening. That's coming up next.
This is Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Tune in to hear Royals insider Josh Vernier every Wednesday at 12:30.
We need to nip this in the bud. We need to nip what in the bud?
On your home for Royals baseball, 96.5, The Fan.
FanDuel is the best place to find all your favorite player props, and now you can make the smarter play with their new performance trends. Want to see maybe if a guy's hitting that over consistently, or maybe they've been flirting with a potential triple-double? Get the latest stats right inside the app and see who's heating up. And once the game starts, well, you can combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. And if you don't already have FanDuel, well, it's not too late to get in on the action as well. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So just visit FanDuel.com/Alex to join today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA and 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Wendy's has this new Cajun Crunch chicken sandwich. And to be honest, I'm kind of crushing hard on this Sammy. It's packed with bold Cajun flavors and topped with crispy onions for a satisfying crunch. All on Wendy's iconic spicy chicken sandwich. It's honestly kind of my dream sandwich. I hope it likes me back. For a sandwich you'll love, gotta be Wendy's. Open till midnight or later.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location.
With us is Dr. Christian Hedinger with KCUC, Kansas City Urology Care.
Let's talk about robotic surgery.
KCUC brought robotic surgery to Kansas City over 2 decades ago. We performed the first robotic surgery, and we have led the charge since.
How do you maintain the constant technology improvements?
Each generation of robotics that's come along, we have consistently stayed at the forefront.
What is special about the prostate cancer treatment at KCUC?
We have surgeons, radiation oncologists, medical oncologists, medical dispensary, pathology, all under one roof.
Is being an independent group provider, is that an asset for your patients?
Definitely. Being independent allows us to provide our patients care in an office setting as opposed to a hospital, where you get the most personalized, streamlined, and cost-effective treatment.
See the experts at Kansas City Urology Care. At KCUC, you see the best in KC. To make an appointment, visit kcuc.com.
Hey, it's NBA champion Bill Wennington. It's the best time to be a basketball fan. All the thrills and the playoff drama, done sitting on the sidelines and ready to win some real cash? Check out Pick 6 from DraftKings. When it comes to basketball payouts, DraftKings Pick 6 posterizes the competition, including prize picks. Hit all your picks and score higher minimum payouts on Pick 6 Plus. Even more cash if you outscore the competition.
Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code 965. That's code 965 for new customers to play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.com. shop.draftkings.com/promos.
Call Aspen Lawn and Pest Control. Our iconic blue trucks and expert team get it right the first time. Award-winning full-service lawn care and pest control since 1985. Call today for a free estimate. Visit aspenlawn.com.
And Doug. Quickly, Moo. We don't have much time. This Liberty ad is already almost over. We only have a few precious seconds to remind people to customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Okay. Well, I guess we had more time than I thought.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
MVP Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Electric is your home's MVP this spring and summer. Get a summer AC tune-up for just $39 and avoid costly repairs. 913-214-1212 or visit themvpkc.com. MVP. One call does it all.
I love a day on the water with friends, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis sometimes holds me back. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
Teaching music is my passion, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm treating my joint symptoms with Skyrizi.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months.
Or if you are an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Get 5 quarts of O'Reilly Full Synthetic Motor Oil and a MicroGuard oil filter for $29.99. In-store only. Limit supply.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Drafting the perfect roster means getting the right balance of power and performance. Season after season, Ego Outdoor Power Equipment has drafted a truly innovative lineup of cordless tools that has the power of gas without the noise, fuss, or fumes. Plus, the same battery powers all Ego essentials, from mowers and blowers to chainsaws and trimmers. It's all power, zero compromise. Check out the Ego lineup of spring must-have tools at egopowerplus.com.
Get 5 quarts of O'Reilly Full Synthetic Motor Oil and a MicroGuard oil filter for $29.99. In-store only. Limit supply.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm at a smoothie bar asking people if they'd switch smoothies with me for $574.
Oh, I'll switch.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
That's a headache.
Nope, it's painless.
Oh, so it's easy money.
Yep, check Allstate first and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Take me out to my TV on FanDuel Sports Network. Yeah, yeah. Royals games, announcers, and more Royals games. Did I mention they have the Royals? Stream now.
What's up, KC? This is Matt Quattrero. On your way home from the ballpark, make sure to listen to Vern's postgame show right here on 96.5 The Fan. I will not be listening.
96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station. What's trending?
What's Trending is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. We start, obviously, with the Chiefs at pick number 32 last night after trading down one spot with the Philadelphia Eagles, acquiring an additional fifth-round pick. The Chiefs did. They select Joshua Simmons, offensive tackle from Ohio State. We've been talking about him throughout the day. We'll continue doing that, obviously. Kansas City last night, though, did hold a little media availability. Andy Reid said that they expect Joshua Simmons to be available for training camp. So now you take a look at just what potentially could happen in St. Joe. Joshua Simmons, Jaylon Moore, Jawan Taylor, all options at tackle for the 2025 season, maybe. If not, certainly looking ahead to the future, at least two of those names. Picks in round 2 and 3 tonight for the Chiefs. They got 3 of them. See what they do. We'll talk more about what we think they should do a little bit later on.
Trade up, trade down, which picks we want. We'll get into all of that here in just a little bit. Next up on What's Trending, Royals winners of 4 games in a row after sweeping the Rockies yesterday, winning both games of a doubleheader in, relatively easy fashion, all things considered. No update yet on Cole Reagans, who did leave the first start of the game with a little groin tightness, I believe is what they called it, after just 3 innings of work. Bullpen really picked him up. Offense really picked him up. They'll begin a series against the Astros tonight. It'll be Seth Lugo on the mound. Royals now just 2 games back below 500 and 3.5 games back in the AL Central. Yeah, Too early for games back, but you know.
And I hear you. 6:40 first pitch, Ferns on Deck show, 5:30 right here on 96.5 The Fan. Elsewhere in the draft tonight, everybody keeping an eye on who could go off the board very early on when round 2 begins. Some of the big names remaining, obviously, I think headlined by Shedeur Sanders. We're going to talk about that in just a bit. The quarterback, of course, out of Colorado. Also, Will Johnson, a corner. Mike Green, edge rusher that's been talked about quite a bit. Travion Henderson, one of the top running backs, just to name a few of the players, including local product Luther Burden and Ariante Ursary, all available still in round 2. We'll see how long they have to wait to hear their name called this evening.
Next up on What's Trending, local soccer action this week in Sporting Kansas City will take on Cincy tomorrow, and the KC Current will take on the North Carolina Courage tomorrow as well. Again, still the only undefeated team in the NWSL. KC Current off to a perfect start.
That's right. Lastly, NBA playoffs do continue. They were going on last night, as a matter of fact. How about the Knicks-Pistons game? The Knicks found a way to get that 118-116 win. The series lead is theirs, 2-1. The Thunder up 3-0 in their series. The Clippers up 2-1. Boston up 2-0, and they'll begin their series tonight, or continue their series tonight, Celtics and Magic. Also this evening, the Pacers, who are up 2-0 on the Bucks, and then the Lakers and the Timberwolves. Series tied at a game apiece. That continues this evening. That's what's trending on Cody and Gold. Don't forget, we are 8 days away from our Cody and Gold road trip down to Springfield, Missouri to watch Cags, who, by the way, was playing some right field. We're going to get to that in a bit, but playing some right field last night.
Okay.
But at last check this morning, 150 listeners have signed up to join us in Springfield. Reminder, if you pre-ordered a T-shirt, those are closed, but if you did, you can meet us at Harbell's Bar and Grill, which is a few minutes away from the stadium, beginning at 3:30 next Saturday. That's May 3rd. The weather also looks great right now, 73 degrees and sunny. So all is hopefully setting up for a great weekend, a great day, I should say, in Springfield next Saturday to watch Cags.
In about 10 minutes, I'll tell you why I think Caglione will for sure still be in Double-A on Saturday, May 3rd.
Famous last words.
I know. I said pretty sure we'll be there, but we'll talk about Caglione playing right field because it's not nothing across the board, but we'll tell you exactly how much it is. But yeah, come out and see us. We're 8 days away, like you said, a little over a week. Weather's supposed to be nice. We're going to have drinks at a bar beforehand, go to a baseball game. Alex and I are staying down in Springfield. Dusty's staying down in Springfield so we can hang out after the game, whatever. We just want to have a great time going to watch Caglione play. All rocking our CAG shirts. Somebody from our group will throw out the first pitch. I believe they're choosing that.
Yeah,
but
one of the listeners that bought tickets through the ticket link will randomly be selected by the Springfield Cardinals to throw out the first pitch. So that's pretty cool.
You have to get there a few minutes earlier. Not that early. Just early enough to sign a waiver and, let it rip.
That's right.
Don't embarrass us, okay? We're trying...
Or do, and provide us content.
Or do, and then Monday be prepared to be absolutely buried on this show. I'm warning you now.
Coming up in 20 minutes, we're expected to briefly chat with Dr. Jesse Morris. He's a sports medicine doctor. He had some interesting tweets last night about the patellar tendon injury in particular and the track record that has with NFL players in terms of getting back on the field, et cetera. We all know that's kind of the story around this Joshua Simmons pick and the Chiefs' faith that he's going to fully recover from this injury and be good to go at some point. They claim by training camp, but we'll talk to a doctor about that just to get a little more insight because we obviously certainly don't want to pretend like we know what the heck we're talking about when it comes to an injury or something like that. But that is definitely part of the convo around the Chiefs' top pick. Meanwhile, tonight, I mentioned some of the names that are still available, Cody, for round 2 and into round 3 as well. A lot of the convo centers around the quarterbacks. So we have 2 quarterbacks winning in round 1. And months ago, everybody said, 2. Well, it's Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, obviously. Nope. Cam Ward and Jackson Dart. Dart goes to the Giants. They trade back into the first round. The quarterback room in New York is now Dart, Russell Wilson, and Jameis Winston. And not in that order, by the way. Russell
Back
Wilson
to the Ole
starting
Miss
week
train,
1.
huh? They decided it worked for Eli Manning. Let's just go back to the same school.
Sure.
The Chiefs' next quarterback going to be out of Texas Tech.
They reportedly like that they could run some RPO stuff in the athleticism for Jackson Dart over Shedeur Sanders. Plus, there's obviously what seems to be a clear consensus that he's a second or third round quarterback, that there's some work to be done there for Shedeur Sanders. And I think there's a chance he's just the first pick tonight, though.
I hope for his sake, I guess it is. Mostly because now I'm on the other side. It's not like you and I have just been applauding everything Colorado's done of all time, but it was weird last night. Normally when a player slides, the collective group of people are always like, oh man, tough. Kid's dream, Hard to watch him go through this. And instead, everyone was dancing on his grave last night.
It's a little weird, isn't it?
And yeah, I did not like it. It felt kind of, and I think it's because he's braggadocious and he's
no doubt
he's arrogant or cocky or whatever it is. And as a result of that, people don't like it. I would just say this is not the first arrogant player to ever go through the NFL draft process. It turns out there's been a few. Sometimes that's good in an athlete, despite that. I'm just surprised he's fallen down this low. I know this is not a deep quarterback class. I have seen, I don't know how many times, 40 worse quarterbacks go higher than Sanders has gone in the first round. They have overlooked a lot of flaws from quarterbacks over a lot of years. I'm not sure why his flaws are unwilling to look over, because he does have some things that really do work for his game, including the completion percentage and the toughness and some of this other stuff that really do favor him. I know the arm strength's a question. I know he gets sacked too much. I know he footwork needs some work. I know the flaws that come with the player. I would just say that Jackson Dart possesses not the same flaws, but just as many flaws.
The question with Dart that I would have, and one is obviously how long till he gets an opportunity to play, because you have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. He's also potentially going to have a brand new coach and general manager after 1 year in the league. I mean, unless the Giants shock everybody, there's a very good chance.
The same thing as Eberflus, terrible way to go in the league.
Very likely Dable and that regime is fired after this year. So then a new regime's going to inherit Jackson Dart. So you never like that setup. But that could have happened if they would have drafted Shedeur Sanders. The same thing would have applied. Jackson Dart, can he cut down on the turnovers? That's the biggest discrepancy to me between Sanders and Dart, and why I would have chosen Dart over, or I would have chosen Sanders, over Dart. Jackson Dart had a turnover problem in college. Can he correct that? Shedeur Sanders, while he's flawed in other areas, actually one of the best quarterbacks in the country, turnover-worthy plays or whatever. So that's my question. I do think he's off the board within the first 4 picks, because Cleveland has 2 of them, right? Or 2 of the first 5, I guess, or whatever it is, tonight. If he slides past the top 5 tonight in round, top 5 of round 2, then we're talking about an epic slide to where he could be a late second round or third round pick.
Well,
get crazy.
I will say we can't rule out third. I think he probably just goes to Cleveland with one of these first 4 picks. The reason why you can't rule out third round is, and this has been pointed out before, I'm not breaking new information. Quarterbacks don't go in the second round. They just they either go in the first round or they go in the third.
Usually, yeah.
I'm not saying there's 0 instance. Will Levis is an example of somebody going in the second round. But 90% of the time, you either go in the first or you go later. Second round is not usually arranged for quarterbacks. If they would take you in the second round, they would normally just take you in the first. More often than not, that's just kind of how they do it. They trade back into the first or a million other spots to go with it. And again, I see the same stuff, right? I'd be like, oh, yeah, they didn't have custom draft rooms built for themselves. And
he brings a lot of it on himself, no doubt. No question. But I'm with you where I don't get the rooting for somebody to have their dream of being a first-round pick not happen. You may not like the kid. Clearly, a lot of you don't. You may not agree with the legendary room and why are you drawing all this extra attention, especially when you're not a first-round pick. But what I won't get ever probably is the notion for someone that off the field hasn't gotten in legal trouble or anything like that, hasn't quote unquote done anything wrong. Even
if
he
teammate by all accounts,
even if he handles himself maybe how you wouldn't prefer to see your quarterback handle himself, I don't know why you would root for him not to be drafted. You know what I'm saying? You can think he's not a good quarterback, but I don't get the rooting for anybody unless it's somebody that clearly had a bunch of baggage and in terms of legal trouble, and you're like, oh, this guy's just a piece of what. That's not what we're talking about here. We're like, you don't like that him and his father are very confident people and in your face people. That just admit just admit it instead of trying to like beat around the bush. That stuff drives me crazy.
Yeah, because if you just don't think you're a good player, there's no other player that you didn't think was a good player you're just burying.
Because the whole like Deion's going to meddle in the business thing. In October, Deion was acting like, hey, I'm going to tell teams where they can draft him. They quickly realized he wasn't going to be a high draft pick. And so Deion did not meddle in the draft process. He claimed he was. He didn't because he recognized that was never going to work because his quarterback, his son, was not going to be a top 10 pick.
The one really funny clip from last night was Shedeur was sitting there and he was like, they got Joe Flacco quarterback. He was talking about with the Browns. And he said, Flacco, man, he's my age. I was just dying. That's such a funny line.
Well,
and not wrong necessarily. It's just a funny funny line. Look, the Dart thing, I'll just be honest. It is exactly like the Eberflus thing, and I told you then it was a terrible decision.
Yeah.
You cannot make a worse decision than to take a college quarterback, put him in a position where he's going to sit, immediately force him probably, to be like week 9, Russell Wilson to be 3-6. They'll throw him in, then they'll fire the coach, then he'll have to learn a new system, and we won't know 3 damn years into it if Jackson Dart's any good if they haven't already ruined his career. Fit for quarterback matters. Sanders should be hoping that the Steelers still like him and they take him in the second. That's still...
The Steelers don't have a second-round pick, though, right? Don't they have to trade up?
Fine.
They don't have a second-round pick,
But that should still be the team he roots for finding a way to end up on. That they trade Pickens for a 4th and use that in their 3rd, or I don't know, whatever.
Do you guys think, though...
They should be rooting for something else.
Do you guys think with the Steelers not taking a quarterback in round 1 and currently not having a second-round pick, it either means they deep down truly believe Rodgers is coming home...
Yeah, I think so.
Or they think, well, if Rodgers even bails on us, we could just trade for Kirk Cousins before the
I think
season.
It's probably more Rodgers. Didn't you see there was at least one report yesterday that said that they wanted him to tell them 48 hours before the draft? And then one report said, and they have an idea of what's going on. I think it's just like Aaron Rodgers is going to Pittsburgh but doesn't want to report to work yet is kind of my
fine. I'm not
feeling on
worried
it.
once he's there. I still would be worried until he's signed.
Yeah, in
that
stone.
All of a sudden, I mean, we joke about it, but I'm being dead serious that he truly wakes up one day after sleeping in a cave one night and decides he doesn't want to play anymore. Like that's a real thing that's happened. So that's why I'm bringing that up. It's not even like trying to make fun of it, but like it's literally he's the only quarterback where you have to worry about that. No other quarterback is going to wake up one morning and decide not to play.
No. But
that
with
currently,
him,
that's it.
But with him, it's a very real fear. I told you earlier, if you made me guess right now, ranking out what I think their careers will finish at, I would take them in order of Ward, because I know his circumstance, and I like it better than the other two at the moment, Sanders, and then Dart. I hate Dart's circumstance. They did this to Herbert, too. It is hard to be successful when you're just giving a lame duck coach into a quarterback and you got to reset everything. It's just so stupid.
Yeah, I want to see the Titans, though, for Cam Ward's sake. Maybe it's Luther Burden tonight. They need to get some wide receiver up. Their current wide receiver room is Calvin Ridley, Van Jefferson. They did sign Tyler Lockett, but he's a vet at this point. We all love Tyler Lockett, but he's not the same player as he was 5 years ago. James Prochet, Treylon Burks. I think they need a Luther Burden or any of these other quote-unquote top remaining wide receivers that are left. All of a sudden, if you told me the Titans had a Cam Ward, Luther Burden first 2 picks in the draft, this evening or these first 2 days, that's really strong.
Yeah, I would think so. They better put a weapon there. They might go running back too. I don't think they will, but they just need another offensive weapon. We always talk about this with rookie quarterbacks. Talent, man. Surround with talent. And look, the Browns could end up. The Browns trade, I loved. You only moved down 2 spots. Maybe you weren't willing to go wide receiver and corner for Hunter. You still get a really good player. You own the second round of the draft now with 2 of the first 4 picks. You get to kind of make your fate here a little bit. And they're a bad run team typically, so they might screw up all these picks, but their strategy is a good one.
How many quarterbacks get drafted tonight, guys? Rounds 2 and 3, obviously. So Sanders is out there. Duh.
I think
Jalen Milroe, the kid out of
my guess is
Shuck or whatever.
Shuck will go.
That's a good question. No, he won't.
You don't think he goes in round 3?
I think now that these other guys are available in round 2 and 3.
You think he's like a 5th rounder?
I think he's like a 4th or something, yeah.
I don't think
2.
he should go. I
think
he
Milroe,
should go, but I think he does.
Milroe and Sanders.
I think those are locks. I just wonder if the question is, do we see a third? I think those two for sure, Milroe and Sanders,
Maybe
whether
if
it's
you
2nd
wanna-
or 3rd are going.
I don't know, Shuck or Quinn Ewers, maybe.
Quinn Ewers.
One of the two.
I think the second,
I think Quinn Ewers is better.
Is
than
there a
Shuck, but-
scenario?
I take this as a sign for the rest. If nobody was even willing to give Sanders a second round, now all of a sudden I think people are willing on Ewers in a third. Ewers in a third.
We just don't know how people. I mean, if Sanders slides, then it tells us like nobody liked him. I think he's going to be one of the first picks tonight. But like, if we get to midway through round 2 and he's not taken, then I don't think it's crazy to think that Milroe goes before him.
And Will Howard's another name people are mentioning
tonight.
I think Howard's 4.
I don't think Will Howard goes tonight.
They mentioned 3rd round for him some in the pre-draft process.
I think.
I just don't think
they're
they're
3.
I mean, look at all the quarterbacks. There aren't that many teams looking.
Yeah, I hear
like
you.
that's part of it. I think it's like 2, and it's a bad quarterback draft class. So I just feel like it's going to go that way.
Coming up in 10 minutes, we're expected to be joined by Dr. Jesse Moore, sports medicine doctor, to talk a little bit more about Joshua Simmons, his injury case, the patellar tendon injury, what kind of prognosis does it typically have for NFL players? How common is this specifically for offensive linemen? And does he believe it is realistic that he could be ready for training camp like the Chiefs have been saying as well? So that's coming up in just a bit. But we mentioned our Cody Gold road trip to Springfield coming up next Saturday to watch Cags. And for the first time in his professional career,
yes,
Jack Caglione
played it in high school, he told us, remember?
Played right field last night, which we said if you're wanting him to get up to AAA and eventually to the big leagues, he's going to have to play some right field. Well, the first time of that happening was last night.
The first time when his name came up in spring training and all this other stuff, and talking to some people in or around baseball, the thought was you don't even need to start a conversation about him going to AAA or the majors until you at least physically see him play right field. So this was a step. Like, there's just no way to, I mean, that's a step. This is a step that they were going to have to take before he ever got to the big leagues. Gold, you and I agreed he would never not make AAA or the big leagues, maybe AAA, without having played some right field. To my understanding, he has been taking some reps out there in a practice situation. This is not his first time out there. I watched the one I watched the one catch he made in right field that somebody sent a video out of. Little baby deerish. Little jelly-legged, but not terrible. He obviously ran down the ball and got it near the warning track. I still think he's a few weeks away from AAA at least. I still think he's months away.
What is he,
from the major
16
leagues.
games into AA this year? 16 games, 18 strikeouts. He's hitting 288 currently. He was around 300 before last night.
My whole thing with him is, like most prospects, I cannot. The sample size is very small. It's just too small. I'm not in a rush on Jack Caglione. I'm in a rush to go see him on May 3rd in Springfield. I'm not in a rush to get him to the big leagues right now. The other part is Drew Waters is playing well. The major league team is winning some games right now. So there are some options to not feel the need to, and people want to see maybe Peyton Wilson in AAA before him. There are other options in AA who could spend time in AAA as well. It's still too crowded. You got to get raved to the majors. You got to cut Renfroe. You got to make like 5 moves for any of this to like kind of get through the wheels of motion.
That's why
him
the
playing right
timeline-
field's not nothing though. I'm not going to pretend like that's nothing at all. I mean,
But that's why the timeline, if you thought it was going to happen this year, is like a August type of timeline, not a May timeline.
Yeah, I still think way later. I think the earliest he would get to the big leagues is like July or August. Yeah, and I still think like some things would have to happen. And now, not AAA, just to the big leagues, the major
No, he's going to
leagues.
clearly be called up to AAA at some point in the next month to 2 months. That's very obvious.
I mean,
think, at this point.
He's hitting the ball so hard. His bat speed numbers are crazy. He got hits off of some major leaguers. The biggest things still are he strikes out too much, and he doesn't walk. He could walk
18
more.
strikeouts in 16 games.
Yeah, that's probably the big one. And I'm sure the Royals, I imagine, have underlying data that I don't even know about that maybe suggest to them that they're outside of there. It's like they like players to dominate the level that they're at. And what do we qualify as dominating, right? Does he have to be Alex Gordon when he was in AA? You remember his stats in AA? I mean, he was at like 450 or something. I don't think you have to be that. in order to get the call up, but I think you got to be better than, not better. You got to either do this for a longer period of time or be even better than this if they're going to give you the call to AAA faster.
All right, coming up next, we'll get to the random question of the day. We're also expected to have Dr. Jesse Morse join us to get some perspective on this patellar tendon injury that Joshua Simmons had back in October. It's why many believe he fell to the Chiefs at 32. So what's the prognosis with that and how it could impact the start of training camp as well? That's coming up next.
This is Cody and Gold.
You will not decorate my balls, period. I will decorate my balls.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. 96.5, The Fan.
Men, here's the truth. In the bedroom, good enough isn't really good enough, is it? This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. And if your erectile dysfunction is making intimacy less enjoyable for you and your partner, give us a call today. Because whether your ED only happens sometimes or all the time, it's time to stop good enough and time to start really good. At Heartland Men's Health, we're experts in treating ED. Whether it's only mild or moderate, or even if it's severe, our treatments have success rates of well over 90%. And because we have a variety of treatments and can even combine protocols, we can likely get you performing like you haven't in a long time. You could even last up to an hour or more and make sex great again for you and your partner. So make an appointment and be done with good enough. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600. That's 844-447-6600. Or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices to serve.
Hey guys, Underdog just became one of the best places to make entries during the basketball playoffs with their Extender program. With the Extender, you can play your way to increasingly bigger boosts each round of the playoffs. Start with the playoff series by using the Game 1 boost and continue boosting each subsequent game to unlock the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boosts. Underdog is one of the leading places to make all your sports selections, and you can play now in your state. That's right here in Missouri. Underdog is one of the fastest growing sports game apps, and you can play it in your state. Look, millions of fans have already won billions playing at Underdog. Are you going to be next? Download the Underdog app today and sign up using that promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P, to unlock a special offer for up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code TAPP. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/extend.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
As America's leading business lender, Bank of America is on your corner and in your corner, right here in Kansas City. With $215 billion in business loans and over 3,700 business specialists across the nation, we help businesses thrive so communities prosper. What would you like the power to do? Learn more at bankofamerica.com/local business. Bank of America, official bank of FIFA Club World Cup 2025. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother got life insurance from Ethos and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Lowe's knows that your business is built on speed and trust. That's why the Lowe's Pro Desk is here to get you what you need the moment you need it. We'll help you plan your project, calculate your materials, and pivot when your job takes an unexpected turn. And with our pro-only checkout and dedicated pro parking, you have what you need to tackle your job and be back on the job in no time. Just visit us at the Pro Desk. Lowe's knows pros. We help. You save.
You know what's better than a limited time deal? An unlimited time deal. That's why the Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag with a Junior Bacon Cheeseburger, 4-piece nugs, Junior Hot and Crispy Fries, and small soft drink is available all the time. Because the best time for fresh, never frozen beef and Applewood smoked bacon is all the time. Duh. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. For the best deal of all time, gotta be Wendy's.
Unlimited time does not mean forever. U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, and California via third-party delivery. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
This report is brought to you by Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka in Surfside Lemonade and Vodka. Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka in Surfside Lemonade and Vodka. Proud partner of the Kansas City Royals. Each can of Surfside is only 100 calories, and the best part, 0 bubbles. Grab it at the K or ask for it at your favorite bars and liquor stores.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Back here on Cody and Gold. Hope you're having a great Friday. We certainly had a great time hanging out with a lot of you last night at the Landing in Liberty. Of course, the draft coverage picks back up again tomorrow as far as from Bink and Chris and Osera. I think they're on for 6 hours tomorrow. Woo. Yeah. Bink, rest up, my man. Rest up. He enjoyed talking to Bink earlier.
He's thinking you should know MSRP of Corvettes.
Yeah, if you missed it, he's not a fan of the Josh Simmons pick, and he gave us his reasons for that. And if you missed that, I believe we'll have a social media clip up where he compared Josh Simmons to a Corvette.
This was his initial reaction last night as Chris and Osera broke the news to him.
They announced Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from Ohio State.
I hate this pick, actually. Don't like it.
So that was Bink last night.
And some of it because he was the biggest contributor to the they'll never take an Ohio State player.
He gave us his reasoning. I still believe the reason why it's not just, don't like the pick and it's like hate of the pick for him is he was convinced they wouldn't do it. And both Chris and him, in fairness, they wanted Luther Burden, and Luther Burden was on the board still, and that's who they wanted. Everybody has their guy, but it was great to listen to Bink live. I was driving back when I heard Bink's reaction to it. I think we're having some issues connecting with Dr. Jesse Morse. He's obviously probably busy as well, but I want to go into a tweet that he sent last night because this is what we were going to ask him about, and it's in relation to the number one really story around the pick of Josh Simmons is the injury. And it's a patellar tendon tear that happened back in October. And Andy Reid and the Chiefs said, hey, they trust their medical staff. They believe he could be ready for training camp. Even though I still think it's more about 2026 and beyond for him. And if they're right on the injury stuff, then they got a steal maybe at pick 32. But it's a big, big question and risk. So Jesse Morse tweeted out last night, Dr. Jesse Morse, he said, Josh Simmons returning from this patellar tendon tear and repair. He referenced like a study, not to get too nerdy with it, but I thought some of it was interesting. He said a study came out in February of this year, actually, that reviewed 80
new study
NFL players with either quadricep and patellar tendon repairs. The risk for patellar tendon injury was higher for offensive linemen compared with other groups. The return to play rate for quadriceps tendon injuries was greater than 58%. But what we're looking at is patellar tendon injury return to play rate was 55%. 55% of the 80 NFL players studied, or of the 80, however many were patellar tendon, right?
Sure.
55% of them returned to play. That means that 45% of NFL players who suffered this same injury that Josh Simmons has never returned to the field. Now, I don't think anybody's saying that and believes that he's never going to be able to make it to the field again. The question
They're
is...
not talking about it like that's even a possibility.
It's more about to what extent, right? He went on to say in this tweet, patellar tendon injury summarized. More common in offensive linemen, worse return to play rate, 45% never return to play, slower rate of return to performance, worse rate of return to prior performance. And that's the part that I think matters, honestly, more. I don't think anybody's questioning, can Josh Simmons physically play a snap in the league? Can he be the same player when he returns? That's the $1 million question.
Can he be 95% of the player? 90, because like this doctor's quotes exactly saying like, hey, I think there's a chance he's 10 to 15% less of the type of athletic player he was based on this injury. And it's like, would you take, and here's the thing too, probably, if he was 10% less of a guy that everyone's trying to tell me would have gone 7th overall, but he's at 32, I don't know. I mean, I'd probably take that kind of drop down and play. This is the tough part about an injury of this serious nature, is that then we're really getting into how individual bodies respond to an individual injury, and it's hard to just put them in this big gross camp, not gross, but like like an aggregate camp together where we feel they're all the same. Because half the players didn't even come back to play. Maybe those players were already on their way out the door. Maybe those players weren't good players to start with, and having an injury like that wasn't going to allow them to play. Not first-round talents, which Simmons is. And so it's a tough one, but this is the thing with if it weren't for the injury, nobody would even question this.
Well, he wouldn't have been there at 32.
Yeah, but even if he was, no one would. If there were other flaws in his game that they were worried about, it wouldn't have mattered. Nobody would question this. The whole thing is whether or not this knee holds up for the long haul.
1 sack allowed since 2023 and 601 pass block snaps, but it is all about the injury he suffered in October. And at this point in time, until proven otherwise, though, you hear the Chiefs last night were very confident in saying he's going to be ready for camp. I think even Brett Veach mentioned that when they first told
too bullish almost.
When they told Rick Burkholder, the team trainer and doctor, when they told him, "Hey, this is a guy we want you to check out, right? Like and look in the medical file and obviously take a deeper dive." And I think Brett Veach even mentioned, like, at first the reaction from Rick Burkholder was like a little skeptical. Not once he saw it, but like in general, hearing about the type of injury. Like it's not a injury that is usually what you want to hear from a football player and certainly an offensive lineman. But then as they dove deeper into it, they realized, like, no, this is in better shape than we thought. I'm paraphrasing, but it's in better shape than we thought. And they're confident that that's why they made the pick. I mean, doesn't mean that they will be right, but they don't make the pick unless they're confident that the injury is going to be fine.
The entirety of his career, though, I will say, I think you're going to have a better backup left tackle situation than you've been rolling with at times in which you're really confident in it. I was thinking about this from the Trent Williams case. I'm not claiming Joshua Sims is Trent Williams. Trent Williams in his first 8 years in the league missed 30 games. Still missing games. Missed games so that Jaylon Moore, the Chiefs' current starting left tackle, could play. So Trent Williams, throughout his career, has been injury prone, right? He's missed a lot of games. That has not stopped any of these teams from wanting to pay him, keep him on their roster, because 13 games of high-level left tackle play, which is what the Chiefs might get, even if he has injury problems where he has to have games off with his knee, is a whole hell of a lot better than 17 games of the type of left tackle play they have been getting. And so I do think that this injury is going to come with an additional need, Gold, of always feeling like you've got some other left tackle guys floating. Like, you're going to always want your Wanye. And I know that you try to do that anyway. I don't think they've had as good a coverage here lately over the last couple of years because it's not easy. I think they're going to have to work harder to do that. But, I mean, there's no doubt this is the thing I'm the most worried about. Of course it is.
Somebody on the text line asked this earlier, and I think it goes along with the report that I saw last night. Somebody asked earlier if it was an injury thing, but all the teams felt that he was good, then why didn't he just go earlier anyways if he felt like he was medically fine, which goes along with the Jeremy Fowler report last night, that several teams agree Josh Simmons had the best tape at tackle, and it's not even a medical concern, it's a maturity and character issue. I don't know if that's something out of left field, but it seems like, based on what Jeremy Fowler says, teams agree, like, hey, this dude could be really good, and the injury, he's probably going to be able to get past it, but they're concerned about a character issue.
Here's part of it.
What is that? Because we didn't hear anything up until last night. At least I didn't.
No, I hadn't either. And I think it's just like they think he's like an immature player. Maybe it's like he doesn't love football enough stuff, which I think maybe gets a little overplayed anyway. I think we do ourselves a disservice a little bit as NFL draft watchers with the 31 teams think Josh Simmons stink. And I'm like, okay, first off, let's talk about how many times those teams are wrong, right? And a player goes in the second round and is a star. How many redraft things, Gold, we'd have to do in order to find all the guys who didn't work. So, let's just take out the human error part of it for a minute. 10 to 15 of those teams don't need a left tackle. Okay? They have one. They don't need a left tackle. They were never, so at least half weren't even going to take a left tackle. Then a few more were going to take quarterback instead of left tackle or had higher needs. You might be down to about 5 teams who are kicking around Josh Simmons after pick 12 and would have kicked him around considering the injury history or the character concern or whatever. You have to question
is the Commanders took a tackle at pick 29 and they went with Josh Connerly Jr. out of Oregon. They did not take Simmons. So what did they see?
They also have a more immediate need on their offensive line than the Chiefs.
Yeah, but that's the question. Well, they do and they don't. They just trade for Laramie Tunsil, and then they do have Andrew Wiley still, their former chief. Now, clearly, they're going to have a brand new left tackle and right tackle. Yeah. Some of it is, could they afford to redshirt? I still think this is where Bink and I disagree on Josh Simmons. We both agree the risk that's involved in the injury. Where I disagree with him, though, is this. He said the Chiefs can't afford to redshirt. I disagree on that. Jaylon Moore, right this second, can be the left tackle. In 2025, Jawan Taylor could be the right tackle. It is still more about 2026 and beyond. Now, if Josh Simmons is good to go for camp and he looks amazing and he beats out one of them, that's great. What a get that is. But it's about 2026 and beyond. They have their left tackle and right tackle if they had to play a football game tomorrow.
I guess his argument is that you're in a window to win. You should want players who can help you now.
And they got a chance to do that tonight.
And I told you, 99% of the time, I agree with Bink. I really do. This is the only player on the entire draft board I would have made this exception for, because he has a chance to be a starting left tackle in a draft where there were very few potential starting left tackles. Like you said, I think you could ask it about that, or you could ask about Gray Zabel at 18, right? If you wanted, and say, hey, why didn't the Seahawks think that the guy who's going to be the start, there. But like there is a point where there's no other tackles taken outside of that other than the one you mentioned for the Commanders. And so, yeah, I guess I don't get too hung up on it.
Isn't that
one like Connor Lee will be he wasn't available for the Chiefs, so I guess it's not so much like they pass on him, but that'll be the tackle in the draft that people will we always do the linking stuff, and then what's
whoever
his name?
gets taken at Ursery,
right? That'll be the one that in 3 years from now, if one's not playing or one's terrible or whatever, everybody's going to say, well, you could have had this guy. That's the game that everybody plays.
I mean, let's say Simmons is fine. He's a starting left. He's Orlando Brown Jr. He's fine.
Yeah, that's a win, by the way.
That's a 32?
That's a massive win.
That's what I was going to say. In the first round,
bang the gavel.
That is a win.
That is a huge win.
That's what, because
at pick 32, if he is a 10-year NFL starter, it's not just a win. It's a home run at 30. At left tackle, or even right tackle, it would be a pretty good hit.
Different left tackles starting the Super Bowl. So if you could have one that's stable at left tackle for 4, let's just start with the rookie contract. Let's call it 4 years, because maybe he doesn't play in 2025. Maybe he doesn't play until 2026. Yeah, I think everybody would sign up for that.
Because I think that's part of the deal with what Bink is. I'm trying to rationalize what Bink is saying on it for the 2025 perspective. I get it, but also what level does Josh Simmons have to play at for you to say this pick was not a good one and we should have gone in a different direction, whether it be another offensive lineman or not? Was it worth the risk? And where's the
not a starting tackle?
Is there a gray area, or is there a black and white? Either he stinks or he's great, and there's no gray area in your determination of it.
It's really funny. Offensive lineman is the easiest position to judge whether, wide receiver's tough, right? If they're like McCole Hardman, right? He's a great case study of, is this a successful pick, Gold? Second round pick, won some Super Bowls with you, put up some yardage, but not a lot of yardage. Would you go, what I'm saying? There's actual debate. With tackle, it's so easy. Are you a starter? If you're not a starter, you're dead to me. You failed. It didn't work. There is no rotational offensive tackle. So if you're a swing tackle, you're dead. It doesn't matter. The pick failed. If you are not the worst starter at pick 32, if you were the 19th best left tackle in the NFL, it worked. Anything above that is just increasingly better in difficulty, in success rate.
So you think
I don't even think it's a question. We wouldn't even argue. No one would argue over what looks right at tackle and what works.
So you think if Josh Simmons is a 19th ranked tackle his entire career, then that's a win?
If he plays 8 years in the league, absolutely.
Considering with where they've also been as a franchise at left tackle recently, yes. Now by the way, that doesn't mean that's what you want it to be.
That sounds like a low bar, but it's not. It's hard to be a starting tackle.
You would love for him to be a top 10 left tackle in the league, of course. And by the way, if the injury is not a concern, they think there's a chance he is that. That's also why they were willing to do it and take on the risk, because the risk they're taking on is not because they only think he's going to be a starter for 10 years. They're drafting because they also think there's a chance he becomes a top 10 tackle in football. I really believe that. That's what they're hoping. Yes. I'm not saying he's going to be that, but that's what they're hoping.
They don't take the chance if they think the ceiling is the 19th best tackle in the NFL. They're hoping that's the floor just as long as he stays healthy. If they thought the ceiling was that, no, they think there's a chance he's a top 5 left tackle in the NFL, like some people would have said about him, depending on the injury. But it's tackle, offensive line is the easiest thing. You're a starter or you're not. And just as long as you're not a laughably bad starters and they're trying to replace you in 2 years, it's working.
So, because I'm trying to think of, and this is, I guess I'm in a way trying to play devil's advocate, because I think Simmons is the right pick. But if let's say if he is the 19th best tackle, I think it's a fail for them picking
disagree.
him in the spot where they did because of the draft class not being good. Where let's say they take Eamon Warrior, whatever, whoever. Name any other player that you might have wanted there. Mike Green. And he pans out to be great.
Yeah, but that just comes with the same risk.
I understand
he
that.
He might also stink.
No, yeah, but so...
But we can, Drew, we can play the. We can play the. No, that's my point, though. We can play. We can. This is where Cody and I always get into it about the wide receiver stuff.
I think it matters more when they're picked right near each other. If Ursary goes 35 tonight and Ursary's a star, we're having a totally I think you can compare those players. If some tackle in the 5th ends up being a dude like that, I don't know. That's just tough.
No, I totally agree. But I'm saying if you would have why not if you're going to use a redshirt year, why not take a guy that you can use in 25 and then use. If you're going to take a risk, don't make it an injury risk. Make it a.
He's saying Ursary, like a development risk. Well, they did that with Kingsley, and I don't think they wanted to do that.
I'm not talking about that either. You take Mike Green this year, and then next year you trade a future first and maybe a future third to move all the way up to into the teens or the top 10 to get a guy that you know could be that guy instead of an injury risk. Like, why would you take a risk on injury when you know the guy is basically a sure thing in 26?
Because they think that they got the guy that you're saying they should trade up for next year, and they got him at 32.
But you're banking on an injury
of
still.
Of course, that's well, you're not banking on the injury. You're
hoping it.
You're evaluating that in your pick, and there's less risk at 32.
So I'm not even against what you're saying. I think I've largely advocated for the Chiefs. I've told you
to make that jump. Yes.
The Chiefs can do what teams do as starting quarterback because it's the second most important position maybe on the field. But the whole problem with this is you talk about a red shirt now. Now you have to you way more unknowns. Injury is just I looked at his knee. Is it okay? The unknown of am I picking 25 next year or am I picking 32? Are there how many first-round tackles do we think? Because we thought Simmons was going to be in the top 15, but he wasn't. We thought Burden was going to be.
Who else needs tackles?
Who else needs tackles? Like, the unknown list gets really long. If your red shirt plan for next year is, let's just see what happens next year and we'll figure out left tackle. It's just way harder to know.
And that player next year, if you're trading out that many spots, no matter what he looks like during training camp, he's 100% starting in that scenario.
Yeah, he's got to be Joe Walsh. He's got to be a star.
Totally.
So it's interesting. Look, the injury is on like that is the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Can he be as effective as he was prior to October? And again, I don't think we're getting that answer in 2025. I think it's a 2026 thing. All right, let's get to the random question.
Random question.
For you, Gold. For you, Drew. Text line 913-586-7965. Of course, you can always hit us up. Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, wherever you want. We live stream the show 4 hours every single day. So if you wanted our draft content today on video, it is available over there. The question I have is related to last night. We were all hanging out at the Landing in Liberty, enjoying the draft party. Great time. Somebody came up to me and didn't think I would remember them. So my question is whether you remember this. He is a person who lived on my street when we were kids, and he said, you probably don't remember me. My name is Co. I said, I remember the name of every kid who lived on my street as a kid. I thought we all did. So I proceeded to be like, your name's this. The Edwards were next to you. The Camachos were at the end of the street. The Jones used to live there. The Clausens up the corner. And I was trying to decide if I was just weird. And I think I could do a 4-block radius. I don't think I'd miss a single kid in 2, 3, 4 blocks out of the neighborhood. So the question is, do you remember all the kids who grew up on your street?
Just the cul-de-sac, not blocks. Just the cul-de-sac for sure.
How many kids in the cul-de-sac we talking? There were a lot of kids on our street. Those people just lived on the street. 2, 3, not even 4, like the Finks or 5, the Tharnishes 6, on the other
7,
side.
8. There were 8 in the cul-de-sac.
Okay.
Yeah, I absolutely can remember. And there's still in my parents' neighborhood to this day. There's still a couple of the same families. Not the kids, but there's
it could be.
Meaning like not the kids I knew. A lot of their families have since moved out, but there's still people that live across the street and to the diagonal. My parents had the same neighbors they've had for 30 plus years or whatever, right? Like, so no, I know those families' last names or whatever. So yeah, I remember that, but not blocks and blocks. I don't know the whole damn development names. I just know the cul-de-sac.
We hung out with that grouping of people. Such a disproportionate.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I was friends with all of them because like it was probably a mixed bag. Because again, I could just keep. I could name 40 of them apparently. Drew, do you remember all your neighbors, all the kids?
We didn't have very many kids in our cul-de-sac, but we had there were the cul-de-sac, because we also lived in a cul-de-sac. Once you get out of the cul-de-sac and you
You go ooh la la in your cul-de-sac.
and it veers out.
You know what's funny is it doesn't feel like it because the way my street is shaped, I'm technically in a cul-de-sac.
You're just at the
I'm
bottom
at
of
the
it.
very, very bottom of it.
No,
and you got to go like all the way up a hill
the
to get to
cul-de-sac
it.
made it way easier for us to play basketball and to do all kinds of stuff, and it made it way easier than on being on a busy street.
We had more friends in the neighborhood in general than just the cul-de-sac was more was families of kids who were either like older than us or they'd already moved out. We had friends in the neighborhood who would come and play basketball in the cul-de-sac or football or whatever the case was. But I would say we've had a lot of people move even just over the course of us growing up. So I couldn't tell you. I could tell you maybe 3 or 4.
That's it?
Family names. Yeah, not very many out of the maybe 10 to 12 houses that were in that cul-de-sac. 3 to 4.
Somebody's pointing out, first off, that joke at the top is very funny. From the 816, I'm not going to read it, but it's very funny.
We can't go down that road, but it is funny. Text,
it's also maybe true. From the 816, someone said Gracemore was a different type of neighborhood then. There was and I just found this out, devastating news from this kid who I saw last night at the draft party. He said the old neighborhood pool that existed. He said it's just like boarded up. It's just like filled in. I was like, oh, man.
They got rid of the pool? The HOA stopped paying? Or
who
what?
knows,
Or
man?
people
I don't know.
stopped paying?
Neighborhood got old. Every kid in that entire neighborhood, because I'm not kidding. I might be able to name 70% of the families. I'm starting to think about it. I'm like, I feel like I know every street and every kid who lived on every street. Is there something wrong with me?
I'm surprised you
kid?
know street after street after street. Again,
I
just
can
a
tell you what street they
cul-de-sac.
lived on. I was on Smalley. I could tell you the kids who lived on Manchester or even like as we talk about like going down San Rafael, because like I was thinking about 2 blocks over, then it's like the Kings were further down there. I'm just like, as I'm walking the streets in my head, I feel like I could tell you where everyone lived.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
I don't know.
Text line.
I also had to walk a mile to school, so I had to go past a lot of these kids'
There
houses.
you go. Someone says they grew up in a town of 70 people total, and they don't know all of them.
This person said, I remember everyone. I lived on a dirt road, and it was just my brother and me.
That's it? Man, I did. It's the only thing I kind of regret for my kids right now. Is right now, we're not in the mode of, they're just hanging out with all their friends in the neighborhood. I feel like I'd like more of that because that was a huge part of my childhood. But I told you once, we lived on a street. There were 7 of us. At the bottom of the street, one of the families I just mentioned, there were 11 of them. There were 4 at the top of the street, 3. I mean, there might have been 30 kids on inside of a block and a half. I don't know why everyone decided to just move in this same part of the neighborhood, but there were unlimited kids there for a stretch. So some of it must have been that.
This person's just naming all the families.
I like it.
Giovanni's.
I like how they're just naming them like we remember all of them.
Hernandez, Ferranteses, Scotts, Sharps, Malones.
Maybe it's just different.
Good
I don't know.
for you.
They're naming these are all families I grew up near-ish. These are people who went to high school and stuff with me. Decent chunk of those. But that's a slightly different neighborhood. That's not my neighborhood. That's a neighborhood of I don't know,
there's
people I
some
went out of school later.
One of the funny. So there's 2 sides of the neighborhood that we grew up in. It wasn't a big development, but there's 2 entrances that were named differently for whatever reason. I went to school from elementary school all the way through high school with this person. Knew them.
Never friends?
No, we knew each other. We're cool with each other.
That's wild, though.
Had no idea, no clue that they lived in the same neighborhood as me until I was going on a run one day, and I was running, and they were getting home, and I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" I was like, "Do you live here? Are you visiting somewhere?" They know I live here. I was like, "No way!" So for 10 years, I had no clue that somebody who I knew and was involved with in terms of friendship and went to class with lived in the same neighborhood as me.
Do you guys have any friends from first grade?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
I have
one of my best friends.
First grade, I got one. I got one still hovering from first. I'd have to go later than that for the others.
Yeah, from first grade, no.
I've got one.
Just one. That's all I got.
Then I've got so my 2 best friends I've known.
I still play fantasy football and stuff with someone from my cul-de-sac that lived in the cul-de-sac as kids and everything like that. So
you're friends. That's one.
But that's not first grade. We didn't have the same class as each other. He went to a different school.
Went to a different.
He
school.
went to a private. He went to a private school.
Oh, okay.
So that's when you said first grade. I'm like, no.
That's tough. But cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
I don't I'm not friends. I don't like, occasionally might run into, but like, I don't hang out with anyone that I just mentioned off of this block radius, but from like my street when I was a kid. But I still got I got a couple of friends that hovered from elementary school, but like 2.
My 2 best friends I've known since
I don't even have that many friends from, it might be a couple from high school and more from college. Like, there aren't even that many. It's not like a huge crew.
My best friend still to this day is from high school, but it just kind of depends. Everybody's going to be a little bit different on that. That's the random question of the day.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Cody.
Hey, man, he brought it up. He said, you probably don't remember me. I said, I know who you are. I know all these kids, apparently.
The fact that you said that quickly is a little creepy.
Yeah.
I know who you are.
I know who you are. Jeez.
I don't know. He moved away. I think it was because he said
I know who you are.
He was a good baseball player when we were kids. I was never a good baseball player, so I was jealous of ones who were.
I didn't like you very much. I didn't like you very much.
I remember you were the jerk that did this.
He played on the better teams, No, I don't remember. He wasn't a bad kid. We were way worse kids. Are you kidding? They probably said that about us. That's probably why they moved.
Because of the Tapp family?
Yeah, they probably moved because of us.
Up next, we're going to talk some draft. We'll probably ask that same question to Joshua Brisco at some point in the 1 o'clock hour. But Brisco's going to join us for a Fan Club Friday. We'll give his thoughts on Josh Simmons. What do we want to see happen tonight? The Chiefs have 3 picks, and then plus, of course, a couple more tomorrow. So that's coming up next year on Cody and Gold.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
This is Blake Fanning with Shawnee Mission Ford, here with a huge announcement. This month, it's employee pricing for all at Shawnee Mission Ford. Let me tell you one more time. It's employee pricing for all at Shawnee Mission Ford. You pay what we pay, not 1 cent more. You heard right. We got the employee pricing for everyone on new Fords. But that's not all. When you buy from Shawnee Mission Ford, you not only get employee pricing, but you also get our lifetime powertrain warranty, along with our 1-year Select Plus protection with your new vehicle purchase. This is what makes Shawnee Mission Ford different. You get all of it. Employee pricing on a great selection of new Fords, plus lifetime powertrain warranty, along with the 1-year Select Plus protection. And Shawnee Mission Ford is still going to offer you the highest trade values in Kansas City. Do not miss employee pricing for everyone. From America, for America. Shawnee Mission Ford, where we're on a mission to save you more. Excludes 25 Super Duties, Raptor Line vehicles, 25 Expeditions, and E-Line.
Call Aspen Lawn and Pest Control. Our iconic blue trucks and expert team get it right the first time. Award-winning full-service lawn care and pest control since 1985. Call today for a free estimate. Visit aspenlawn.com. Our biggest deal is back. The Tires at Cost sale at Telly Tire and Auto Centers. You pay what we pay. No gimmicks, no catch. All in-stock tires from Telly's huge inventory at cost. Plus mounting and balancing by certified tire technicians for only $27.95. The top brands, the lowest possible prices, with a 30-day ride guarantee and lifetime tire protection. There's never been a better time to replace your worn-out tires. These unbeatable savings won't last long. Hurry and reserve your tires today. Take care of your car. Take advantage of our sale. Take it to Telly. Additional charges apply for junk tire disposal and road hazard warranty.
What's up, baseball fans? It's time to swing big on your bets this season. Step up to the plate with an odds boost token from BetMGM, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. No opt-in is required. Just log into your BetMGM account to receive your odds boost token. Then place a bet on any MLB game and activate your token. If your boosted bet hits, you'll score a bigger payout. No matter the showdown, BetMGM is your betting home for baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. Must be 21 years of age or older. This U.S. promotional offer not available in Mississippi, New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. For New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. For Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. For Massachusetts, 1-800-327-5050. For Iowa, 1-800-BETS-OFF. For Puerto Rico, 1-800-981-0023. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards vary and expire in 1 to 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen 1 too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, cause you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Jake from State Farm. I just beat my running PR, so I'm celebrating with the Banana Bonanza smoothie.
Hey, and you can keep celebrating when you create an affordable price just for you by bundling your home and auto with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. Go bananas.
I will. Hey, make it a large.
Bundling. Just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
You know what's better than a limited time deal? An unlimited time deal. That's why the Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag with a Junior Bacon Cheeseburger, 4-piece nugs, Junior Hot and Crispy Fries, and small soft drink is available all the time. Because the best time for fresh, never frozen beef and Applewood smoked bacon is all the time. Duh. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. For the best deal of all time, gotta be Wendy's.
Unlimited time does not mean forever. U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, and California and via third-party delivery. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Empower. Nick bought a new guitar, a 62 American Classic Electric. Does he know how to play? No. But Nick's Empower investment account has performed well. He got good at money, so he can be a little bad. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
Past performance is not indicative of future returns. Investing involves risks. You may lose money. Advisory services are provided for a fee by Empower Advisory Group, LLC, EAG, a registered investment advisor with the Securities and Exchange Commission. This is a really, really, really good guitar solo.
Empower. Nick bought a new guitar, a 62 American Classic Electric. Does he know how to play? No. But Nick's Empower investment account has performed well. He got good at money, so he can be a little bad. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
Past performance is not indicative of future returns. Investing involves risks. You may lose money. Advisory services are provided for a fee by Empower Advisory Group, LLC, EAG, a registered investment advisor with the Securities and Exchange Commission. This is a really, really, really good guitar solo.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Annie's first oil change wasn't as hard as she thought because she went to AutoZone, where a friendly AutoZoner helped her find the right oil and save on an oil filter. He explained the job and showed her free how-tos on AutoZone.com. When she was done, AutoZone recycled her old oil for free. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply.
Take me out to my TV on FanDuel Sports Network. Yeah, yeah. Royals games, announcers, and more Royals games. Did I mention they have the Royals? Stream now.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch all the shows from your phone, desktop, or tablet. Your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station.
1 o'clock hour. It's a Fan Club Friday here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. 1 hour to go till the weekend. We got 2 rounds of the NFL draft, of course, this evening, plus Royals baseball. They begin a series against the Astros out at Kauffman Stadium. Vern's on deck show tonight at 5:30. Our guest today in the Fan Club, one Josh Brisco, one of our Chiefs contributors here on the station. Obviously going to talk plenty about the draft and everything, but what's up, man? How was draft for you last night? Did you just kind of lay low? Did you put in a bunch of bets? How do you take in the draft?
I enjoyed the draft from my couch in my basement for, I think, the first time ever, at least the first time in a decade, maybe. So I had a really good time, and I had a very stressful few, I would say maybe 6 to 8 minutes of thinking, oh, man, is Patrick Mahomes tweeting this because they're taking a running back again? And then they did it, and I've been levitating ever since.
So let's just get to the pick. Josh Simmons. I mean, I don't have to tell you, for weeks and weeks and weeks, tons of noise around him. Thought that maybe they'd have to trade up if they wanted him. And then yesterday afternoon, it starts leaking out that, he could be ready by training camp. You're thinking, well, there's no way he's going to make it to 31, let alone 32. And, of course, he did make it to 32. We can get into the nitty-gritty on it, but what was your first reaction, Josh Simmons, drafted by the Chiefs?
Once we got there, specifically to 32, by the way, that trade back, A+ there, just right off the top.
Yeah.
Cherry there, you have a 5th-round pick now. Masterclass on that one. Great work all around. Loved that little move back. But once we got there at 32, I thought, hey, listen, if they either say Josh Simmons or Luther Burden, I am going to have an argument for being excited with the guys tomorrow. I'm going to have an exciting Thursday night, Friday, and Saturday because I see those guys being potential needle movers. The way that I think Simmons will do it will obviously be very different than how Burden would have done it. Or maybe how Burden could still do it.
We'll get to the second round.
I don't know how they get up there, you know?
And they got an extra pick now. But I was excited, especially because I was, for a little bit, genuinely worried about Henderson going way too high. So I was very happy with that pick coming down.
It's all about
Can you
the
admit
injury,
a Josh
right?
bias, though? I was about to say, can you admit a Josh bias first? Are you able to say objective? Because I've made it very clear in the show, I support all Codys. Adult Codys, it's a weird place to be in your life. 40 and being Cody's tough.
It's a good point.
You know, so like I got to support fellow Codys for the most part.
You know, I had to think about it just now, but I am a Phoenix Suns fan, and so Josh Jackson was a name I had to let go a long time ago. So I'm going to go ahead and say that dream did not come true for me. I don't know that I'm 100% even keeled. I'm certainly pro Josh. But I'd love another Joshua. Josh Williams, obviously, big fan of his, but it's a perk for me, Cody. It's a perk that he's going to be there protecting Patrick Mahomes' blind side.
The injury is the only question. It seems like now. I'm curious if you agree because I think I'm in the minority in this one, which is fine. I think people always overinflate he would have been if it weren't for blank.
Right.
I don't think he would have been pick 6 if it were for the injury. I think he would have been pick 23 or at best 18, or he maybe have been that same range that had decided between him and
he might have been 12.
Zabel, but like
Tyler Booker went 12.
I'm not saying it's like overstated as in there isn't any movement in where he would have been in the first round, but I think sometimes they made it sound like he'd have been 1-1 instead of Cam Ward if it weren't for the injury.
No, but I do think, especially if you have the rest of that season healthy and him being on a obviously high profile team frequently, putting out like almost boring tape at times, which is an incredible compliment to give to a left tackle. I think we would have seen his stock rising in a way that I really do think it would have been probably around that 10 range.
Okay.
But because here's the thing, every prospect on this list is flawed. Will Campbell's got little arms and he went 4.
But what if he'd had a bad year and he's Luther Burden and he's in the second round? You know, like,
of course, absolutely.
It's like such an unknown to be like, 5 games into a college season, we think he would have been 10.
Yes, true.
I'm not even trying to knock it. I would have made the pick 2. I'll take the chance. My whole thing on left tackle is knowing what we all generally agree that finding left tackle at 32 or in the free agency is very tough, and that's where the Chiefs pick every year. Not impossible. I very adamantly argue against impossible, but very difficult to do. Well, then you were going to have to take a risk. You were going to have to trade him in the first round. You were going to have to give Dan Moore instead of Jaylon Moore a ton of money. You were going to have to, make a difficult, risky decision. They went with the injury stuff, and I'm assuming that's because they've been better at that? Like, they've been better at identifying injured players and taking advantage of that.
Clearly last night, they're banking on the knowledge that and trust that they have in Rick Burkhalter and the staff. I mean, that is what it is really all about. They believe when
they mentioned him on the ESPN broadcast. They mentioned Rick Burkhalter, yes.
Heard his name a lot.
The pick doesn't happen without him giving them assurance. I mean, it's just that simple. And so we're going to find out if they're correct. And yeah, there is a little bit of a track record. You're right. I mean, different diagnosis, but Trey Smith, of course, they took some risk at the time with that pick. Now, what risk? Air quotes. That was not a first round pick.
6th rounder.
Right. But there was, so it's a little bit different. I think Buckhalter with the Eagles had a patellar tendon injury. And so there's some history there. And maybe that led them to being more and more confident. I'm fine with the risk. I think for me, though, the 2025 training camp stuff, I'm very skeptical on still.
Me too.
Like, it would not surprise me, Josh, if we're there in St. Joe and like, well, we're going to take it really slow. We like what we're seeing, but he's going to start on the PUP list. He's going to start on the PUP list. I could see that happening still.
And it wouldn't bother me one bit. Because
it's all about 2026.
That is, I think there's a chance he sees the field in 2025. Again, everybody go ahead. It's the fan club. Take a drink every time we say if healthy or how, depending on how the rehab goes. But I do think there is a world in which the college tape that we saw from him, if that guy is available in 2025, Jaylon Moore and Juwan Taylor are no longer like obviously the 2 best tackles on this team by a mile, which right now they are, for better and for worse.
Yep.
The thing with the risk of it all, I was kind of giving you guys the tease on this right before the segment started, but the idea of the risk, it's true. Obviously, there is a risk that he is not the same player who is on tape because of this injury and that he never meets those expectations, and that's fine. But we say risk around like injury or character concerns. There was a risk in taking a very young player out of Kansas State named Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who had a redshirt year by like every reasonable NFL definition. There was a risk that he might not develop into the player that you want to see him be. When you take Clyde Edwards-Helaire, there is a risk that he is going to be underachieving for that draft spot because you're taking a low-value position group and you're betting huge on the player. And then at running back, there's a risk of injury playing the position. So the thing that I would push back on a little bit is the idea that Josh Simmons is fundamentally way riskier than any other pick at 31 overall. Luther Burden is risky at 32, right? Like, you're taking different versions of risk. In this case, the player, not a risk. Maybe you buy the quote-unquote character concerns, or
that was a weird one. I hadn't heard
popping up.
That was brand new, right?
I had the last few days it had come up a few times, and anytime you say, "Hey, what do you mean?" everyone goes, "Meh."
I think it's he doesn't love football. Somebody asked if you were playing the new Oblivion. He was spending too much time in Call of Duty, whatever.
Right. I think Veach said, that Reed and like Ryan Day had a phone call. Hi, I'm Andy Reid. Can I please hear what you think about this young man that you coached for these years, or going back to San Diego State? I have no real concerns about that. The Jeremy Fowler tweet was kind of odd that way.
Yeah.
The last thing, big picture. A lot of time I think we say, hey, they know better than we do. And a lot of times that's, Brett Veach has won a championship. Andy Reid's won a championship. A lot of times I think that is kind of a cop-out because we say, hey, I don't want to say that Andy Reid is wrong, but sometimes Andy Reid has been wrong, right? We've seen that happen. But in this specific instance, they do know more than we do about the medicals.
No doubt.
And if you're saying, hey, I'm willing to put this first-round pick, 32 overall, into this guy where the medicals are the question, I'm willing to give him that benefit of the doubt. And if it doesn't work because his knee doesn't ever let him be the player that he was at Ohio State, he'll join a long list of guys who were picked in the 30s who didn't become superstars. I think the risk here makes sense because the ceiling is so high.
This is their way of throwing numbers at the position too, though. We talked a ton after the Super Bowl. We all compared it to the Bucs Super Bowl, whether that's an accurate comparison or not. That's what people were doing.
It was worse.
And it's how they went and they revamped multiple interior positions of the offensive line. Free agency, there was one option for them really to fix that, and it was Jaylon Moore, because Ronnie Stanley was never available. Okay. Then you talk about, okay, well, then you got to throw numbers at it in the draft. Well, they just spent their first-round pick on it. So we're going to find out if it works, but in terms of, addressing the issue, they've addressed it. We're going to find out if it actually worked. But nobody can claim they didn't address it.
No.
And now the toughest part and the part that matters the most, we're going to have to wait, I think, 2 years truly to find out, because I think Jawan Taylor is the starting right tackle week 1 of this season, and I believe Jaylon Moore is the starting left tackle week 1. Now, 2026, if Jaylon Moore is playing great left tackle, he still might be left tackle, and we're talking about Simmons being the right tackle. If Jaylon Moore is not that great, then they think he'd be better at right tackle, then 2026, of course, we're talking about Simmons hopefully being the starting left tackle. They got a lot of options now.
So look, if I have to trust him on the medicals, now this goes trust him on the medicals to draft him versus trust that they're telling me the truth on the medicals.
Sure.
Which are very different things. I want to be clear. Teams lie, and they have to as part of their job, or they choose to as part of their job. I don't know if have to is the right way, but it's part of the job. An accepted part of the job. If they're telling me the truth right now, and that he's going to be ready for camp, and he's going to start working out in a couple of weeks, according to Andy Reid, he's pretty much lifting school buses.
Right.
Then I think if that's the case, he deserves every single right to beat out either guy for the job, and if he's better, he should be the starter. And I don't care about the money they owe Jawan Taylor, not because I don't think it's sunk cost, but because I want the better player playing. If he's better than Jawan Taylor, I got to pay him $28 million, whether he starts or not. So I don't really care. Right. I just want the better tackle playing. I don't know if they'll do that, but this is how I'd like it to go.
My knee-jerk reaction to thinking about training camp, if Simmons is out there, if that is a real competition, my knee-jerk reaction upon hearing some of those quotes last night was...
And he tried to make it seem like it was, yeah.
Man, it's hard to imagine either of those highly paid $20-some million guys starting on the bench. But if he goes in and he has a training camp that is more reflective of Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith's rookie training camps, where you go, well, those are NFL players. Those are guys that need to play. I think it would be foolish to sit the better player. Right now, I would still bet on Gold's scenario of Moore and Taylor are your starters in week 1, because it gives you the wiggle room on the injury and all of that. But if he goes out there and looks fantastic, I would be curious to see what they would actually do. I think you have to play the better players. I don't feel great about where... Here's the other thing.
Go ahead.
Comparing it to where we were last year, talking about a training camp battle of Kingsley Suamataia versus Wanya Morris, this feels insane.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is
Oh,
such
they're in a much better
world.
spot. They're already in a much better spot. But we've done this long enough with different conversations around injuries heading into a training camp where, whether it's Publis or not, I could just see where it's like, we're up there, first day out there, who's getting first team reps, and it's Jaylon Moore and it's Juwan Taylor, and we're like, yeah, and Josh Simmons is out there. He's got his helmet on, but he's just kind of walking around the sideline.
Yeah. He's doing some individuals.
And then a week passes, and it's like, well, now it's too late for him to actually compete, but he's healthy.
He didn't get up to speed. We would have liked. We're going to try to get him up to speed. Yeah, no, that's by far the most likely scenario.
And I'm completely okay with that.
But if they're like, I hate redshirting players 99. It's the one position I would take the chance on, which what we said, which leaves us with the rest of the draft. They've got 3 picks tonight. They don't exactly own the second round like the Bears and the Browns do. And we can talk about the Sanders stuff because I'm fascinated by all that stuff too. But what do we want the Chiefs to do? Pretty simple. I think today, I absolutely want them to take at least one defensive lineman,
yes,
at least one running back, and then the third guy I'm totally open on. Could be a wide receiver in Royals. Could be a tight end. Could be another defensive lineman.
Corner.
Very open on the third guy. But I want one defensive lineman, and I don't know, based on Genty and Omari and Hampton alone, maybe a tackle, but a defensive lineman and a running back. Everybody agree with that's the checklist, and then the third one can be a question mark?
I don't know how you get out of tonight without a defensive lineman. I really don't. I would be very, very surprised. I would like a running back. I could still see a scenario where somehow they don't because they say it's so deep, and Brett Veach acknowledged that he doesn't think the gap between 3 and 4 round-wise is that big at that position.
Sure.
My preference is, yes, running back. The one that I just don't know how they leave 3 picks, assuming they take 3 guys, and maybe they only take 2, I don't know. 3 picks tonight, and one of them's not either interior or an edge on the defensive side.
The defensive tackle is clearly my number one need here, and frankly, like one of the only players who I was like really, I certainly would have, I think, taken over Simmons if he had made it that far. Who got a little bit close was Derek Harmon, and really looking at him too. And Nolan.
Too many of the good defensive linemen went before. That's
Yes.
the other reason
Those
to like the
dominoes
Simmons
started
pick, by the way.
early.
So many of the defensive linemen, the guys you would have been like good fits, were gone.
That's another thing. My tone might be different if they passed on Harmon to take Simmons. I'm like, man, I think you've got like
That's fair.
day one defensive tackle. And again, my next guy on the board there was probably Luther Burden, and that's a totally different ball of wax for a whole bunch of reasons. I think for me, Cody, 133, their 4th round pick that they had coming into this, I think that's the floor on the running back draw. If they waited
So you think
until
all the way to the 4th? Okay.
Maybe. I would be curious
I don't
to see
really
how
want
it
to get
goes.
that depth. You did it with the 7th. They haven't. So we talk about this all the time with like weapons around Mahomes. They put more investment in wide receiver. Still a lot of seconds, but they finally put the first into it with Xavier Worthy. But still overall investment in Mahomes at skill position players when you consider both free agency and draft is kind of low compared to the other teams around you. So, like, you don't have to wait till the 5th to take a running back this time. You can get more in the game. I want, like, Quinshon Judkins would pick 63 if he was there. I don't know if they're going to get that, but, like, I'd go that high if it was available.
And I think that's what I'm curious about. Like, if there's just no running backs for a while, if both of those Ohio State guys are just falling, and maybe the Chiefs are the team that pay a little bit of a premium for a guy that we all thought would be gone by 45 or 50, I think they may be able to try to wait on that window where Neal and Giddens both ought to be going, again, kind of the back end of that 3rd, maybe that 4th rounder, depending on how far you get there. So I would not like it with the Snead pick if I was blind right now calling my shot. I'd say the Chiefs' own 3rd round pick would probably be my stealing on a running back, but there is a path for those runners to fall where the Chiefs just catch one of them in the 60s and go, oh, wow, okay, well, I didn't think Judkins would be there.
I think my number changed. For a while, I was with you. And this is like some of it's doing the mock drafts and realizing the available players at 96. I do feel a gap between the guys who are currently on the board at running back and the guys who might be available at 96 and the 5th rounder. That changes my calculus a little bit because now I can move up in the 4th if I want. I can move that 5th round pick to move, that pick. It's so underrated because it like they had this like weird notion where it felt like they had no more movement left in the draft.
100%.
Once they got through pick 133, it was like they had no more movement remaining. They just had a bunch of meaningless 7th rounders.
Bunch of priority UDFAs, basically.
Yeah. And so like it felt like they had nothing left to like position themselves. Now, they have an option. So like now I'm up to that Snead pick for running back. I'd be willing to go that high, which means I'm pretty much willing to go as high as 63. Those aren't fundamentally different.
Good point.
I don't think they have to take a wide receiver, but I assume at some point this weekend they're going to do that. Is there a receiver that other than Luther Burden? Because it sounds like you sound like you'd be open to giving up a couple picks tonight to go and get Luther Burden.
I'm a big. We really agree draft-wise. That's concerning for both of us.
Also, Cody,
Harmon and I think I can't understand why people didn't draft Burden already.
This is very against my usual MO because I want to keep as many of those dart throws as possible. Burden to me is the guy that seems separated from the rest. If it's not a move up for Burden, I think it's either late tonight. We're talking about the receiver thing tomorrow, and some of the guys will be available then. I know there's been talk about like him being redundant with Rashee Rice. I just don't think that's a problem. I don't actually think that's an issue.
Andy's ever said I got too many guys who run good routes.
No, I have too many guys.
How high are you willing to trade up though? Because for me to me to actually, we can pull up the trade chart or whatever, but like for me to even consider it, he's got to be 15 picks into tonight's draft. I'm not trading up into the first 5 or 6 picks tonight to go get Bird. I don't like him that much.
Afford it. It's just like you'd be doing like the Falcons move.
It would be like next year's first.
And we just all acknowledge we think they need a defensive lineman. So he would have to take a huge fold, as in we're pick 20 of this round or something.
All right, so let's talk pick 45. That's Indianapolis. Just Bear, that's like the middle.
You don't get Ballard there.
Ballard. So like it's just and the Rams, right? But the Rams got to pick somebody eventually. I think. 45, Indianapolis. Their pick is worth 450 points overall. Kansas City's pick at 63 is worth 278. Yeah, so we got about 175 points.
It's going to have to be both of those picks in the 60s, and that's tough.
It doesn't actually.
You do it for the 95?
If you did both of those picks, they would actually owe you about 100 points back, which means they'd owe you their late third. They'd owe you their top of fourth.
I'm back again.
You could, both of your picks in your 60s. If you're Indianapolis, let me find their pick. Okay, so you'd be about 20 points apart, but let's call it a wash. They give you pick 45, you give them 63 and 66, and in return, you get back their 4th round pick at where was it? Pick 118.
That's what I was saying earlier.
So you get 118 in the 4th.
I wouldn't do it.
You take those two, the 2nd and the 3rd round pick, and you go up and get Burden. I might do it at that.
I get itchy right there. That's about right.
Yeah, like I'm not saying
right at the point where you're like, yes.
I'm not saying he's not going to have a good career or anything crazy like that. I still think if we weren't in Kansas City, would we even be having conversations about trading 2 picks to go up and get Luther Burden Jr.?
You know that I'm very similar.
The 3rd.
I think we were talking about this when
definitely
we came
draft Junior
with Neal and Giddens and the Kansas corner gold. People, and like I think that's part of why Binkley might love Ursery. Oh, Ruskin, local kid, went to high school. I think we all run into that. I think Burden is an extremely talented player.
Yeah.
So like I think for me it has nothing to do with the Missouri thing. I just can't understand why people aren't taking him. But yeah, are there more people in Kansas City because Burden was a Missouri Tiger? Sure. I'm sure that that's part of it. But like, yeah, I don't want them to take Burden in the 2nd, and then with that 133 or that 116, then they could take Devin Neal, and I'm thinking in the 5th, maybe the Kansas corner. Like, no, I'm not. I don't want just like a bunch of local players.
Here's the thing. I am not. I went to Mid-American Nazarene. And my family are from Wichita State. I'm not really in the border war. I wouldn't.
If they took a football player from Wichita State, I'd be very concerned. What club football team are they playing out there?
That would be concerning. Mid-America's had a couple guys get some invites into like training camps and stuff. Still probably not trading up in the 2nd for anybody there. But
every once in a while happens.
If you gave me Burden and Giddens and kind of shook out the rest, I'd be happy for the local fan bases, and I'd be okay with that. Neil too.
The only problem with doing that is that means the person you were taking at 96 is the first defensive lineman you take, and you're like,
that's the scary thing.
And you're like, I know it's a deep defensive line class, but how do we see? Here's where I would like, and this is where I could do the trade chart differently. There'd be a way you hold on to 66, but you got to give up next year's 2nd round pick,
right?
And in that case, yeah, okay,
it's different, and it's different being the Chiefs than being the Falcons, right? The Falcons could pick 12 next year. It wouldn't surprise anybody. If the Chiefs are picking higher than 26 or something, it's a problem.
Yeah, and some of the stuff that we don't have access to, the Chiefs already have models for next year to know. Like, they already know what, okay, this position group looks like it's going to be a huge strength of the draft next year. We don't have that in front of us.
I don't know.
But I'm saying,
This is like Binkley asking me the MSRP of a Corvette.
But they do, right? Like, if
they do.
If they don't draft a corner and they know that maybe next year they'll have to draft one, but maybe next year's a great corner draft, and they're like, well, we'll spend a premium pick on corner next year. We don't care about it as much this year, vice versa. Like, this is very clearly a very good running back draft. This is the year to go get yourself a running back, not have to spend a first-round pick on a running back next year or something.
And a lot of times that value is going to just be in the cost you are paying. Like you're saying with the running back thing, this year's a great running back draft class. We didn't see 5 go in the first round. We're going to see a lot go today because and even tomorrow, because I think this isn't an original thought, but it's kind of choosing your flavor of running back. There are a lot of guys here who have like a pretty obvious, like a clear path to being at bare minimum NFL contributors. It's just what kind of guy do you want? Who do you want your player? Do you want Frank Gore or do you want light Jamal Charles? And you of course hope that either of those guys become fringe Hall of Famers. But like stylistically, there's a lot of range and a ton of incredible players there.
According to one person at CBS, it appears quarterback and wide receiver are the depth positions in next year's draft. The quarterbacks are worth waiting for. They had 4 in this mock first round.
I think wide receiver might be deep until we die.
Wide receiver every year everybody's going to love.
Yeah.
Actually, this year's like weirdly thin. It's like
at the top.
At the top. Yeah, there's a lot of like good ones in the middle. You're right. Chunky middle. Isn't that what he called it?
Yes.
I got a little bit of a chunky middle.
We got Josh Brisco hanging out with us on a Fan Club Friday. Let's keep talking some draft, though. What else is going to happen specifically with the quarterbacks, all the conversation about Shedeur Sanders? We'll also discuss a little bit more about the Royals series this weekend. That's coming up next here on Cody and Gold.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Underdog just became one of the best places to make entries during the basketball playoffs with their Extender program. You can play the Extender to increasingly bigger boost each round of the playoffs. Start of the playoff series, you the game 1 boost. Continue boosting each subsequent game to unlock the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boost. Underdog's a great place to make your sports selections, and you can play in your state on the Missouri side. Let's say you like Luther Burden to go higher than 35.5. You can make that selection on the Missouri side thanks to Underdog. Join the millions of fans who have already won billions making plays at Underdog. Download the Underdog app today. Sign up using that promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P, to unlock a special offer for up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/extend.html for details. Concern with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Men, is good enough really what you want with your sex life? This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. And if erectile dysfunction is making a bad bedroom experience for you and your partner, you should call us because you want your intimacy to be fantastic, both for you and the one you love. At Heartland Men's Health, our treatments have success rates of well over 90%. And because we're a medical practice focused on men's sexual health, we can offer many treatment options and even combine treatments to find the right one for you. Which means if you're like most of our patients, we can likely get you performing like you haven't in years. So make an appointment and make a change from good enough to really good. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600. That's 844-447-6600. Or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices to serve you. Heartland Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health.
It's the spring sales event at Rob Sight Ford, and I'm here with the man himself, Rob Sight. Rob, you already stole the spotlight. Now what are you trying to take?
Just your attention, Kevin, and maybe a few trade-ins. Now, we've got up to $14,000 off new Fords with employee pricing, plus our own dealer discount.
$14,000. That's hotter than your Sunday barbecue.
Exactly. And unlike your burgers, these deals won't dry out. We've got hard-to-find inventory, huge trade-in values, and our non-commissioned sales team makes everything so easy.
No pressure, just real help. Even I'll admit it, it's the best place in Kansas City to buy a car, and I don't hand out compliments lightly. Or seconds.
That's a fact. And don't forget, we're Kansas City's top-rated Ford dealer on Google. 4.8 stars, nearly 3,000 reviews, and 0 grill marks.
All right, Rob, I'll give it to you, man. You're cooking up some real value over there.
Come see us at 135th and State Line or visit robsight.com. But hurry, these deals are sizzling and inventory's moving fast.
And tell him Rob sent you. No guarantees, but he might throw in a hot dog.
Good morning, Doctor.
Doctor?
Hi, Doctor.
Doctor?
Dr. Jackson's practice is growing.
What do you mean we're still short-staffed?
He needs a good patient doctor.
How do we not have enough doctors to doctor all these patients?
And he doesn't have the patience to sift through hundreds of resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
I'm at a smoothie bar asking people if they'd switch smoothies with me for $574.
Oh, I'll switch.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
That's a headache.
Nope, it's painless.
Oh, so it's easy money.
Yep, check Allstate first and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Annie's first oil change wasn't as hard as she thought because she went to AutoZone, where a friendly AutoZoner helped her find the right oil and save on an oil filter. He explained the job and showed her free how-tos on AutoZone.com. When she was done, AutoZone recycled her old oil for free. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This report is brought to you by Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka in Surfside Lemonade and Vodka. Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka in Surfside Lemonade and Vodka. Proud partner of the Kansas City Royals. Each can of Surfside is only 100 calories, and the best part, 0 bubbles. Grab it at the K or ask for it at your favorite bars and liquor stores.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Hey, Brisco, do you know all the kids' names, the family names who lived in the neighborhood near you? Did you hear that on the way in?
I did. I don't know the entire
Not
block.
quite to my level, huh? But close.
But we had a couple of core houses there, and my family's house in Shawnee, we had basically an adjoining yard with the next door neighbors that basically built you like a nice 40-yard football field or so. So yes, the Morgans and the Caponettos and the Briscos played a lot of football in that yard over the years.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know why it stood out. He's like, you don't remember? I was like, yeah, I do. What do you mean? We lived on the same block.
How long?
We're a unit. We would have lived on he moved in, I moved there when I was 6. And my dad lived there. Like, I lived there through high school, so like 18.
Okay. Yeah.
But he moved in like 7th grade, so it's probably been 25 years since I've seen that person. I was like, but you lived on our block, man. I remember where you lived.
I think meeting them, like reuniting with someone and remembering them makes a lot of sense. I think your encyclopedic knowledge of like this house was this family, this house was this family, the Smiths, the Browns, the Johnsons, that's next level.
I borderline, I think if you made me, like if you and I went on a drive and we went through Grace Moore, I think I could name 50 before I ran out. Like the exact house they lived. I think I could name 50 kids' houses before I ran out. Maybe more, but at least 50.
I think that's great, and I don't think I'm going to make the joke that I just thought about.
Somebody said that they're worried I have a touch of the tism, and I don't want to say for sure.
Now, Cody, I'm really not going to make the joke I want to make. Don't join any registries, Cody.
All right, yeah, fair enough. When we look at this, let's talk about what we saw before we talk about some of the other stuff with the Chiefs related. How about with Shedeur? I am convinced some of this is just narrative, and I do not like the idea to be like, hey, you can't be arrogant and get drafted. And then I point out Johnny Manziel and everyone gets mad. I'm like, there's other arrogant players that have existed. Maybe they didn't build a custom set because they didn't have the dough, but like other players have felt very highly of themselves and should, I think, for a lot of reasons. I was surprised he didn't go in the first round. I think he'll be a better pro than Jackson Dart. I don't think it's like significantly different. I don't think you do either, Gold, but like, yeah, I kind of thought he'd go. I guess I think he'll go first tonight. I still think the Browns need a quarterback. They can't just roll out Joe Flacco.
It makes a lot of sense for Cleveland still because it's cost controlled second round pick. Like it's the thing you can try to do while pretending you're not giving all that money to Deshaun Watson. So I think it makes sense for them.
Is that the least vibey city, by the way? For a guy who, like,
God, yeah.
For all the stuff he built and all the attitude, New York would have made all the sense in the world. Cleveland?
And, like,
maybe it ends up being good, actually.
Yeah, and that's fair. And, like, it's not even just Cleveland, which we all kind of say with the same tone, sort of disrespectfully. It's the Browns. Like, I was glad that the Jags traded up for Travis Hunter. And hear me say this. I know what these words I'm about to say. I'm so glad he's in Jacksonville and not Cleveland. I'm so glad he's a Jag and not a Brown. And that's, faint praise to the Jaguar organization.
Especially because they're going to let him do both. That's
right. Like, that's fun. And he can go do fun stuff. He can fish in Florida. Good for him. Fantastic. I was surprised that Shedeur didn't go in the first round because I kind of thought somebody would buy it, right? Like, I thought Pittsburgh made a lot of sense there. I thought even New York made a little bit of sense. I'm not buying that entire experience, by the way, and that has very little to do with Jackson Dart. It has a whole lot more to do with the fact that he's a third-string quarterback for a team that might not have the same head coach next year.
It's the Eberflus plan, which is the worst way to handle a young quarterback. I hate it.
I also think Jackson Dart's a turnover machine, and I think that's a problem. There's plenty of issues with Sanders, but he doesn't turn the ball over, and we'll see if they can develop him. Whoever ends up taking him tonight. We've talked about Sanders throughout, and I think everybody. I understand he's extremely polarizing. He's brought a lot of it on himself. I totally get it, but I don't get the people that are glad he didn't get drafted. The rooting that he didn't get drafted last night is weird to me. It's very weird.
All of that's very strange, and I think some of that, I don't know, the stuff that comes out from people whenever they start to like form opinions about 20-something-year-old athletes who they don't know anything about in real life, but you get the clips and you get the talking heads and all that. That's always a dangerous pathway to go down. And the thing with Shedeur that's so confusing is like his literal comp is Brock Purdy, right? Like that's probably the comparison you've heard the most for his style as a quarterback and his relative lack of physical tools compared to some of the tools of your guys. But I think if Brock Purdy was re-entering the draft right now, he'd probably be going about in this range where Shedeur is going to end up. So I ultimately kind of think pretty sane all around. Again, I don't love what the Giants have done, but I think Shedeur going 33 to Cleveland is probably about where he ought to go. He gets a little boost from star power, a little boost from being in a very visible program, and I think he'll be a perfectly okay quarterback, which right now would be a win for Cleveland.
I think Steelers is still the best fit, but they don't have a second-round pick, so I can't assume it's going to go that way.
It'd be better for Shedeur.
Yes, that's what I mean. The Travis Hunter thing is the most fascinating thing to me because I think we're going to get in an argument we've never gotten to get into in football, which is nice. Fresh argument, right?
Yeah, seriously,
new voice.
no kidding.
Which is, how do you live up to the hype of the number 2 overall pick that someone traded for you? But I said, but if you get corner 2 and wide receiver 2, is it enough?
Yeah.
So if he's like essentially Christian Fulton, but also a 900-yard receiver, I got 2 positions for the price. Does he have to be a star at one for it to work?
As Maurice Jones-Drew said,
I kind of love it. I kind of love that.
As Maurice Jones-Drew said last night, we're only viewing the positive of playing 2 positions. He gets hurt. You're down a corner and you're down a wide receiver now. Congratulations.
Sure. I think all of that is why I'm kind of, listen, I'd be thrilled, obviously, if Travis Hunter was a Chief. However that would have happened, it would have been a blast. I'm kind of glad to get to watch that from afar a little bit, kind of like with Ohtani, where it's like, I'll let some other team be the one that figures out how to make this work at the NFL level, which is much harder, I think, than figuring out how to do it with Ohtani. Harder from the team's perspective, not the player's perspective.
Yeah.
What Ohtani is doing, hot take, impressive athlete, that guy.
Yeah, he's pretty good at baseball.
Pretty good. I know I'm more of a football guy at this point, but if I could give you one baseball take, I do like.
What's your Jack Caglione take? Do you think he should be in the big leagues right now?
I think honestly, it's offensive to all of our intelligences that he didn't start in the bigs.
Yeah,
Don't
just get him right in.
See, again, my baseball takes real surface level. Don't have to dig too deep for me. We're just jacking it. I think that what we're talking about. Travis
Hunter and how hard it is to do both positions.
I think letting him try to do both throughout that onboarding process is by far the most fun way to do it. I think it's probably the way that the Jags get the most value out of him. It sounds like it's what he wants to do. So I'm not like emotionally invested in the Jacksonville Jaguars being good or not, but I kind of see what they're doing. And I think definitively the Browns did the right thing by moving back and trying to get some more picks. I would move back again at 5 if I was them.
Who did they take? Mason Graham?
Graham, yep. Really good
him
player,
and Myles Garrett,
but...
I'm sure that's a fun defensive line.
Absolutely.
Any plan that is, what if we win every game 9-6 is not a plan I'm on board with. I'm pro fun.
Yes.
And that's not fun. That's anti-fun.
And I think the Browns might be 3 years away from anything. Just because you have the worst contract in the history of the sport as an albatross around your neck.
It's the single worst transaction in NFL history. And I can't imagine it will ever be topped. Because the idea of everything you gave up in draft pick compensation coupled with Gold, the amount of money you gave him. Oh my.
If he just would have been bad and tore his Achilles, it would have been the worst deal in sports history.
This is also what makes
American sports history.
But this is also what makes it worse, though, is that a lot of times you make bad decisions, right? You draft Achilles Smith, you draft Josh Rosen. You make bad decisions based on informed things that you're trying to figure out. You already knew about Deshaun Watson. That information was, it turns out, very public.
He has an $80 million cap hit next year.
Yeah, their owner just absolutely screwed their franchise over so badly.
They made their bed.
Oh, I don't feel bad for Cleveland. I have no reason to feel bad even for their fans or anything like that. I mean, it's Cleveland, Ohio. It is what it is. Sorry,
Damn.
Yeah,
Damn.
Cleveland, Ohio.
That does feel like
just like Cincinnati, Ohio, right, Drew? Screw them. Who cares?
If Deion Sanders really meant what he said about initially about choosing, Drew doesn't care anything about
the way you just came on the microphone.
It sounded so beat. Yeah. Don't you feel bad now? This might be bullying. Go to HR. The way you responded, that might quantify bullying.
If you said it about Indianapolis, I would actually be pretty pissed off. But I'm not from Cincinnati. I've been there 5 to 10 times in my life. It's all good.
Crazy.
I feel an urge to continue bullying Drew and the Bengals now, and I didn't.
Go ahead.
Well, last night was
he
funny.
Might be in the building today. I can't.
Last night though was funny at our draft.
I was
party.
really impressed when they took Tyson Jackson at 17.
Shamar Stewart.
That's insane.
Because he didn't like the Shamar Stewart pick.
I saw that.
He agreed, and we were giving him a hard time. We were saying it's a nice Ryan Sims pick. We're going on and on and on. And then an hour and a half later, he texts Cody and I and says, "You know what? I watched some film. I actually love the pick now."
I'm buying in a little bit more.
I'm kind of buying in a little bit. You've got a half enthusiastic me on your team.
I'm buying in a little bit. I think it's because
I'm just glad that Joe Burrow can't whine in November when his offense is great and the defense sucks. Now they can say, well, we tried to help you.
How did he not get sacks when there were like 3 other first and second round picks on that defensive line?
It's very weird.
Well,
He's getting near the quarterback while everyone else was getting the sacks?
Pressuring him into Nick scoring or whatever the case is. I think Shamar mentioned it as well. I like the fact that he was honest about it after he was interviewed, as every pick is, and was like, I need to work on my technique so I can finish the sack out. I'm lunging too much. I'm eager to get there. I get there, and then I don't quite have everything put together and how to actually finish the play. So, in terms of the traits and everything and physicality, it's great. But the Bengals have done that before. I don't think they're in a position to draft potential and upside more than immediate production, which is what they would have gotten in Donovan Ezeraku or potentially Mike Green, who's still available, or anything like that. I would have gone Mike Green.
Mike Green point is kind of the thing for all. This goes back to Josh Simmons too, honestly. I think Veach changed the number last night for how many first-round grades they had. He said before the draft it was like 12 to 14.
Now what did he say?
I think he said 15 or 16 yesterday, maybe. So who knows when he's ever telling us the truth. But I think at some point you're just, after maybe 12, you're just kind of picking your warts. Yep. You know, in the Bengals case, you're taking the most incredible athlete with a weird lack of production. That's the wart you're taking. For the Chiefs, it's a top 15 type of pick at left tackle with a knee that scares some teams off. Those are the warts you're picking. And it's only going to continue through
I
today.
was a little bit
obviously.
worried that the Chiefs would say, you know what, we're going to take Mike Green because we thought he'd all be gone in the top 15.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and take this guy who had 17 sacks last season.
I mean, at Marshall, but
Look,
playing against dudes that look like me.
Hey, Cody.
I don't think that's true.
So did
he's fine. I don't have a problem with
so did Khalil Mack, and he turned out pretty good.
That's true. I mean,
We're
look,
gonna pull,
but like,
group
don't
of
make me
5
point out all the
conference.
bad small school players. You can't just point out the one greatest small school player
That's
of
my
all time.
favorite thing that we all is the favorite thing we all do.
round?
We all do it in sports arguments, you know. But we all like it's someone like Mr. Irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Well, Brock Purdy was as if that's every Mr. Irrelevant now for history.
Mel Kiper,
You know?
I bounced around the networks last night. Mel Kiper,
he about
every time
lost his
somebody,
mind
every
last
time
night.
somebody passed on Shadur, he was just like, Tom Brady, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. It's
He
like,
was
bro,
so
what's
upset.
going
He was
on?
really
so
going through it, man.
So
He's-
upset. This is
I
what it
haven't seen him
was.
this upset since Josh Clausen.
This is what you're
Turned out.
talking about.
Jimmy Clausen.
Yeah.
Understandable mistake considering his NFL career.
To make the aggressive. Yeah, we always act like we're in the 6th round of the draft right now, which your Raiders hasn't been picked. And we're still where Lamar Jackson wasn't taken. And last time I checked, the Baltimore Ravens took Hayden Hurst, a 25-year-old tight end at the time, and a South Carolina tight end. And then they traded back into 32 to take Lamar Jackson. We're ready to pack it up at the end of day 1 and get ready for day 2, right? There's Lamar Jackson. That list of the pocket pass. Johnny Unitas, cut by the Steelers, passed over, right? Dan Marino passed over for Cal Davis and Ken O'Brien, right? Joe Montana went in the 3rd round. Kurt Warner, undrafted free agent.
Having Michael Jackson in the background is amazing.
Phil Foley to take him number 1 overall. Matt Ryan. Jake Long went ahead of Matt Ryan. They took him so far, something for Ken
A little pressure on the
over
kid.
Matt Ryan. Pocket guy. How'd that work out, right? Drew Brees, 2nd round. Chargers, then Miami didn't take him. Goes to New Orleans, right? How'd that work? Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant.
There it is.
4th round pick. They're all positional drop back pocket passes. I didn't mention the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, 6th round pick.
Well, he clearly is going to be one of those 10 guys.
He's going to be Montana, Marino, Brady, Unitas.
Johnny Unitas.
All we needed was Mel Kiper to do one of these. And just
really-
stand up and get after it,
He
man.
was
Come on now.
upset they were passing on.
He was more upset than Bink was, I think,
I
about
don't
Josh
know.
Simmons' pick. I'm not sure.
Kuiper's upset about Simmons? I didn't see
No,
that.
Jimmy.
I'm upset there that Bink was about
Yeah,
Simmons.
sorry.
Binkley didn't really did not like the Sanders pick.
They announced Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from Ohio State.
I hate this pick, actually. Don't like it. Don't like it.
It's the fact that it's so matter of fact. He goes, I hate this pick. I hate it.
It's a
Don't
great
like it.
delivery. That is a professional right there.
Don't like
Be
it.
a hater if you want, but be good at it. That's a good clip.
And he has not backed off of that take
Oh,
either.
no,
Brisco.
nor
We had
should
him on
he.
today.
Nor should
has
he.
not backed
No.
He
off.
believes
Go
it, nor
for it,
should
man.
he. If you actually believe
Yeah.
it, you know.
Yeah, I don't want him to. You can soften his stance after some further research if you want. Like if he gets to training camp and Binkley's like, I hate it less now that he's practicing in full.
Yeah, sure.
The first week of training camp, people are allowed to alter opinions, but out of the gate, he just doesn't think it's worth the risk. And that part is actually that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if you don't want
It
to
does.
take on the risk, there were there were less risky players. I would say, kind of similar to you. At 32, there's a lot of risk. I mean, there's not a lot of
George
lack of risk.
Karlaftis was risky at 30, right? Like he was like a high floor player, but the risk is he ever going to be a plus starter? And he has been. At this point, I am less scared of risk, and I am more scared of underachieving, I guess. And I think Simmons is boomer bust in a way that I'm kind of happy about at 32. Especially that 5th round pick is so nice. That was such a nice little move. You get an extra pick in your
Just
arsenal.
a free pick.
It's the payoff if you get it right.
Free
So
pick.
good.
The payoff if you get it right is that for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, you actually have a left tackle. Look, in retrospect, they should have. I don't know what they should have paid Orlando Brown Jr.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, everybody didn't like him.
Orlando
And everybody,
Brown Jr.
oh my
should've-
gosh, they can do better.
They should've
And
paid
look
him.
where they've been.
Orlando Brown Jr. should have taken the contract the Chiefs offered. In my understanding, they were going to pay him, I think, more than the Bengals ended up paying him.
That was the original report. Is that after the deal fell apart and they had to make other moves, he took less money. But
Yep.
They should have. They tried to pay him. I'm not saying that, but like your job is also to get the deal done, not just offer deals.
Absolutely.
And so. They should have paid him. They should have never let him walk. They would have been so much better off if they had just stuck with Orlando Brown Jr. as their starting left tackle.
So would he, too.
And Andy, that's true. Andy Reid said last night, the phrase he used talking about Josh Simmons, I believe the exact wording was a true left tackle. You don't get those at 32 without there being some sort of risk joined to that. And I think the idea that Patrick Mahomes could have a true left tackle. Like, I guess I would have argued that Kingsley Suamataia was a true left tackle until week 3. You know, like that was the view for him. Josh Simmons at times makes it look easy against high-level competition. And again, by Andy Reid's late night breakdown, a true left tackle for Patrick Mahomes.
I hope so, Gold. You and I, we were okay. We were neither of us. It wasn't like our top pick. You wanted
James Pierce Jr.
Did you? Hey, by the way, if it would have been the same cost, you interested in James Pierce Jr.?
No.
You want to give up next year's first-round pick for him?
Absolutely not. Yeah,
What were
the Rams
doing?
Falcons went edge with both their picks.
Honestly, this is just they're a bad franchise, and they're not going to win with
Penix
because they shouldn't have signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $8 gajillion deal if they were going to just draft a first-round pick. And now they're just giving him next year's first-round pick for an edge player in the 20s.
He might be damn good, though.
It doesn't matter. You can't win operating the way they're operating. Look, if they got Penix right, I guess a little bit, but
they're trying to make up for what they should have done last year. They had Dallas Turner on their available, and they took Penix instead, and they're trying to make up for it. That's why they did the 2 edges.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't mind them double dipping at edge. I do mind them spending a future first to have the right to do that when, like, to your point even, Drew, this has been a problem for the Falcons for like 5 years.
Giving up a future first-round pick for someone that's not in the top 10 or top 15 is wild. I would fundamentally never do it. I'm not giving up a first-round.
I'm the Falcons. I might be giving up the 12th overall pick.
You can't give up a first-round pick to draft someone that's going 25th. I can give up a first-round pick if I'm getting a top 10 or top 15 pick.
I think Pierce is interesting though, because before the season started, he was consensus maybe number 1 overall pick. Like he was that good, and then. I don't know if it's the character thing.
See, this is
I don't
the
know.
other thing.
I don't know what it is. Where it's not an injury thing because he played all season at Tennessee, but he was like guaranteed top 3
before the season started. That's where people thought he was going to be.
And Luther Burden was 9th. I mean, your play on the field over a calendar year matters. He wasn't as good of a player this year as he was the previous years at Tennessee. When you drop off in your play, people will shove you further down the list.
I'm still kind of mad about the Luther Burden thing. You said his name again, and guys, what are we?
I would be
interested in
Luther
7.5
Burden.
sacks this year. He only had 2.5 less than he did the year before.
Hey, NFL teams, what's your problem with Luther Burden? Just tell me. I'm not a Mizzou guy. It's okay. I'll keep it secret. Just let me know.
Clearly, the tape terrified them from this year because he had an amazing combine.
They're not drafting Brady Cook. I think it's okay.
I know. I'm just telling you.
He wasn't even their starter most of the year.
I'm not saying you have to.
Don't take any Mizzou quarterbacks.
I'm not saying you have to agree with him. It's just that very clearly it's all about what his final year at Missouri was because he was projected to be a top 10 player going into the year.
Combine numbers
had
are
an
massive.
amazing combine. He's healthy. Why else did he fall? Because you're right, the quarterback play, I get it, but clearly there's stuff on film from this year they did not like. Otherwise, you don't slide the way he slid.
But it is wild to fall in the draft because you didn't leg out some routes for Drew Pine. Like, I get it. Like, you got to motivate him, but like, I would say that there's always going to be players you draft that you have to motivate. But it's the same thing in like basketball as you can't teach height, Gold. Like his physical
I'm not saying
attributes
he's bad. He's
exist in very few players.
I'm not saying he's bad. He's going to be being a second round pick doesn't mean you can't go on to have a great career. There's plenty of examples of those. We just if we're going through that, it's just why did he fall? I mean, there has to be only one reason.
His play. Yeah, I agree.
Just from
I think it's twofold. I think it's a little bit of whatever this. It's almost like with the A.D. Mitchell stuff last year, where it's like wide receiver character concerns. Now, A.D. Mitchell has diabetes, which I do
that
too.
That was a wild thing to
It's also explainable for a lot of my character issues, by the way. Type 1 diabetes will make you act up when your blood sugar's low.
Unlike Josh's, you'll stand up for anybody with diabetes, right?
Absolutely. Yes. 100%. 100%. Mark Andrews, A.D. Mitchell, Noah Gray, you're on my team forever. Because our pancreases aren't getting any better. But like the reason that Brady Cook comes to mind also is like I've heard that he made a good impression at the Shrine Bowl amongst like teams. I can't imagine that he's going to be drafted. Maybe he's a quarterback you want to have running your scout team, be your third string guy who's in the room. You know, personality and the mentals of it all. I get it. I really do. Like I think that makes enough sense for me. That's fine, I suppose. But it just feels like Luther Burden keeps getting like diva smacked on him because he wanted to get the football. And I got to tell you, anybody who watched Mizzou was watching with the same frustration that Luther Burden was watching with.
Ball.
Yes, get Luther Burden the football. That's the guy that needs the ball here. So it doesn't bother me one bit if a wide receiver like was annoyed because his team was worse than he thought it was going to be and he wanted to get the ball more often. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, how early do you guys think he goes tonight? I still think he's one
First
of the
5
first
picks.
5. Yeah, I was gonna say.
I was gonna say
You were finishing the sentence.
I was gonna say within the 30s, so 8. Yeah.
Yeah, we're okay.
Or 7.
I would be shocked if he's there in the 40s.
I think the Titans' first pick makes a lot
They
of
should.
sense. They don't have
Cam
anybody
Ward,
Cam Ward to
Burton.
throw to.
Man,
Yeah,
that'd make a
Cam
lot of
Ward,
sense.
Luther Burden with Calvin Ridley. Because right now it's Ridley and it's Tyler Lockett, who is a nice player at this, but he's what 34 years
Another
old
one
now
of
or
the
something.
perfect for them to have him in the room.
Yeah.
He'd be good with Burden. Obviously, he'd be good with Ward. And then did they end up with somebody else? I guess Traylon Burks is still there.
I can't believe
Van Jefferson
is the other name on the depth
They
chart.
should cut Traylon Burks just so they could forget about that era of time in which they traded him for A.J. Brown.
Oh.
They should get him out of the building so they don't have to think about it anymore.
That was 2 GMs ago for that organization.
Holy bleep,
It was two GMs ago.
Yeah, it was.
That Traylon Burks, Sky Moore training camp trade is going to go so hard. Just swap
Is that?
them.
Oh man,
Swap them.
It's gonna feel so AJ Jenkins and John Baldwin.
That's exactly what it is. AJ Jenkins,
Honestly,
John Baldwin too.
I mean, there's no harm in it.
No,
it's just like I'm sick of looking at one face, so I'll look at the other.
Yeah, you give Sky Moore in Tennessee all of a sudden is this like shifty route runner with big hands for Cam Ward.
We'll get the most out of him.
Yeah, go for it.
Brisco, appreciate you coming in studio, man.
Fun day to be in here. Thanks for having me. Thanks for supplying